That's good. I listened to that this morning. Did you get that from me?
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm Will. Norm, you're here.
I'm Norm.
Gary's here.
Hi.
You're wearing a plaid shirt today, Gary.
I am.
Brad's here. How you doing, Brad?
Why'd you have to go and do that?
I'm sorry. Everybody's a little misty-eyed here now.
Man.
You know, Richard Dreyfuss did a good job with that commercial. That was the first one I remember seeing. That was like, wow, that was
a great campaign.
That is something different, right?
What era is that?
97.
90s. Okay,
It's from when Jobs came back,
It's the first one from when Jobs came back. But that was Jobs reading the commercial.
yeah,
which never aired. That was him doing it himself, right? And I guess now it's resurfaced.
Yeah, exactly.
Who did the actual voice?
Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Okay.
But I mean, maybe it's just sentimentality we're talking right now, but I preferred the Jobs version.
I like the Jobs
It's
version
just
a lot.
it's just inherently more authentic to hear it coming directly from him.
Completely agree. Completely agree. You know what I realized I did? I didn't start the GarageBand, so I'm going to have to pull the first bit of audio from Justin TV Stream in a little bit. It's okay.
Really?
Yeah. I stopped
Really?
recording the GarageBand. I didn't start it. I started everything else, and I didn't start that.
Just
'cause
do it all over.
It'll be fun, dude. There are no do-overs. You can't recapture
No, you
that.
can't. You
Yeah.
can't do
Oh
it
my
over.
goodness,
It's too late.
Will, I can't believe.
I know.
I
So you're
So you're gonna have to like Frankenstein something together now.
It's going to take me 3 hours to edit this podcast together now. But so the big news this week is clearly, Steve Jobs, age 56, died yesterday after a really long battle with pancreatic cancer. So I meant to look when we were starting this up, and I forgot. Maybe Norm can do some fact checking for us. But I think he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2003, right? Isn't that when that came out?
I think it was 2004 that they announced it, but maybe it was.
Yeah,
Maybe
so-
he found out earlier.
I mean, basically, it was eight or 9 years ago, seven to 8 years ago.
Diagnosed in 2004, apparently.
04. And I mean, your girlfriend works in a cancer ward.
Yeah.
Pancreatic cancer is a really bad thing.
It is the worst.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
is the least survivable of all cancers.
I had a relative die of pancreatic cancer, and literally he went to the doctor feeling bad, and 3 months later was dead.
Right. And he did have a rarer form.
That's true.
Rare in the way that it was.
He actually had a more treatable form. of
It is, yeah.
Jobs
I mean,
did.
the
Yeah.
prognosis was slightly better, but not good.
Right. So, I mean, part of it is that part of the thing we should be thinking about today is that had Steve Jobs died in 2004, what would have happened? That was 3 years before the iPhone came out, 6 years before the iPad came out.
I don't think we need to think about that.
I mean that, but that's part of the thing.
Part of the way you would measure the contribution.
Yeah,
I
is
think,
that
is
he
to imagine the It's a Wonderful Life version of the world without him, right?
Well, kind of, but I mean, part of it is that he looked at, hey, I have a death sentence, and spent the last 7-8 years of his life doing the most that he could to do what he thought was going to make the world better, or
You think
make
he-
Apple
I mean,
better.
I don't
You know,
think he changed.
depending on how you look
I
at
don't
it.
think he changed anything. I don't think his behavior.
You don't think so?
I don't think
you
so.
don't think that changes the way you behave?
I think he was probably optimistic.
I actually read a quote last night from an early Apple employee. I wish I could remember who it was, who said that he had early on had expressed the viewpoint that he thought he would be dead by 40. And
When he was a youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that lent an urgency to everything he did. He always felt the need to get things done quickly.
Well, it was part of the whole Earth catalog thing too. The stay hungry, stay silly, or stay foolish. Yeah. So I don't want to dwell on this too terribly long, but I mean, I think the thing to do. None of us actually got to meet Steve, right?
I did.
Oh, you did.
Yeah,
Never told the
just
story
one.
Do you want to tell
time,
the story?
There's not much of a story to tell. Many years ago, around the time of the Mac G3 launch, remember the G3,
Yeah,
the first kind of candy-colored Macs. Steve, they did a series of press events at Cupertino, and myself and a bunch of other journalists from what at the time was Imagine Media got to go and sit in a round table around, at the Apple campus with Steve, and I got to meet him briefly, ask him a couple of questions.
And you weren't a Mac guy at that point, really, were you?
No, I was on PC Gamer, and part of it was like at the time, they were making another push towards we're going to take games seriously that time. That had already become a little bit of a joke, and I was kind of there to kind of ask him a couple of questions about how seriously are you taking games.
That was when Carmack was doing Quake 3 and all that stuff on
yeah,
Mac, right?
yeah, and I honestly don't really remember it that well. It was all kind of a blur, and it felt like it was all over very quickly. I don't have like a cute anecdote or a cool story about how awesome he was the way that many other people do right now. But, ironically, even though we were saying, oh, games, they're never going to make a dent there, they ended up doing it in a pretty significant way. Even that
kind of an end-around way, though.
Yeah. They're now changing the games landscape as well.
I never got to meet Steve. I bumped into him after a keynote once and just said, hey, thanks for keeping the screws on Microsoft, right? Because this was in the dark days of XP when security was bad, and like the one ray of hope in the Microsoft in the OS landscape was that OS 10 was this thing that was actually really improving at an incredible pace and was forcing Microsoft to make good decisions on OSs. And then of course Vista came out and it all went really downhill. But the first time I went to see an Apple keynote was for, I think, an iPod event probably. I think it was the time they announced the iPod Mini, but it may have been the Nano, I can't remember. I'd never been to one of those before, and I'd been to tons of other tech keynotes and seen Bill Gates and Ballmer and Michael Dell present stuff, and going into this Apple thing, and I think it was in I think this one was in Yerba Buena, but I can't. The whole thing's real hazy. It was a long time ago. The energy that came out of that was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It was like literally like watching a rock star come up and talk to you, or there was such an incredible charisma and enthusiasm for the stuff that he was doing, and salesmanship. That was the amazing thing. It was literally. Obviously, I never saw P.T. Barnum, but it was whenever people describe a circus-esque, Barnum-esque atmosphere, this Apple keynote was what I thought of after that, and it was unlike anything I'd ever seen at that point. And at that point, I kind of walked out and thinking, wow, that was some incredible hype. But then the products kept getting better and got to the point that instead of just making it possible to carry, your whole CD collection in your pocket, they actually did change the world. So
I remember the first time someone gave me an iPod.
Uh-huh.
It was a first-gen iPod. Mm-hmm. And, it really was one of those kind of caveman around the monolith type moments where, I had a lot of...
Did you shake it?
I did. First thing I did was try to shake it and try to make the music skip. And I mean, the people that like to point out, yes, there are MP3 players before it.
There were,
yes, there were. But there's a reason why none of them exploded the way the iPod did.
There were MP3 players that sounded better, that were easier to put stuff on. There were, there were products here and there that were better in every way.
Yeah. Well, not every way.
Well, no, but singly. Like this one was easier to put music on, and one had a better DAC, so it sounded a little bit better.
Right.
And one was better supported on Windows, but when you kind of took it all together and combined the fact that it had this enormous hard drive, I mean, because that was the thing.
There were players that were better. It was iTunes. It was
iTunes wasn't around.
No,
then.
it was two key things initially. I think one was the click wheel. People were just blown away by that. It's like, wow, I instantly understand how this works. Like, you don't need to show me; you just get it right away.
But that's like a third gen iPod.
Yeah.
That's after the 4 red buttons.
Yeah.
Right, but the first one had a wheel.
It wasn't the smooth.
Well, no, yeah, but
the first one had a mechanical wheel.
It was a dial,
right?
basically, that you rotated around. But the way in which that translated into navigating up and down on the menus, it just clicked with you instantly. That was like part of the kind of the Jobsy and genius of it all. And the other thing, as you say, was the 5 gigabyte hard drive. You got to remember, this was going up against players. These other MP3 players had maybe
songs.
128 megs of memory or whatever.
Yeah,
and then this thing comes along, so that was like the 3 levels of minds being blown. It's like, wait, why doesn't the music skip? CDs, pullable music players are supposed to skip,
right?
And then,
and it has a hard drive in it, so shaking it seems like a really, really dumb thing to do.
And then secondly, I was like, wow, this click wheel is really cool. I understand how to work it immediately. And then level 3 was, what? How many songs? And that was just unbelievable to me.
Well, and the thing was the combination of how many songs, and this click wheel, it kind of accelerated. It felt like the knob in a car
It was 1,000 songs, and you could actually find what you wanted very, very quickly.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Hasn't it been the case with every one of Apple's quote unquote revolutionary products? I guess maybe with the arguable exception of the Apple II, that it existed before. They didn't invent it.
Yeah,
they took it and made it usable and made you understand why you needed it.
They created the first version of something that people actually wanted.
Right.
At the risk of sounding like an ad, they didn't take stuff that was. They didn't make something new necessarily. They just made what was already out there much, much better.
They made it good.
Sometimes orders of magnitude better than what the competition was doing.
There were tablets before the iPad, right?
Loads of tablets.
They were not good.
They were tablets
They
apart.
were
there
a
were
joke.
smartphones before the iPhone.
Yeah.
But
there
it's interesting.
Were GUIs before the Macintosh.
It's interesting. I did this morning just as an experiment. Go and Google smartphones 2006. That's the year before the iPhone came out, and look at what was on offer.
Yeah.
It looks so
Windows
primitive.
Mobile,
Yeah.
BlackBerry,
Yeah.
Symbian.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
And it's also very interesting to see what the prototype of Android looked like back then as well. It looked like the BlackBerry, nothing like what it ended up being. And when Android finally came out 18 months after the iPhone, I mean, you can imagine the conference rooms at Google the day after they announced the iPhone. Shit, we got to redo this thing.
Well, this is one of the things that came out with the Kindle launch last week, right? The original Kindle, remember the white one with the big chunky buttons on the side and the weird kind of diagonal keyboard keys? That was designed to look like a BlackBerry because Jeff Bezos liked the BlackBerry, so he's like, "Oh, the BlackBerry should be our theme for this product."
Right.
And it came out, I guess, right around the same time as the iPhone, right? When did the first
I
Kindle
don't
come
recall.
out? I can't remember at this point, but
But
yes,
like we're 4 generations into the Kindle as well as the iPhone now, so it's around the same time.
I watched the 07 keynote last night.
Oh, okay.
And there was a slide in his presentation where they basically just sliced. So they had all the current smartphones, BlackBerries, and everything.
That's the one where. That's the big keynote.
It's like it's like the lineup of current smartphones, and they sliced all the screens off and had nothing but the keyboards up there.
Yeah.
Just said, this is a crappy static plastic keyboard that you can't do anything with. You can't adapt it to new stuff, So
And that
just get rid
07
of it.
keynote is a good one to watch as well because we adapt so quickly and we take things for granted so quickly. The iPhone is incredible, but I just take it for granted now.
Well,
you go back to that 07 keynote that Brad's talking about. It's worth watching. It's flying around on the internet a lot right now. And Jobs is doing how would I navigate? Well, I simply slide. I simply pinch to do this. And you can hear people in the audience going, what?
Yeah, pinch to
Because it's
zoom.
unbelievable.
Oh yeah. Well, so it's one of those things. Like a staple is this is too good to be true. I don't believe it. Right. The on-screen keyboard. When Walt Mossberg came out and said, give this thing a try for 2 weeks, you'll never go back.
Right. I can still
God
remember.
help him. Walt was absolutely right.
I can still remember people saying, "Oh, I got to have my physical keyboard."
Yeah.
Although those people aren't there anymore. They've all
No, they
they're-
are.
They all
They're still around.
but it's a
converted.
very minor.
They're
group of
iconoclasts.
hangers on. Yeah.
Yeah. You look at same thing for the iPod. It's a hard drive. This isn't going to last. You can't put a hard drive in something you're going to put in your pocket and carry around with you. That's crazy.
It is great to go back and look at those Mac Rumors pages from the day they announced the iPod.
that's one of the other-
People go, "Oh, this is the death of Apple. Who wants another MP3 player?"
So, I mean, I think I've been thinking about it a lot the last 12, 14 hours, I guess. And the thing that I came to is that what Steve really did was showed us what he thought the future was going to look like and then sold it to us. And I know that may sound a little crass, but I mean, part of the magic of what Steve Jobs was he was an incredible salesman, right? He made you want to he didn't just make you believe, he made you want to believe what he was talking about. And I don't think we're going to see that again for a while. I think
It's amazing that he was kind of the complete beginning to end package from the guy from the very beginning of the process saying, "You know what we should do is create something like this."
Yeah.
And then shepherding it all the way through the process and being like, the devil is in the details of every single element of it. And then the very end process, getting up on a stage and making people fall in love with it. I mean, it's incredible.
So one of the things I read last night was Walt Mossberg's, it's not really a eulogy, but just kind of a, hey, my time with Steve type story. And I wish I could remember who it was. I think it was Richard Bullwinkle, who was one of the founders at TiVo, said last night on Twitter that Mossberg was really Walter Cronkite to Jobs' Muhammad Ali. Not Walter Cronkite, Bob.
No, you're thinking of Howard Cosell.
Howard Cosell, thank you. I'm old guys that all kind of look the same. Howard Cosell to Jobs' Muhammad Ali, and he said he was describing the first time he went into the first Apple store in Washington, and had opened it up early, brought Mossberg in. Jobs was showing him around, and Walt, something to the extent of, Walt said, "Hey, did you pick out everything in this store?" Yep. And he said, "Yeah, I actually, wood color, everything was approved, everything was looked at, all the way down to the tiniest details." And that's something that most CEOs don't do. Most CEOs kind of get out of the trenches and let the product people do the product and and worry about the business stuff and keeping shareholders happy and all that. And that's something that Jobs never did. Or never seemed to do. I mean, who really knows outside of people at Apple? But
I'm sure he did.
Well, I read there was a Fortune story a few months ago about the level of his micromanagement, and he was hands-on with like what food was served in the cafeteria and how the shuttle buses for employees were designed.
Oh, sure. And then, there was a great story right after he resigned where we had almost kind of a round of mini eulogies, right? Because people kind of began sensing this was the beginning of the end.
Well, the hope when he retired was, hey, you have X amount of time left, go enjoy it and do something you want to do.
Right.
But I think he got that a few years ago, and what he wanted to do was
he was always doing what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
There was a great story about an Apple engineer or it was a Google engineer, I can't remember who it was, but he got a call from Jobs. He was in church on Sunday, gets a call from Steve Jobs saying, I'm sending an engineer to your house. You need to fix this. The shadow on this logo isn't quite right, and it has to be fixed immediately. And again, that's the kind of just the granular insanity that led to that company, earning its reputation for just being every nut and bolt just tightened down to the nth degree.
And it wasn't just him making like these declarations. He would have conversations with these people. Like when he was talking to Walt, Walt talked about having phone calls with Steve, on Sundays and at night, talking about little details, like having conversation.
Well,
and
part of that,
decisions.
Part of that is Jobs stroking Walt, because Walt is a big part of why Apple has been huge for the last 10 years. But Walt knew that. Walt's a smart guy, and those conversations had to be absolutely fascinating. The other one that really, really hit me was Brian Lamb posted his story about the conversations he had with Steve after the iPhone 4 prototype thing happened last year. And
what was more interesting was also like the stuff about the Gawker redesign and having conversations about that and actually providing feedback.
The most interesting thing to me was at the end of the call when Jobs was like, hey, you got to give us the phone back. And it seems like Gawker's attorneys or whatever wanted to have them claim that it was theirs. A whole lot not said there. But at the end of the call, after Jobs was taking the hard line with Brian the whole way through, he says, what did you think of the phone? Right? Like that's the last thing is, did you like it? Did you think it was good? And I mean, that was it. Absolutely. That was always the thing.
Absolutely. And again, that obsession with details, there was a guy on MSNBC this morning that was telling a similar story about the Apple stores where they went to the unveiling of the New York flagship Apple store. And Jobs was bending this guy's ear about how the marble came from a particular quarry in Italy, but not even just a specific quarry, but a specific part of a quarry where Jobs went, yes, this is what I want. And like he knew more about the store than the architect did.
Yeah.
And and this is why there's no one else in the world like him. And why, you look at this fucking all these other tech companies like HP and these fucking revolving doors of suits that just come in, mark time for a few years, journeyman CEOs go. There's no one that has the passion that he had. You go to airports and you look at all these business books they have in the stores, like The Secrets of Steve Jobs, inside the Apple DNA. It's all bullshit because you cannot read a book and just go, well, let's do that. You can't synthesize that stuff. The passion and the energy and the commitment that made Apple what it was coming from a place deep inside Jobs that you can't fabricate.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Or imitate.
With that in mind, I mean, say whatever you want about succession strategies and 5-year plans and stuff, but what happens at that company now? I mean,
I think that's up to Tim. I mean, here's the thing: Jobs has known since 2004 that he had a death sentence, right? He has to have, looking at Phil Schiller and Tim Cook and Johnny Ive and all the team of people, 2-3 tiers down that he's assembled over the last 7 years, he has to have. I mean, that team was not assembled to build products. That team was assembled to build products and keep Apple. And now the question is, it's a tough time because there's going to be a strong feeling there to do what Steve would have done, not necessarily do. If what Steve should have done is make awesome products, then that's what they should keep doing. If they keep doing things because Steve's feeling on 7-inch tablets is that 7-inch tablets are dumb, and then it turns out that people actually kind of like 7-inch tablets, and there's a way to make an interesting 7-inch iPad, then they have to put aside what Steve said and look at what Steve would have done.
That's my concern. I mean, you can't implant your innate instinct into somebody else. Like they can follow the Jobs way.
But you can pick
years.
the people around you and groom them and try to instill your values
And make
your
them
culture
fearless.
into them as much
Yeah.
as
Well,
possible.
they talk about how Johnny Ives and Steve had this like understanding where they basically shared one mind. That's not going to change.
And Johnny Ive, of course, is still there. This just, I think, underlines the point of how much folly it is for other companies to try to emulate or capture whatever X factor that Apple has, because there is a serious concern that even Apple itself may not be able to continue it now that Jobs isn't there, because it really did come from the DNA of one guy. But my understanding is that since he was diagnosed, there has been kind of a program internally within Apple that is kind of the succession, the legacy program to make sure that it continues after him.
They actually had a bunch of they had like Harvard business people come in, like professors come in and do case studies of the inner workings of the company.
Right.
And they have planned coursework around those studies. And I guess some of the executives, even Tim Cook, was teaching some of these classes to employees.
I mean, part of the thing that it is a lot of people frequently, when you talk to people about products that were bad, then you'll talk to them and say, well, we knew that this wasn't a great idea, but we had to do it because we had to get the product out. And that's one of those things that Apple never did. As long as they keep that, we got to make the thing good rather than meet the arbitrary ship date, then it'll be okay, right? I mean, I think that's the key is don't ship bad products. When you look at all of the stuff that people have done poorly over the years, whether it's okay, I'm having trouble coming up with something that was a bad product. The first generation Zunes that Microsoft shipped, they put a couple of features that were going to look really good on marketing sheets, figured they could sell those into the channel and people would buy them because there's a certain amount of people that'll buy whatever you put in front of them. But they knew that those weren't awesome products. They knew that they had a pretty neat service and an interesting, compelling service and some features that would be really cool if there were 50 million Zunes out. But with the number of products that they were going to ship into that channel, they knew that they had stinkers. And they shipped it anyway.
Yeah, Steve Jobs said, the products speak for themselves. You can't fool people in this
Right.
business.
Well, you can, but you only get one or two chances.
And it's not to say Apple hasn't had bad products. Those are swept under the rug.
I'd buy a
relatively
G4
quickly.
Cube today.
Yeah, you say
I
that.
loved the Cube. That was actually one of the products I didn't understand why it failed. It's not. I
overheating.
mean, look, Apple has had clunkers. The Puck
yeah.
mouse, we didn't like that. Mobile Mini.
They haven't ever made a good
first
mouse.
thing
Let's be honest.
Well, I think the Magic Mouse is pretty great.
You're okay. I'm not going to argue with it about it today.
Yes, in the spirit of
Let's
unity,
all be together today.
let's all just be kumbaya.
No, I mean, yeah, they have definitely made bad products, and I have to say, when I started, my path to Apple was weird, right? Because I started out, the first computer first or second computer I ever used was an Apple II, because it was sitting it was what we had in elementary school. I learned basic programming and that kind of stuff. It was great. Didn't really stick with me as a religious experience. I see a lot of people posting about their first Apples. I was like, okay, that's cool. I dated a couple of girls who had Macs in college, but at that point, 93, 94, 95, Macs were really shitty computers.
Those were the dark
grim.
ages for that company.
And then I graduated from college and started working IT, and part of my job and my first IT job was to maintain this imaging lab, which I think I've talked about on the podcast before. But basically, it was a couple of PCs and a whole shitload of Macs. And it was a mix of pre-jobs return Macs and iMacs. The pre-jobs returns Macs were terrible. Nightmarish to keep running. The OS was bad. It was no fun. This was even before OS 10. So this was in 98, 99. And then
My first Mac was 88, so I know exactly where you are right now.
yeah, like the Performa days and all Centro and all.
Oh no, I had an
those.
SE. I had a old school Mac SE.
I mean, that was a fine for what it was. That was fine.
Yeah.
But they weren't internet computers, right? They weren't computers that you plugged into. Even though we had fast internet at the university, those weren't computers that were good on the internet, and they had driver problems, and there was all sorts of weird shit that just didn't work right. Even into the iMac phase, even when that commercial we ran at the start of the show ran, they weren't good computers, right? It wasn't until OS 10 came out and the design started getting reduced and the colors went away that they started making amazing computers again. And really, it wasn't until they switched to Intel and ditched the IBM processors and Motorola processors. I think that there was a big turnaround for them. And I didn't buy my first Mac until 2008. I'd never bought one before.
The candy-colored iMacs that Jobs introduced after he came back, obviously, were the the big turning point.
Well, they were
right?
different.
And it was partly the all-in-one form factor and the pretty colors, and we get why it appealed to us. But what I always remember is that Jeff Goldblum commercial. Remember? Where it was step 1, plug it in. Step 2, plug in the phone line.
Yeah.
Step 3, there's no step 3.
Yeah.
That's it. It's working.
Yeah.
And, in an age when people were still quite baffled by computers and the internet, and it was all very newfangled and scary, it opened the door to people that otherwise would have had a hard time using computers.
But at the same time, those computers were not very good. They were underpowered. They didn't have enough memory.
They're good enough.
They were good enough.
And
that was the beginning of good enough.
As has been pointed out many times in the past, the iPhone is now more powerful than that iMac was.
Oh, by far. Yeah. I mean, that is the big takeaway. Is this thing that fits in my pocket and weighs less than a pound and
allows you to talk to anyone anywhere in the world,
right? And
face
find
to
out
face.
Face to face.
Oh no!
Let's
come
not go
on.
there.
Nobody does that.
As long as they're on Wi-Fi.
Allows you to.
Nobody does that.
But this is my little hobby horse, and I've said this before, but I think today it kind of bears repeating. People always say it's the 21st century. Where's my hoverboard? Where's my rocket car? It's right there in your pocket. That thing you take for granted every day. Because again, we adapt very quickly. Everything's awesome, and nobody's happy. The whole Louis C.K. thing. We just think there's a whole generation of kids that are growing up in the world where the iPhone is just there now.
Dude.
But if I'd have shown it to you 10 years ago, it would have blown your fucking mind.
Oh,
you
yeah.
wouldn't have believed it. Back to the Future 2 didn't predict this shit.
It blew everybody's minds after it existed.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
the testament is it's 4 years old and 3 months at this point, right? The iPhone. I don't remember what it was like to not use the iPhone every day. Do you?
No, I don't, and I don't want to remember because those were dark days. But again, as you
and not just
out,
the iPhone, I mean, the thing is, all the other smartphone stuff. The second wave of smartphones spawned out of the
Windows
iPhone.
phones and Palm-powered phones were out there. We had the idea of an internet-connected, quote-unquote, smartphone. But again, it was the particular application and the elegance. They'd just be on the idea of just being able to swipe effortlessly through screens and pinch to zoom and just everything just... I know it's a cliche, but everything just worked the way that your brain already imagined it should. That's why it became the number one thing, and everything else suddenly had to copy it.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, it didn't do everything, but it did what it did really well. And I think, and slowly, as technology got better, we got everything we wanted. I mean, you look at the first iPhone, right? We talked about this before. If you use the first iPhone and the first iOS, it's a completely different device.
And there are some people that have tried to marginalize Jobs. There's always the trolls and the haters that come out and say, Jobs didn't really do that much. All he did was take what was there and kind of did the next best version of it. Like, oh yeah, we'd all be stuck in 84 if it wasn't for Jobs. Yeah, right. Maybe not 84, but maybe like 2002. If it wasn't for Jobs, I mean, I shudder to think what phones would look like today if the iPhone hadn't forced everyone to raise their game.
I can never tell if that comes from a desire to be dicks or if that's a genuine misunderstanding of exactly how involved
I think it's
he was
a
with
little bit of
everything.
both. I think it's a little bit contrarianism. It's like 1 part contrarianism and 3 parts just ignorance and not understanding technology.
There's been a small number of trolls. I think as a whole, the response has been very surprising to me. I was expecting a lot of kind of anti-Mac hate and bullshit, and there's been a lot of people, not just public figures, but just on the internet in general, coming out and saying, look, I think that the guy's an asshole, and I don't like Apple products, but you can't deny that
You have
he
to give him
changed the
credit.
world.
I don't think. Yeah, there's no way people are going to.
Yeah, even the
no
haters
way.
have to give him credit for that because, people say, "Oh, why are they laying flowers outside Apple stores for a business CEO? Like, don't we not like those guys?" And if you think of him purely as a business CEO, then I kind of get it. Yeah, I mean, even just on that metric, he's probably the most successful and the most amazing. Businessman
3 months of payroll remaining.
The last 100 years, or the last 50 years at least. But then, obviously, the reason why people feel affected, and I genuinely felt choked up yesterday when I heard the news.
Oh,
I've
been upset
as well.
I told Brad I was listening to. I put Highway 61 Revisited in the car on the way in this morning.
Yeah,
which was a mistake, it turns out.
Yeah,
and was sitting in traffic on the cusp of tears.
And the reason for that is because obviously he was much more than a businessman. He was a cultural icon who intersected all these great areas of business and technology and arts and entertainment and culture.
What is it? Liberal arts and entertainment?
Liberal arts and technology.
Technology and
live
liberal
the
arts.
intersection of liberal arts and technology.
And so, the ways in which we communicate and learn and navigate and discover things and talk to each other and do our work every day. All the things that we just now take for granted. His death, though tragic, I think is an opportunity to kind of find a new appreciation for those things.
And also, I mean, it's his philosophy on life too. I think, regardless of the products or his cultural influence, the way he saw life, the way he lived his life. Like you talk about the Stanford 2005 commencement speech. Like that's, I mean, even if you don't like Apple, you don't like their products. That applies to everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's good. It's just generally good advice. And the Stanford speech shows his roots as kind of a failed hippie too, which is funny to think about. You know, the dude who I mean, in fairness, promoted a shitload of consumerism. I mean, they invented the 1-year smartphone product cycle, but you know, the whole point was iterate fast, make better, make the world a better place.
That commencement speech. Well, sorry. It reminds me of do you remember the Randy Pouch last lecture video?
That's right. The guy was about to die.
And he was also pancreatic
Also
cancer.
pancreatic
cancer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He had the more serious form, but it's the same. It's more about how you live your life.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason why that particular part of Jobs talking about death on the Stanford. I mean, all of the Stanford speech should be listened to, but the part about death is obviously going around right now because it's relevant. But I think in its own way, even his death is inspirational in a way, because I think it would and should prompt people to kind of look at your own lives and go, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to leave behind? Look at what this fucking guy did. And he started in a garage at age 19. Like, what's, am I really satisfied with what I'm
college
doing?
education.
Yeah.
No real formal training. He just had was in a garage.
Last night, I did what I'm sure many people did last night. I went home and watched Pirates of Silicon Valley.
That TV thing from 2003.
Yeah, the TNT movie,
Yeah.
which is not bad. I
No.
mean, obviously, I'm sure some aspects of it are a little sensationalized or dramatized. But
I think they made Bill Gates much more evil than he
he's
really
absolutely
is.
the heel in that story,
Yeah.
or the way they portrayed it. But talking about him being a failed hippie, it's funny to watch in that movie the overt transition from like jean shorts and flip-flops wearing guy with a big dirty beard to, I mean, he literally, they go to their first computer show with the Apple II, and I don't know that it actually happened this way, but he shows up with long hair and a beard and stuff, goes in the bathroom and comes out clean shaven with a suit on, and Woz is just like literally falling on his ass going, what did you just do, you know?
I wonder if that really happened. I always wondered about that.
I don't
one.
know that actual event occurred, but to see that transition.
It's interesting to see. I mean, even just kind of the style of Steve Jobs changed from, obviously kind of the hippie early years, and then kind of more of a three-piece suit guy when he was trying to get Apple off the ground.
Yeah.
And then kind of a bit of a wacky bow tie kind of vibe, when he got kicked out of Apple. And then eventually just like, you know what, I'm just going to wear this every day because I don't need to impress you with what I'm wearing anymore. Like,
Right.
you can look at what I've done.
Well, do you remember that Wired, one of the profiles that they did of Jobs in the mid-2000s, they commissioned maybe they didn't commission, maybe it was an art piece that was someplace, but basically there was a white room full of pedestals with one Steve uniform on each pedestal, right? So the New Balance shoes, the Levi's, the black mock turtleneck, I guess, and the glasses in like a sealed clear plastic
Like a
box.
superhero costume?
Yeah, basically, and there were just pedestal after pedestal after pedestal of them all the way off into the distance. It's an amazing photo. I'll have to dig
It's
it
like
up
Einstein,
afterwards.
right? Wore the same clothes every day, so he didn't have to think about what he would put on.
Why do you want to think about that?
But it's interesting, especially when you go back, when you read the stuff about Jobs' early life and you watch Pirates of Silicon Valley. He comes across often as kind of a dick, right?
Oh,
He
yeah.
bullies the
I
employees.
think he was a dick.
But you know what? I'm willing to forgive it because my theory on that is and this is why a lot of geniuses are dicks. Remember in Firefly they would say whatever any statue they built of someone, he was probably some kind of son of a bitch. Right, and that's true. And I think that's true for a reason. I think the reason why so many genius level guys often come across as dicks, and I think this probably applied to Jobs, is it's coming from a place of like, if you could see what I see and understand how important and awesome this shit's going to be, you would be as hard on you as I am being right now.
Singular
this
focus.
is too important for me
Yeah.
to demand anything less than excellence from everyone around me. We
yeah.
cannot afford to fuck this up.
At least in the professional environment, it's just a frustration with the obstacles between you and where you want to get to.
Right. I heard that somebody said a similar thing to me once about working with John Carmack, who is obviously also a genius.
Mm-hmm.
Said the problem with John is he expects everyone around him to be as smart and to work as hard as he does, and it's just not possible.
I kind of imagine, like, when you're talking about somebody like Carmack, I kind of imagine him just kind of walking through a room, and it's like one of those, everything else is in black and white, and all the people are kind of faded out in the background, and it's just like he's the one that's in full color, I don't think Jobs was that kind of genius. I think Jobs was very aware of what was going on around him all the time, everything that was happening. He was just able to look 2 or 3 years in the future and know what they should be working on before anybody else. And then he sold it to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's the amazing thing. So Anybody want to? I mean, we've been talking about this for a while. I don't want to make this a Steve Jobs memorial.
So
show.
I mean, you know, so if people care about Steve as they should, then I came in here this morning going like, well, what is there left to be said? Like many people have already said very eloquently everything there is.
Yeah,
to say.
Stuff people should read. The Mossberg piece, Brian's piece over on the Wirecutter was good. The Stephen Levy thing on Wired I thought was quite nice.
And then there's the book coming out.
Yeah, the book is coming out. They pushed it up. It's coming out in October.
Special
October
edition of
24th.
Time as well coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
You
Which
know
I will
the
get on the
PDF
iPad.
cover actually right now.
Yeah.
Did they? Is it which picture did
It's
they
an old-
use?
it's an old Jobs
one,
with an original Mac.
Yeah, and he has his legs folded in like a yoga position.
It's kind of like hippie guru 70s
Yeah, yeah.
Jobs.
Now that the market is open, how has Wall Street reacted?
I don't care.
It's down a little bit, but not that much. But you're right; it doesn't matter. And it's something that'll only really be felt over the long term. And this is another thing that I thought was interesting. A lot of people have been comparing Jobs to Henry Ford and Thomas Edison and these guys, and some people have said, "Come on!" And I think the reason why it's hard for people to grasp that comparison, especially younger people, is that people like Henry Ford and Albert Einstein and Thomas Edison almost are far enough away in history from our lives today that they almost feel like these kind of mythic figures, like they're like these folkloric figures. They almost weren't real. And so it's hard to imagine that someone like that is actually walking around and we see him on TV every day. And you go, that can't be one of those guys. But he really was. He really is and was. And that probably won't be fully appreciated for some decades once, you know, history has kind of brought things into focus. Yeah. But I have no problem with the Edison and Ford comparison. I think he's right up there.
Well, if you look at the personal computer as a thing that is important as important as the automobile and light bulbs,
which it's hard to argue.
I think it's hard to argue that it's not. Yeah, then he's right up there. I mean, at worst case, he's what was the guy's name who invented the telephone?
Bell.
Yeah, Bell. Thanks. I was going to say, was it Mr. NT?
the
Tesla.
The Apple II is probably the one case where it could be said they actually invented that concept, right? I mean, nobody really had married.
No, there had been personal computers before. The thing that they did was they put it in a nice case and made it relatively inexpensive.
That's what I mean. Like they assembled it, or at least that movie portrays it in a way that they were the first to assemble it in that tidy package, you know.
And the other one
first is a hard thing to say. That a lot of stuff was happening in a lot of garages at that time.
The other
but
one
they marketed better than anybody else. That's the other thing that Jobs did is if you look at the marketing that's come out of Apple, both prior to his departure and after his return, the advertisements are a part of pop culture and our society in a way that I think no other company really during that same time period has had an impact.
Sure.
Although the closest to it is the Budweiser ads.
Sure. Although at that nascent stage of the business, you probably would have to give as much credit to Woz and his hardware design, right?
Oh,
he seems like
absolutely.
He was a pretty smart
Oh
engineer.
yeah, no question.
Well, did you see the patent thing that New York Times put together?
317 patents,
and you can browse through and see all of them and the sketches of all of them.
And he's named as an inventor on every one of them.
Right. No,
whether or not. Again, it's easy to not. Woz has been kind of interesting to become kind of a figure of fun a little bit, right? Because he's such like a avuncular kind of character,
very
right?
Eccentric, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny that in the midst of all this woe, Woz finally tweets, "Oh, it's really sad, but I'm having my family dinner." Posted from Outback Steakhouse.
Right.
Just like fucking
hold on.
Woz is just so
not
great.
just Outback Steakhouse, but where he is the mayor.
He is the
on
Foursquare mayor of Outback Steakhouse.
Right.
That's how down to earth. And of course, the guy could buy Outback Steakhouse if he wanted to.
Sure.
Yeah.
But he's just a fucking regular
He's a goofball.
Dude. He's a regular dude.
Right.
There was a TV interview with him this morning. He seemed a little detached.
I
don't want to say he doesn't seem all there anymore, but he had that pretty traumatic head injury at one point.
Right. He always has been a little bit
maybe
detached.
I'm sure he was a little bit.
He's a super nerd,
eccentric even before that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's I was really surprised at how hard this hit me because it's not a surprise. I mean, you knew that he wasn't in good health. I had hoped that he had longer from the time that he left Apple.
The whole idea of and some people have brought this into question as well. Again, I dispute it, but some people are saying, how can you feel personally affected by the death of someone you never even met? And I think that's a very cynical way to look at things, because clearly people can touch your lives without ever having met you.
Yeah.
The last time a lot of people were devastated when Kurt Cobain died, right? Because his music meant something to them. Same with Michael Jackson and people like that.
And Douglas Adams.
The only time I've ever felt like that prior to this was Douglas Adams.
Yeah, when Douglas Adams died, I was heartbroken.
Went before his time.
Yeah.
Completely out, just
out of the blue,
just dropped dead.
Yeah.
At like 40 something, and perhaps not coincidentally, while I was affected, very similar figure to Jobs. A visionary.
Yeah. Way ahead of his time.
Adams loved Apple, wrote about Apple products all the time.
But not even
he saw the future.
I mean, this is the Hitchhiker's Guide, right?
Yes, it is.
We're holding it in our pocket. We have it in our pockets.
My iPad says "Don't panic." That's my lock screen because it feels like this is the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I mean, the gut punch for me comes from exactly that. That he was only 56. That
he could have had 30 more years.
As hard a worker as he was, he had at least another 2 decades of really productive work ahead of him.
Well,
it's just the what if.
And
what would he
absolutely,
have
it's not an exaggeration to say that through that one man's death, the pace of progress in the future now slows down just a little bit.
Well, could. I mean, the sad thing to me is that he won't live to see the future he helped create. I mean, I guess that's true of everybody eventually.
I don't know. I mean,
But-
as tragic as it is to go at 56, fuck, man, if I achieved 1,000th of what he had achieved by
that's
56, I'd be pretty fucking happy.
That's
I
true.
mean, look at, and this is why people are concerned about Apple post-Jobs, right? Because it's no accident. Look, we've seen it happen. Jobs creates Apple out of nothing, becomes a hugely successful company. They fire him. Apple nearly goes into extinction. He comes back and not only rescues it, but turns it into the biggest company on the planet.
I'm telling you, nothing happens by accident. Everything that's happened in the last 6 years, 7 years at Apple has been with this happening in Jobs' mind. I mean, the guy has been focused on life, focused on death. Let's see how it goes. I mean, that's all we can do at this point is wait and see what they do.
The conclusion is just time will tell.
And I mean, we'll know in a year. We'll reconvene next
Yeah,
October.
I mean, it's I think it's kind of romantic and maybe overly optimistic to think this, but obviously they did have although it's kind of sick to say it, but they did have the benefit kind of knowing that the end was coming, and so you do get to it's not like he did just drop over dead. There was a plan. I think his last gift or his last thing that he did, his last contribution to Apple would have been to say, here's how you keep going after me.
Yeah.
Right. Here are the things that you need to remember, and just keep doing this stuff and you'll be okay.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you want to read more stuff about Jobs, I highly recommend what the Dormouse said. I don't know if anybody read that. It's a fantastic book about early Apple days and how hippie counterculture influenced Jobs and Apple.
TNT, by the way, is re-showing Pirates of Silicon Valley tonight.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
for
good
people
to
that
know.
haven't been able to dig it up, it'll be on
Boy,
again tonight.
they'll
get some
go
ratings
well for them.
There's a really good book about the creation of the iPod, also called The Perfect Thing.
Oh, I haven't
recommend
read
reading.
that. I'll check that out.
And of course, Isaacson's book is out later this month.
October, yeah.
You recommended Triumph of the Nerds also.
Triumph
right?
of the Nerds is very good as well.
I'd like to see that.
It's different. It's worth watching.
He's also pretty prominently featured in another aspect of his career we didn't even talk about, the Pixar documentary that's on Netflix.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
He actually consented to sit down and
good.
it's a really good documentary. It's mostly about Lasseter and the early days of Pixar.
And by the way,
he's in it quite a bit.
We've had this whole conversation without even talking about Pixar, which is the other monumental
Right.
thing. Like I said, I'd be perfectly happy. You talk about what would you leave behind? I'd be perfectly happy to leave behind either Apple or Pixar. This guy did both. It's insane.
Well, I mean, I don't know anything about. I really know nothing about his involvement with Pixar, but it's an amazing life.
My understanding of Pixar is that he bought it from Lucasfilm when it was still very much kind of an experimental, graphics research lab.
Right.
Caltech guys.
Yes.
And
it was they were trying to sell hardware workstations at that time.
Right. And they were close to going, when they were just doing shorts, they were close to going out of the picture.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Jobs, I think, was a big champion in terms of fighting for marketing dollars and fighting for support from the studio. And then, until they could get Toy Story out the door. And then, of course, the rest is history.
Yeah, once Toy Story was out, it was all.
Yeah.
Because they did the stuff for the Adventurers and Beauty and the Beast, the CG ballroom scene.
Entertainment Weekly had.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There was a story in EW back when Cars 2 came out where they sat down with Lasseter and he just gave like a little blurb about every movie they'd made.
Uh-huh.
And the one for the second movie was Bug's Life, right?
Bug's Life, yeah.
So for Bug's Life, he said he started off the anecdote by just saying that after Toy Story came out, it was a huge success. Jobs sat him down and said, "Sophomore slump, John. We cannot have it. And I was just like, I imagined that happening like exactly like that,
Wow.
just like steely gaze, like you did good, but don't fuck up the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, it's another thing that changed the world in its own small way, right? Before Pixar, it was very difficult for people to imagine that computer animated movies could be something that would be full of life and delightful and could capture kids' imaginations, because we just thought of computer animation as something that was kind of sterile and not as beautiful and authentic as hand-drawn animation. Now, hand-drawn animation, I mean, this may be sad in the same way, but now computer animation has become the form, right? And again, this is all Jobs and Pixar that brought that into existence.
And it's another situation where Pixar is always 2 years ahead. Like if you look at a Pixar movie from this year or from 2 years ago, what was the 2 years ago? It was WALL-E.
Yep.
If you look at that and compare,
Up was the last one. Well, Cars 2 was the most recent one.
Yeah,
Up
so
was before
Toy Story
that.
look at WALL-E and compare it to this year's crop of DreamWorks pictures, and the level of detail and complexity and depth in that movie, they'll be roughly equivalent.
Well, and that's what's interesting is we talk about how like a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So like Apple has
I've never actually heard that before.
Really? Okay.
No.
Well, the idea is that
one,
the Apple becoming great at what they do not only creates great products of Apple, but forces other companies like Android and Microsoft, Windows 7, or whatever it is, they all have to create these better things now to compete. So it makes everything better for everybody. And I think the same is true of Pixar. If you look at when Pixar first came out and DreamWorks and the other studios were doing the animated movies, the non-Pixar ones were kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Now they're actually much better because they have to compete with Pixar.
How to Train Your Dragon and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and
Right.
I mean, it's much better. The whole industry is much better as a result.
And it's no accident that Apple and Pixar had the same kind of godfather behind them, because they have the exact same values, right? Which is never tolerate anything that's less than excellent.
Right.
That's it. Just do great shit all the time.
and have the courage to say, "Hey, this isn't good enough."
Well, to be fair, they don't do great shit. They release great shit. They do tons of stuff. And they are smart enough to know what they did. What's great out of that.
And I hold up Blizzard as another example of that, right? How deep were they into StarCraft Ghost before they just said, you know what?
Yeah,
it's
3
not
years.
worth. It's not. We shouldn't release this.
Yep. Right.
We've put millions into it, but it's just not worth releasing it because the cost to our brand.
Yeah.
We're known as a company that only does excellent stuff. It's just not worth it.
No, you're absolutely right.
So Apple. I mean, I'm sure Apple's junk pile. Things that almost made it out the door, but then Jobs said nope.
The companies that would like to have access to Apple's junk pile,
Can you
it's
imagine?
a long list. Right, just call it the crapple. So yeah, Steve Jobs.
I've decided I was I don't know if this counts as a segue or not, but I was kind of 50-50 on whether or not I wanted to go the trouble of getting a 4S right away. I think that some people say the 4S now stands for Steve, and so
that's really
no, it does not.
in that spirit, I will be endeavoring to get my 4S.
I did see some comments on Twitter last night to the effect of like, well, I guess I'll get a 4S now.
Yeah, some people just feel kind of like now
It's like an
morally obligated to pick one up.
If you look at it,
that.
I think that's a little silly. But I mean, if it's probably the last iPhone that he'll have handled before, that has the touch of Steve.
I don't know. I think probably the next one's got to have some of his DNA in it, don't you think?
I think DNA, but I think that's different than something that he picked up in hell.
I think the next one, the next round of Apple products will be the ones that are most closely watched.
Yeah.
In terms of like, well, how Jobsian does it all still seem? Are we still going to be blown away?
Yep.
So that's
Speaking of being blown away, iPhone 4S. We had a whole lot of product announcement this week, I guess. It seems like a long time ago now.
2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago. Tim Cook was on the stage in Cupertino in the small theater, and basically, talked about a whole bunch of boring stuff for about 90 minutes.
Did you see, by the way, I thought it was a nice touch that the kind of the A1 position seat in the audience was
the reserve spot.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of nice.
I bet that'll go on for a while.
I don't know. I just thought it was nice this one
I
time.
thought it was good.
So
the 4S is basically what... Well, first off, there's
and
no iPhone 5.
In a tragic piece of foreshadowing as well, just talking about Tim Cook and the whole style of update. I remember you tweeting to me at some point, or I am saying like, I miss Jobs already.
Oh yeah,
It's just not the same.
yeah. Well, I felt like during that presentation it was slow, and those keynotes never feel slow. Like the Apple keynotes traditionally, even the boring financial stuff that I don't really care about.
Like, oh
has
yes,
never
people
felt
love our stores.
slow.
Here's a video of people hugging iPads. Like,
But
yeah, we
without-
always have to sit through all that
Without
stuff.
even being able to hear it.
Yeah.
You felt it was slow, the pacing. But
It was.
it would have been the same presentation
I think it
with
would have.
Steve Jobs.
I think he would have. I like to think that Steve would have said, "Hey, this first 30 minutes where we're recapping shit that everybody already knows.
I think
needs to
because
go
of
faster."
The number of products they announced, it would have been the same pacing. They didn't show that much.
Maybe.
It took a while to get to the big announcements, right? But
Right.
They did
Because there weren't that many.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. The recap of the iOS 5 stuff that was from WWDC.
Yes, which they had to do.
I don't think so.
I think they
could have hit the high
again,
points.
it's not for us. It's for everyone else.
I understand, but this wasn't streamed to everyone else. So anyway,
it's for everyone else.
A couple of small announcements. Let's go over those first. First is the cards program, which is letterpress cards. Letterpress cards are a hot thing right now in certain circles. Probably not ours. You can buy them from iPhoto right now. They're $2 or $3, and they'll send them out for you. Same thing from the phone now. I'm not too excited about this.
You
I'll be
turn your
honest.
pictures into one of 12 cards. Apple will print it out and mail it to you. $3 for anyone in the U.S., $4 for elsewhere.
It seems like the oh shit, I forgot to send a birthday card to my mom.
Yeah, I think Patrick said something about why can't it just be tied to Facebook so it'll automatically send a birthday card for friends who have birthdays.
I think that's the future.
Yeah, then you don't
that
have to
sucks.
care about your friends.
Then you don't have to even think about your
That
friends.
sucks. The best part of a birthday is going to the store, going to the small birds, the stuff with birds on it, shit with birds on it store, and picking out a nice card for your friend.
It's a nice halfway house, though, because there have been times when you've forgotten birthdays and you send like an e-card at the last minute. People know what that means.
you
I
don't-
forgot your birthday.
No, I send a personal letter rather than the
worst
card.
case,
You send
you
a
make
note.
a card. You have some extra construction paper in the house. You fold it and you
Really, you
do
have construction paper in your house?
Fuck yeah,
Do
construction
you have
paper in the
crayons
house.
too?
No,
Do you have those little
Sharpies.
safety scissors with a round tip?
I have Sharpies,
Okay.
and you make a card.
You never made
personalized
me a card.
because I don't know your birthday.
We're Facebook friends, aren't we?
I think it's kind of nice. It's kind of folksy, It's not sexy for us, but there are plenty of
I guarantee you in the next year I
scrapbooking
will
types
use
out
it.
there that will love this kind of thing.
I will forget someone's birthday and have to send a card over the internet.
Have-
I'm waiting for the
getting
ability to write the note on the
Getting
phone
the
screen.
Apple e-card or the card with the generic 12 designs, I think is a slap in the face.
Yes, I
In
agree.
It tells your friends that you're not that important.
in continuing the escalation, do you want to talk about the iPods?
Well, hold on.
Is that the next?
The next is the Find My Friends and Family.
Oh, so I actually don't. I missed this. What is that?
Okay, so
exactly?
it's basically Google Latitude or Foursquare. It's a persistent presence. You basically you sign in, you say who your close friends are, who your family members are that you want to keep track of, or send location updates, and you'll be able to do that over the internet. I mean, so you'll be able to open up your iPhone and say, oh, okay, Will and Norm are at work, and Brad's at the coffee shop
I'm going to have to
down the
authorize
street.
that, right?
You have to authorize
Okay.
it,
And there could be a timestamp on
and you can gate the times.
so you say, oh, at the end of the day, it's only for one day. It'll be shut off.
Right.
So
or
I
you can
think-
say only between 6 o'clock at night and 10 o'clock at night when you're going to be out at clubbing.
I think
Now,
the
is this going to
example
make
is
life very difficult for philandering husbands and things
I
like
would say
that?
so. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably a good thing, right? In the great
I'm not a
scheme of things.
philanderer, so I
give
feel
me
like it's a
your
good thing.
lock code and email passwords. Ultimatum.
Yeah.
No, it's for families like Disneyland. Every kid has an iPhone, right? So
Right.
That's
you got
great.
the 5 kids. Now you know where everyone is at Disneyland.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, it's nothing new, but the thing that's new is it'll be ubiquitous because it'll be on all the phones when you hit iOS 5.
Do you use everyone uses Find My iPhone, right?
I have find my iPhone set up. Yeah.
I've used it a couple of times when I've lost it in the house, and I've just made it bleep.
make the horrible
It's
buzzing
under
noise.
a pile of laundry or something, and I've made it.
Yeah.
They've
Find
actually
it,
made
save
it part
for
of
me.
the setup process for iOS 5 now to turn it on.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It used to be
that's
kind of a
why-
hassle to turn on. You
Yeah,
had to sign up for
exactly.
Mobile Me and all that. They talked about iOS 5 stuff a lot. I hadn't put iOS 5 on a iPad since right after launch. I put the GM on my Goldmaster.
Is it launching for iPad as well?
Yeah,
next week?
it's simultaneous launch.
Okay.
I think that's part of why the phone event was pushed back to September, so that they would be able to do both at the same time. Unlike last year with the staggered release, which really sucked. The browser now seems much more capable. I got to do some more testing, but the tabs actually work like tabs. There's no like weird new Windows or different Windows screen and all that stuff. It seems much more robust than the beta 1 or beta 2 that we put on earlier this year.
Apparently my levels are quiet.
Your levels are quiet. Okay,
Yeah.
I will turn you up a little bit then.
I'm touching the screen.
So yeah, the rest of the stuff that happened, iPhone 4 is. Let's talk about iPods first.
Yeah, iPods. Classic is not gone. It's in the press release, still mentioned. The shuffle's not gone, so those are the big rumors of what's
So they just haven't refreshed them.
I'm going to go ahead and say
still
at this
there.
point, if they haven't killed them now, those are going to stay around until there's such a time as Flash iPod Touches are are the same capacity at a similar price.
They're going to continue to make them
like
as long as
250 gig.
I think that we are not going to see those classics go away until Flash is cheap.
Or until they
As cheap.
launch a product line where it is built into like car stuff.
Well, that's part of the reason why I think the classics are still around is two things. Put that hardcore people that say I want to have all my music and I do have 200 gigs of music. I think that's mad, but there are people that are like that, like serious audiophiles. And then the in-car market is a big deal. People put these things in the trunk of their car.
But it's not optimal. It's convenient, but it's hard. It's inconvenient to update. It's convenient for having your entire library in your car. But if you want to update, you have to unplug it, bring it back in the house, plug it into your computer.
I mean, that's not that.
I mean,
big a deal.
it's not as connected as the iPhone. Eventually, I think the in-car devices will be Wi-Fi connected, and you'll be able to download direct from iTunes to your car.
Sure.
Or stream.
Dude, we've had those. D-Link made one of those things years ago. It was terrible.
Apple's gonna make one that's gonna be better.
I find it kind of comforting though that the classic is still around. I don't
it's like
know.
one-
There's just something nice
it's
about
a-
it.
One corner of a factory in China that's just churning them out.
Yeah, I mean, it's an iconic design. People will keep buying them, to replace the ones that die, if nothing else.
Isn't Matt Braga some kind of weird iPod Classic aficionado?
So is Jeff.
Really?
Yeah, Jeff has one in his car. He loves it. He has a 160 gig one in his car that has all of his music on it, and he just, when he gets new stuff every few months, he loads it back up.
Yeah.
So I mean, I totally get that. I think it's nothing wrong with that at all.
And it's pretty great because a lot of cars now, really integrate well with the iPod. You can do it right, from the controls you've got on your steering wheel.
Or the
and-
voice controls or whatever, yeah. I was a little bummed that they didn't update the Nano. I don't like the square Nano design. After using it some, I think it's
you mean
bad.
like they didn't redesign it?
Yeah, I was hoping for a return to click wheel, but I understand why they didn't do that, but I think it's...
Yeah, it seems like they're sticking with this,
I don't...
kind of modifying it a little bit, right? So it's just big icons now that you swipe
software.
through.
So
It's
just
software
software
update,
update.
yeah.
The same physical form. I think more colors maybe. It's 7 colors or something. Software update. So instead of the 4 icons in one, it's one big icon each screen.
Now, if I have an old Nano, can
You
I get
free
that
update right now?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
you
great.
can just plug it into iTunes and you get free update. You get 60 new watch faces, up to 18. I think if they wanted to, the way they presented it was kind of a novelty. People have made watch bands and people are using it as watches.
Look at all our crazy users.
Oh, and by the way, this is just to go back to the Jobs thing for a second. This is another example, right, of how only someone like Jobs can make this work. So they have the different watch faces because people like the idea of the Nano as a watch. And people are delighted when they bring up like a Mickey Mouse watch face, right? Because that's a classic idea, right? A Mickey Mouse wristwatch. And they put it on the Nano. It's very cute. And I was thinking, man, that must have been really hard to I can't imagine what the deal must have been like with Disney. Oh wait,
it's
Jobs
Steve
owns
Jobs.
half of Disney. This probably wasn't that difficult.
That's right. It just worked out.
Yeah.
I like the Kermit the Frog one. I saw that and I was like, oh, suddenly I'm interested.
I
Either that or
wish-
Princess Ariel.
I wish they redesigned it so you can get rid of the metal clip. Because if you got rid of the metal clip, that bulge makes it less.
right.
If they
handy to
need to redesign, if they want people to use it as a watch, they need to redesign it so it's a
Or
watch.
they
It
need
needs
to
to
make
be
it a
more
watch.
water resistant.
Or they need to make it a watch first,
Yeah.
and then that has a Nano inside.
Did they ever fix the problem where the watch face is
They
persistent?
did. So
Okay.
the software, I think they did that last year. So you
Yeah.
can have it, so if you press the button, it is the watch face.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And they lowered the prices, so $20 cheaper. Still 8 gigs, 16 gigs.
How much is it now?
129, 149.
Actually, the idea of using that as a watch is not unappealing.
It's not because of the way the headphone jack works and the dock port and all that stuff work on it. It's not a good watch. You have to take it off when you wash your hands. And I don't know about you, but I wash my hands a lot every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially around here.
Like Lady Macbeth.
Well, I mean, the watch bands they sell now, kind of the rubberized ones block most of it, but it's still too bulgy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
too
not.
big.
It's not as ideal as you would hope it would be.
And you would want, I mean, you'd think in the future some type of connectivity. I don't know. The Apple's sold an idea that a watch should be paired with your phone, the way that some of these other devices that we tested, like the Sony Live View and the Texas Instruments one that Will has.
The MetaWatch.
Yeah, the MetaWatch. The programmable stuff. That's still very much a hobby business.
So I mean, across the whole iPod line, this is probably like the least seismic update we've ever seen, right? I mean, they really just did kind of tighten the screws on a few things.
That is a mature product category.
Very much so.
They are updating products in incremental fashion. I would guess that we'll see updates to that stuff every 3 years, 2 or 3 years.
Big
Nothing
updates.
big,
Well,
yeah,
it
big
used to be- I mean,
substantial design
It's such a
updates.
small percentage of their quarterly revenues and profits now that there's no point.
Really?
I mean, it
Yeah,
seems like
it's
particularly with the
the
Nano,
ch-
they've been
drops.
really trying the last few years.
Including
with-
iPod
and no,
Touch?
not including iPod Touch.
Okay.
What I mean, it's just classic iPods.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting with the Nano in particular that most of the other SKUs have kind of calcified. Like we know what they are now. The Nano is like, oh, what if it looked like that? What
Right.
about this every year? And now finally,
Maybe it
like,
should record video.
yeah, now they've actually got 2 years in a row of consistency on the Nano. Maybe that finally is going to settle down as well. This is what the Nano is now.
Honestly, I wish they'd go back to the Wrigley's spearmint style stick.
That was my favorite. No, actually, no, I like the little chubby one.
I
The
just
square one.
I just want something that's so small and holds enough music to exercise while listening, so I don't feel like a jackass carrying my iPhone when I go
Yeah,
jogging.
that's all you need.
Yeah. That's pretty much it on iPhone. The
You mean
big
iPod?
iPod.
Because the Touch got a
iPod
got a spec bump, right?
iPod Touch got a minor spec bump. It doesn't have A5. It still has what seems like the shitty screen from last year.
So it's not.
It still has a bad camera.
Wait, does the iPod Touch have a Retina screen?
It has a Retina resolution,
But it's not the
but it's
same
not
panel.
the IPS panel.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I see.
There's noticeable dithering. It's
Okay.
And there's questions. I don't think anybody ever answered whether that was for size and space considerations, because if you've never handled an iPod Touch, it's significantly slimmer than an iPhone. It's the curved beveled back, not
shiny metal.
not
So
a
what is the
square.
change in the new iPod Touch?
I think there's a capacity bump, isn't it?
Really? I
I
thought it was
think
already at
it's-
64.
Oh, was it already at 64?
No, capacity bumps for the iPhone
Then it's nothing.
for us. Yeah.
Well,
I
it's
think
cheaper,
iPod
isn't
Touch-
it? Start at $199 now.
Maybe.
That's new.
Maybe that's it.
I don't know.
Yeah, basically iPod Touch, nothing.
It's not A5 though.
Yeah.
Again,
That
it's
was
like
the
you,
big
you
thing.
you do get to a point where you're just like, we really can't make this that much
It's
better than it already
it's
is.
as minimalist as we can make it.
Yeah, like
at some point it'll just be a sheet of glass, right? I mean that's the direction we're going. Here's your phone. It's a piece of glass. That would be pretty rad,
why
actually.
not? Why not?
So the big news is, of course, the iPhone 4S, which I think is safe to call an iPhone 5 by any other name, but people are going to call me a fanboy for saying
No,
that.
I think it's iPhone 4.
I think 4S.
I think
seems
it's
fitting.
right. It's right for them to call it.
It's
the
the
4S.
same. It's the same chassis as the iPhone 4. Physically the same. The antenna band is a little bit different. The internals are all new. It seems like A5.
That's not. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's the 4S.
Oh right. No, I agree.
Right. I think the jump from 3G to 3GS, 4 to 4S, same thing.
Yeah, that's
Same vibe. And
it's
we
the
were
same analogy.
so happy with the 3GS.
Because it's a TikTok scenario, right?
Yep.
Kind of is. Yeah.
pretty
Well,
much.
And the other thing is, there's two things happening here. Not doing cosmetic changes to this device makes all the people that buy these things on 2-year contracts really happy with Apple because their phone doesn't instantly look old.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's the thing. When the iPhone 4 came out, all the people that had bought iPhone 3GSs the year before immediately thought, oh, man, my phone looks old.
And it's not practical for them to commit so much design resources to this iPhone 4 design and only have it for a year and a half.
And maybe this is the right cycle going forward. Is 4, 4S, 5, 5S. It's a TikTok cycle going forward, and that achieves a number of things. First of all, Apple don't feel like they're under pressure to reinvent the wheel every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're actually on a 2-year cycle for the bigger revamp. And also, like you say, people get annoyed by the fact that their phone looks outdated after a year. Now it doesn't. Like you can, if you've got a 4. You don't need to feel embarrassed that people around you got a 4S.
Well, okay,
it's not that,
just half the point, though.
different.
Just to be clear.
And with the 3G and 3GS, there was a difference. It was the back, the color.
Well, because
The
there was a
white
white one.
back.
Because they introduced a white
Yeah.
one.
And
And some
I
people wanted
think-
the white one
there-
to
no,
point
there was
out
a white
that they
exactly.
had.
There wasn't a white
3GS.
There's a
3G.
white 3G.
Not a
3GS
regular.
There
was the
totally
first.
was.
Oh, really?
Jeff and
Oh,
Ryan
maybe
both bought
maybe
white
you're right.
3Gs.
Maybe you're right.
Okay.
Oh.
On day one.
I would argue that you don't need to feel embarrassed that you have a year-old phone regardless, just in
Agreed.
general.
Yeah, that's silly.
It's kind
Um,
of product snobbery. That
I completely agree with
frowned
everything
upon.
you just said about, it makes sense to leapfrog in terms of cosmetic changes and stuff, but if they were only going to do an incremental under the hood update, why wait 18 months? Why did this not happen in June?
I think they were waiting on OS to be done. That's my.
and their killer app,
That's
which
my
we'll
hunch.
get to.
And I really do feel
and-
like, as someone who stood in line for every single iPhone so far.
Yeah,
And
well,
this-
to be fair, for the iPhone 4, you stood in line so you could gloat about getting.
I
your
already
iPhone
actually
4
had my
early.
iPhone 4.
Yeah.
It became such an instant. I guess there's an iPhone line. I guess I better go in it.
Yeah,
How did you have it?
they FedExed a day early.
I- One day early.
Yeah, they sent them out early to people that pre-ordered online. So
Yeah, that's
I
right.
was in
And
the
we did our
iPhone
quick
4
look
line
before.
with my iPhone 4, but I just for the spirit of camaraderie, I went and joined Will and Norm in the line. I'm just like, and again, it's kind of like a Pavlovian. Oh, people are lining up for an Apple product. Better go do that.
Somewhere there's a line.
Somewhere,
for it.
yeah, there's a line without me in it, and that must be
So
rectified.
jump ahead for a little second. If they're going to do this TikTok refresh cycle, which makes sense, right? It makes the talk that much more impressive. That's the A+ upgrade. That's when they can take a risk with the design, and that's kind of what they're doing with the iPad too, right?
Well-
Or the other with the iPad. It would make sense for them to do that as well.
It's not a bad idea. It also, I think, on the phones, as that market has matured, I think it wouldn't be a bad thing for them to get on an 18-month update cycle. I mean, I think.
Well, 18 months also ties into like their carrier.
Because then
So 3 years between major phone updates?
Well, maybe not. Maybe it's 18 months between major phone updates and a new phone every 18 months. Because the thing is, your 2-year contract, if you spend, at least on AT&T, if you spend more than a certain amount of money, then they'll prorate that down. So my 2-year contract is actually an 18-month contract.
Right.
Because my wife and I are on the same family plan, right? I don't know what's going on.
Share that with me.
Okay, because this is great radio.
Yes.
What I was gonna say is I think 18-month cycle is not necessarily a bad thing. It seems like the internet might be down, so I'm not gonna be able to share that with you.
Oh, great.
Well, does that mean this isn't going out?
No, the plug's still gone. Just Wi-Fi is broken. 18-month cycle is not bad. I think they also probably were waiting on the dual GSM CDMA chipset for the phone.
And that's in there, right?
And that is in this phone.
Okay.
So when you go to the store, whether you get the Verizon phone or the Sprint phone or the AT&T phone, it's the same phone. It's just when they activate it, it's probably going to lock it to the carrier.
Does that mean that? Oh, okay. Well, does that mean the Verizon phone has a disused SIM card slot?
Probably.
Really?
Wait,
Yeah.
you think they'll lock it so you won't be able to break
My
contract?
hunch would be
and-
that when you pay for an on-contract phone and get the on-contract price, it will lock it to it. The question is, will you be able to ask for will you be able to pay the full price for a no lock?
You can.
Yeah, I
You
don't-
can right now.
Well, but you couldn't at launch.
Right. But
So that came like 6 months after the phone was out, or after the Verizon phone came out, even almost.
Do you
I think
there-
they'll let you pay $800
I would
hope
for a
so.
phone.
Is there any possibility of being able to unlock it to bring it to a different carrier after that contract is up?
Depends on how well jailbreaking goes for iOS 5. Really,
Yeah.
the thing is, you are probably. Some carriers will let you call and say, hey, you call and you say, hey, I'm going to Europe. I need to unlock my phone because I want to just use my same phone with a different SIM in it. And they'll give you a code that you can punch in or do it remotely or whatever. And that will unlock the phone. iPhone has traditionally been kind of hard to get them to let you do that with.
I think consumers are going to start to feel very comfortable with the idea of this 2 update cycle. If you want to be hardcore, if you want to be the early adopter, yeah, you can get the new phone every year. For a lot of people, like for example, I think more people will be upgrading to the 4S from the 3GS than from the 4.
Absolutely.
Because that's a big
Yep.
step. That's going to feel like a
Absolutely.
big step up.
Tons of
Retina
people are on the
display,
tick upgrade model.
new form factor, much more powerful because you're upgrading 2 generations. Like with the 4, I mean, even me, and I'm kind of a diehard. Even I was like I'm going to end up getting it. Of course I am. Who am I kidding? But for a while there was like, it's not a no-brainer because we'll get into it. But the 4S, what it's adding isn't that revolution. I mean, it's cool, but it's not like I gotta have it. And also the fact that I think it's very arguable that iOS 5 makes your phone feel more like a new phone than
iOS
than
5
the 4S
is an
does.
amazing upgrade.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
The thing I would say is that on the TikTok cycle, when a Toyota releases a new body style of car, you never want to buy the one for the first year, right?
Well, I feel
Is
that
that
way.
right?
I feel that way about the first MacBook I bought. I bought the
Yeah.
very first unibody aluminum model,
Yeah.
and it had some issues. Like just the
Okay, well, for the
particular
car,
unit I got had some production
Right, because they were
issues.
working it out.
I don't think the car analogy works because when they do new body refreshes of cars, they have a 5-year.
It's a 5 to 10 year plan. Yeah.
And it's not like because the technology isn't ready. It's because they can't redesign a car every year.
Right.
I think with the phone, I don't think that's the case.
But I don't regret getting the 4, even though that was the big
kind of
update.
fucked up.
Exactly. It's not like they didn't put an 8-megapixel camera in the 4 because they weren't available. It's because,
That's true.
Or
I mean, they had a bit of antenna gate there for a while, but I don't feel like I've been an early beta tester on this phone. I've had no problems with it.
Yeah, you had fucking A problems with it.
Like
You
what?
just blame all the problems on AT&T.
Yes, because it's their fault.
Well, you would think that, except for when I have an AT&T SIM in a non-iPhone phone, it works great. I don't drop calls. I can use it everywhere. No weird data disconnections.
And people who have Verizon iPhones say the same thing.
Right.
So
Well,
who's
Verizon
to know?
iPhone has a different antenna than the AT&T launch
right.
iPhone.
And 4S has a different. So
Right.
this
So
is
we'll
all
see.
very interesting.
Here's why I never got an iPhone 4.
Right, exactly.
I was all ready to buy that. I was off contract. It was
You were in.
Perfect
I
time
remember.
for my upgrade. I saw that thing. It looked amazing. I was like, sign me up day one. And
Yeah.
then all those stories started coming out.
Well, the good news is so one of the things that they changed in the new let's go down the bullet points on the new iPhone. A5, which is a dual core ARM processor, same thing that's in the iPad, probably
possibly clocked down.
almost
yes.
certainly clocked down. I would
For
say.
battery.
For battery life, yeah.
Right.
The first, the A4 in the iPhone was clocked down 200 megahertz ish, from what we can tell from the A4.
Because you just don't need to
first
push as many
iPad.
pixels on that screen.
Right.
But still, significantly more powerful than what's in the current iPhone.
Dual core versus single core, if nothing else, and new graphics as well. The dual antennas, so it'll intelligently shift from antenna to antenna based on your usage and which one's going to be best.
Right.
HSPA plus.
HSPA plus for the GSM providers. CDMA GSM chip. It's all the same phone.
Because your prediction, if I recall correctly, was that you didn't think Apple would go another generation with the external antenna. But
I
it seems
thought
like they've stuck with it, but found another way to fix it.
We'll see. This is one of those things.
Eating eggs.
No.
Not today.
I'll eat eggs later. I said there was going to be no iPhone 4S. I was wrong.
What real world difference does HSPA Plus actually make?
It's a little bit faster data rate. It's an incremental upgrade from 3G data. Basically, the theoretical max goes to 14.4 megabits per second.
Yeah, which
in
is
reality,
ridiculous.
You're not going to get more than 3 to 6.
Yeah, that's why I asked what the real
And
world
HSPA
difference
Plus,
is.
that's already on the current iPhone 4. If AT&T,
I don't
if
think
you
it's
call
on
it.
the current iPhone 4.
It's
I think
not.
it's
Okay.
I think it's HSPA. It's the 6.6 megabit HSPA on the.
if it's
current iPhone.
6.6, I ran speed tests this week and I was getting 3.4.
Which is a realistic,
average, yeah.
of the theoretical maximum. That's probably realistic.
If I can get close to
it's-
6,
it's-
between 5 and 10, that'd be wonderful.
It's shared off the cell. The thing that's happening is on the phones, though, is the bandwidth isn't the problem these days. It's actually the CPU for rendering web pages and stuff like that. Because
and memory.
Because I'm able to listen. I when I'm coming into work, if I haven't put a podcast on the phone before I leave the house, I just start downloading and it streams flawlessly.
It's
Regardless of bitrate or
going to be
whatever.
interesting to see, because this is a similar upgrade from the 3G to the 3GS. If we end up having that same experience, Norm will remember this when we all sat in Mel's. Some of us had a 3G, some of us had a new 3GS, and we were sitting there, loading up Peggle to see which.
Oh my
and
God.
we were up and playing on a 3GS while the PopCap stream was still showing on 3G, and you could very.
We did that while
The
we were waiting to
performance
see
upgrade-
Transformers.
Transformers
yes, we
2.
did. The performance
Was it 2 or
upgrade was
1?
very keenly
I think it was
felt.
1.
No, we saw one in San Mateo, or I saw one in
Oh, we
San
saw one
was
at
2.
Tanforan. Yeah, you're right.
It was midnight for 2.
So it'll be interesting to see if, the performance upgrade doesn't seem like it's that big a deal, because right now the iPhone 4 seems plenty fast as it is. But everyday things like rendering web pages, and you pointed out, I think it's very important, the shutter speed on a camera. That's all processor driven, right? Rendering an HDR photograph.
Yeah.
I sometimes don't want to take HDR because I don't
don't.
want to have to wait 5 seconds
Yeah.
for it to render those, collate those
Oh, it is
images.
slow.
It'll do it now, presumably much quicker. So that's good.
So yeah, the
Processor, memory, 1 gig of memory.
Well, we think memory. They didn't
Okay.
confirm, but the feeling is it's probably a gig of memory, which is interesting because the place that iPad 2 web browsing falls down is memory. It seems to run out of memory really quickly when you're rendering complex pages. New camera, 8 megapixel, similar
That's the
backlit
biggest upgrade
sensor,
for me.
5-element lens, which Matt Braga tells me is very good and helps reduce.
This
lens
is the
flare and
single
stuff
most
like that.
compelling thing that they've upgraded, I think. Because the iPhone 4, for me, was the first phone where I'm like, you know what? This is my camera now. This is good enough to be
Right.
my camera.
If you run down the list
Yeah.
of things you do with your iPhone, first of all, phone calls is low on that list.
Yeah.
Right. Just because,
Especially on my network.
Well, for me, it's because I don't like talking on the phone, but for Gary, it's because he hates having to drop calls.
It's web browsing, checking social networks. I'll combine like Facebook or Twitter or
Yeah.
Google Plus for use.
Yeah.
Taking photos
Yeah, big.
is number 3, I
Big.
think, for me.
That implies you do things.
I
mean,
mean, taking photos.
I take a lot of dog pictures.
and then maybe
Not
like
much
listening to
take a picture of from your
music
couch.
and then making phone calls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I had my 3G and my 3GS, I had a little kind of Canon
PowerShot.
little
Yeah.
pocket phone.
Yep.
That if I felt like if I was going to an event or something where I wanted really good photos,
Or
I would
video.
I would take the dedicated camera.
Yeah.
With the 4, I was like, I can just take this now, and then
too
the 4S
convenient.
is going to be the next step up from
For
that.
bar photos and like portraits and stuff like that, it's great. You still need lenses for things that are more than 5 or 10 feet away.
Right, if you want to change aperture, and even on the PowerShots now, you can change focus and aperture. I mean, there is the aperture focus lock, but it's not as configurable as still on like Android phones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But 8 megapixel,
1080p video is the big thing.
1080p
for me.
video, which would make 720p that much better
Oh,
with,
that's
the,
the
with the
thing.
stabilization.
So they're doing real-time stabilization.
It's great.
On 1080p, which on video, which means that if you're shooting at 720p, it'll stabilize and just kind of lock the frame to the part that's not moving, no matter how much you jiggle the camera.
They
Unlike-
showed a
unlike
side-by-side
photos.
comparison that looked pretty good.
because of capacity and the sensor, I still wouldn't recommend shooting 1080p videos. Like on those like flip cams that can do 1080p, like the Kodak Z8,
Yeah.
I still shoot 720.
Yeah, and part of that is because you likely won't see the difference
You
anyway.
won't. Right. Unlike a photo where you might get more pixels and you can actually crop later. It's easy to adjust later.
It's
For
hard to
videos,
crop video.
Yeah, exactly. You got to recompress and
Yeah, and it's also
recode.
gonna take up much more of your hard drive.
That's
That's
the
the
other
other thing.
big thing.
So from 32 gigs now, there's a 64 gig 4S, and if you're planning on using the 4S to replace a Pocket Cam,
yeah.
64 gigs sounds pretty
Still
nice.
nice to have the option.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing.
Let's
Let's see.
the
other
other thing I want to point out, the big usability upgrade for the camera is, of course, coming from iOS 5. Things like being able to get straight to the camera from the lock screen,
Yep.
using
Yeah.
the volume button, all these things. They've made it. I mean, obviously, Apple's looking at they're looking at all the metrics of what people are doing with their phones. They're getting all that data, and they're going, people are using the camera a lot. We should focus on making that better.
So the stuff that's huge is a lot of the stuff that's going to be huge for new iPhone 4S users is stuff that's also going to come to the iPhone 4 and iPhone 3GS and iOS 5. So the notification screen is enormous. The direct camera button on the lock screen is an enormous change.
What do you think is the single best or most compelling, most useful, most significant feature in iOS 5?
None of those fucking modal pop-ups anymore.
Right. You like
I
the
turned those off.
notifications.
Yeah.
Notifications,
Notifications
is,
are
the,
great.
is the big change.
They are lovely.
The reminder thing is surprisingly useful. The fact that you can geogate a reminder and say, "Hey, remind me of this before I leave the house,"
That's awesome.
has saved me from having to turn around and come back to the house when I've forgotten to bring something in, except for the Belkin Conserve stuff the other day, which I didn't make a reminder for.
That is one of those things that when you explain it to someone, they go, "That's really clever." And
Well-
it's just something that you would want to use.
How easy are those to set up? 'Cause
You say gated around my this address, and when you get a quarter of a mile away, it
It's
says,
quick.
"Oh yeah, okay."
And
it sounds kind of complicated.
And by the way, and technically, and we'll get onto this, I'm sure, with Siri, you can do
Well,
that as
let's-
well.
yeah.
You can say, "Remind me to take my keys when I leave the house."
So here's the thing. Siri is the big deal for 4S users. This is the big feature. This is the, hey, you can shoot video with your iPhone 3GS, or I guess what was the big feature for iPhone?
For what?
For iPhone 4.
Retina.
Retina.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
Retina display. So Siri sounds too good to be true.
It does.
Much too good to be
Because those
true.
videos are like, yeah, this is Minority Report.
Let's
shit
talk about
right
what it
here.
is first. Yeah, Siri is a natural language. They call it a personal assistant. I think that's probably a bit much. But it's natural language, both dictation and instruction to your phone. So, for example, you should watch the video. I showed it to Gina last night, and her mind was blown.
I know, it's amazing.
But there's a video of the dude running down the Embarcadero saying, "Hey, text my wife, tell her I'm going to be late."
Now, is there a feature that makes you do that while not looking like a douche?
What do you mean?
I would pay extra for that.
You think talking to your phone is going to make you look like a douche?
I think if you're jogging along with your with your iPhone and armband, and
start talking
and you're,
into
and
your
you're
arm.
talking to your phone, going, reschedule the business meeting. Like, yeah, you're a douche.
Gonna have to
I
wait-
think you
wait
do
for
that
the
in private.
neural
Make
Make
the
me a
time.
sandwich.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That's what I want. That is what I want. So
and just so people understand what you mean by natural languages, you can just talk to the phone and tell it to do things in real
Okay.
English, regular sentences,
so
the way you would talk to a person.
there's a bunch of different stuff that people have called voice recognition over the years. Starting with like Dragon Natural speaking, where you put the weird headset on, you say, "Computer, dictate," and then you start saying words in a stilted, weird
I remember
voice.
Yes.
there was that software I bought like
Backspace.
for my PC.
Backspace.
It was like Star Trek software.
Yeah.
Where it could change your computer to look like L cars, and it also had
Voice recognition.
Voice recognition.
Then that was a terrible piece of software. Really, really
but
bad.
It was so awesome to imagine it working perfectly.
Yeah. So then the next type of the next wave was stuff that had extremely limited vocabularies, but were really dialed into specific things. Like Ford Sync is a good example of that. I don't think your car has it, but I've rented a bunch of cars that have it. It's
It has
kind
a
of neat
very
technology.
limited vocabulary of words
Yeah.
it can
I
understand.
mean, Connect is another one.
Connect
that's
is
like
in the same exact situation. Connect has like 12 words at any given time it can recognize.
And to be fair, the iPhone already currently has. You can
same thing
same
on the
thing
iPhone
to
right
make
now.
Yeah, voice control has it.
We tried it last week. I couldn't call
Oh,
you.
and by the way, that was the other big ad in iPhone 4 was voice control.
That's exactly, and that I think only worked on the 3GS,
3GS
and
and
4,
4.
right? So the
Not to say there haven't been more like voice searching. I mean,
well, so I was gonna say
that's
the
on
Android
Android.
stuff is pretty
Yes.
good, but
and
and
built
it-
in pretty well.
and it's a weird mixture of replacing text input with voice, because you can do that. Like I've sent tweets with my voice, I've sent text with my voice, and they work reasonably well as long as you keep the messages relatively simple and don't use words that aren't going to be in the dictionary. And that works by uploading the voice to the internet and bringing it back down, analyzed with the text. You can also do some commands on Android, but they're very commandy. It's very, hit the button, computer, navigate to 920, blah, blah, blah,
Right,
street.
because the usual suspects have gone out saying, oh, my Android phone already does this. But is it actually doing what Siri does?
It does not do...
And it's also done in Google servers.
Well, Siri is done in the cloud as well. A lot of Siri happens on the internet because it says internet connection required.
For all of it?
For some of it. It's unclear exactly how it works.
Requires, like when you search maps and stuff.
We're going to try it out.
But for like text dictation and for reading out text messages, that's all done locally.
Yeah,
and setting appointments.
Yeah,
that's
all
done
it's a
locally.
phone. When isn't it connected?
Who knows?
So
who
cares?
We're gonna have to. What we'll do is it'll be real easy to figure out. We'll load up the.
Is
iPhone
it kind of like
4S.
Shazam, where it sends off a thing and
I
analyzes?
think
Well, that's how
that's
Google
back.
works. Google sends out.
Okay.
With all the Android stuff, it sends your message to Google's cloud, and then you get the response back.
Right.
It's more interesting that it works on the phone because then if they open the API, then you can tie it to other apps, and you can.
Right.
And they're saying they're opening the API.
Yes.
They're
But
saying that there's going to be an API so that theoretically Twitter could tie into Siri.
Right.
So you can say, Twitter, post tweet, hey, I'm stuck in traffic in the car. 280 sucks. There's a lake
We'll
here.
start to see a bunch of app updates after the 4S saying now Siri compatible.
I don't
or
know if we'll
whatever.
see a bunch, but we'll see some.
But major apps
And-
will probably do that.
I mean, that's a hard thing to implement. I hope that they have documented it really well and made it easy to do. We'll find out.
But
Who
that
knows?
video that Apple made does
Yeah.
do a great job. And again, we don't know if it works as well as advertised, but it does do a great job of showing you all the different things you can
I
ask
think
it.
it looks too good to
let's
be
talk
true,
about
though.
that
Yeah, it
video.
does.
That video, the actors, I mean, obviously they weren't actually talking to Siri because it was like a dummy phone. They imposed it later. They were still a little over-enunciating. Like, it wasn't as natural as, like, a conversation we're having right now. You just still have to, enunciate every word, which is
I think
to be
that's
expected.
natural. They
to
do
be
that in
expected.
Star Trek,
Sure.
dude.
To be expected.
Computer.
I thought the most interesting part of that commercial was the very last segment where they had the blind girl use it. And so it's really, you can use the phone as a assisted for.
Too bad that she couldn't just turn the screen off and save battery.
Well, it was for our benefit as well.
Okay.
But things
Right.
some of the simple ones that really blew me away are like, so the woman's baking some muffins.
Yeah.
And she says, how many cups are in 12 ounces? And, she's
But it
completely
didn't say
doing
it
her
back.
thing.
It showed the Wolfram Alpha
Right.
screen.
Oh, so is there no voice synthesis?
Yes,
There
there
is
is.
some.
There is
There
for
is.
text messages, but
Okay.
And
for
emails
something
and stuff like
that's
that.
complicated where there might be formulas or something, then you can't really reproduce that.
The amazing one to me.
If you ask it to, if you say like, read me my emails, it will
Yeah.
do that.
Okay.
But if you say how many cups in 12 ounces, it might just say, here's your answer, and you actually have to
Yeah.
look at the screen.
And you know what's also cool?
Forget it then.
Like, remember when
Yeah,
my
that's too
my,
much.
my
Back
back to
3GS
Windows Phone for you.
when my 3GS was destroyed by the ocean, and it was just the
Your-
screen that
your
was broken.
foolishness.
I was trying to manipulate the phone without the screen on, but the touch still working, so I could and I think Jeremy Williams was pretty impressed by my ability just to navigate the phone and make phone calls with no screen because I knew where the phone button was, I
Right.
knew I could unlock. But now I could, if that happens again, you can actually talk to the phone.
You just pretend
Still
you're
work.
blind.
Yeah.
Assuming
exactly.
this does work as well as advertised.
There's a whole market for selling broken iPhones to blind people.
Accessibility.
Do
That's
you
right.
can you imagine yourself using this? Like, what do you think you might find it
If it
useful
works,
for?
here's the thing. This stuff, it's the kind of thing you always use until the first time you say, play artist The Killers, and it says, now playing Avril Lavigne.
Right.
Like, that's the moment that you're like, nope, I'm done. I'm out. Not doing this anymore.
Well, for example, and
Well,
this
to
is
be
kind
fair,
of
that you can do
annoying.
that now.
I have to.
I know.
Voice control.
If I want voice control on my current phone to call certain people, I have to say it in the way that is wrong, but I know the phone's going to understand it.
Call Mike Tatum home.
Yes,
Right?
basically.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not Mike Tatum because it doesn't know that's a long A.
So
a
they're
hard A.
launching Siri. They're calling it beta, and it's not because the software is incomplete, but because there's not full language support yet. It's English, German, and French, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And with English,
No
it's
Spanish.
U.S., Australia, and England.
Yeah, and it's not coming to Canada, which was a little
What, really?
surprising.
They can't do the boots and
Yeah,
the
right.
Housens
Braga
and-
said no Zeds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, here's the thing. This is one of those things that literally I'm going to have to sit down and try it out for a couple of weeks before I'm convinced that it works, right?
We're going to put it through some torture testing, I'm sure.
It's literally just like the time when the iPhone came out and people were saying, yeah, if you use it for a couple of weeks, you're going to be totally sold because it works.
Well, for
For the on-screen
Oktoberfest next
keyboard.
Friday, which is also
Yes.
iPhone 4S launch day, hopefully we'll have one here, and we'll
least-
be
at
able
least
to have
one.
some fun trying to
Well,
confuse it.
there's like 12 hours of your marathon right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Clearly.
And that's
So
before we
let's
haven't
talk
even started
about
on Mad Libs.
the purchasing decision. All right, and because we're all in different parts of our cycle. On the phone.
I'm out of contract.
Will's out of contract. Gary, how are you out of contract?
Oh, I had a very good phone call with AT&T.
Okay. So you don't. So and I'm still on contract till November 25th. Brad, you're obviously.
I've been off contract for 18
right.
months.
So but you're
almost.
upgrading from different phones. So you're getting it no matter what.
Are you getting a 4S?
I don't know.
Because you got a Windows
I have
phone
a 3G.
there.
Before you guys generously let me borrow this Focus, I had a 3G.
You went
Yeah.
from
Does that have
3G to Windows
Mango on it?
7.
G.
Yeah.
What's
But
that?
if you've been off contract and you're still paying the $90 a month,
Yeah, I've been.
you are
wondering about
wasting
that.
a subsidy.
I've been wondering about that. Like that is probably not. I mean, I'm wasting money, right?
You're wasting money.
You are
Doing
wasting
that?
money.
You're
What's the,
absolutely
what is
wasting
the what
money.
is a better strategy then to approach this?
Well, so Will, you're getting it because you're off contract.
What I'm going to do is buy a full price one for review, probably the 16 gig model, and then I'll decide if I want to buy it or not.
Okay.
Because the thing is, I kind of like I'm in the same place Brad is. Like I really like my iPhone 4S. If this Siri stuff. Sorry, I really like my iPhone 4. If this Siri stuff is as amazing as it looks, if it actually works, then I'm in.
So we're in the position where we're fortunate enough to be able to.
Otherwise, I'll
have
just wait with the
hands-on
4.
and use it.
Yeah.
And you review it.
Well,
before
everybody can do that. You can go to the store. You'll be able to go to the store on Saturday. And
By
try
the
it out.
way, how does Siri
not live
how
with
does
it,
Siri
though.
activate? Can I just
Same way you do voice control now.
hold it down.
Oh,
hold it
but
down,
kind of,
hold it
but I kind of want it to be always on, like Connect. Like if I'm over here and I want to know what
It was-
something's- can I just say,
so-
"Hey Siri, what's going on?" And it was just like activate.
It
from across the room.
implied that once you initiate that Siri thing, there will be a timeout. Because like if you look at the woman that did the baking and said set a timer for 30 minutes, she didn't hit the button before she said that. She already had it open and on. So it's possible
might
that if
stay
you leave
on
that
for a
Siri
bit
app open
before
then
it goes back
then
to
you'll
sleep.
be able to
Right.
keep talking to it.
Well, so in terms
But
of
and this is
But I
actually
kind of want
where
it to be like Star Trek, right, where I can just say computer at
because
any
you don't want to
point and it'll hear me.
Well, this
Yeah.
is where like
That'll
in
destroy
the
your battery.
future,
Yeah.
if Siri catches on, where like some type of watch device might
remote,
would
basically.
work. Exactly, you talk to the watch.
Well, you have the
Tracer
remote on your
style.
headphones.
but wireless. Like
Or
you
you
put the
Bluetooth.
phone
Or
on the
Bluetooth.
table.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
All the processing power is done.
Don't
on the
even
phone.
encourage people.
You have the watch or the Bluetooth, and then you talk to Siri, and then you get the data right on the watch. But it's all done.
That's
on
how
the
I do
phone.
voice control on my iPhone 4. If I'm in the car, I just hit. I've
hit
got my
the
Bluetooth
speakerphone
on. I
thing,
just
yeah.
hit the little button, and it opens up voice control.
so in terms of the imperative to upgrade, Siri is the one thing that
No,
only the
camera.
4S can do, right? Well, I mean the camera.
Camera-
That's
I think
okay.
the camera is
Camera's an
actually the
incremental
most
thing.
compelling
thing.
But
If
that's
you
an
wanna
incremental
rank
thing. I'm talking
features,
about
One at a
new
time,
features.
kids.
Okay, so camera, it's different for everyone. I think camera, then the processing power / memory, and tied to that is
But
Siri.
See,
but
for
I'm
me,
saying-
the ability to post tweets from the car while I'm driving without risking death, that is number one.
I don't think you do tweets.
I'm
Text
talking
messages
about-
for
I'm
now,
talking about-
tweets maybe.
I can text message to Twitter.
There you go. Done.
What I'm asking about is features that you cannot get in any form on another phone. It's just Siri, right?
Just Siri.
But
The camera is an incremental thing.
so I don't even know. You can get voice control on other
Well,
phones.
yeah,
It's
but
not
then-
quite. It doesn't look like it's going to be quite the same. Too soon to say. We're gonna have to have
Okay.
hands on.
Well, how
first.
do you have Mango on that?
I do.
How much do you like that phone?
It's getting better. It's definitely getting better. They really need to start using the live tiles more. Though that sounds
more
great in
third-party
theory,
apps? Yeah.
but nobody's exploited it yet.
Well,
also,
I mean,
also it crashed on me this morning.
It seems like the thing to do is just let some other people get the phone and see how well Siri really works, and then decide how much you feel like you need it.
If only there were.
But for a
site
day,
here.
I mean, we're day one upgrade people.
We are, although like I said, even I was a little bit. You know what? iOS 5 is free and is going to make my phone feel like a whole new phone anyway. Like I think it's a bigger upgrade than Siri and the improved camera, but I do definitely want a better camera. Do I really want to spend another year taking pictures that I know could be that much better?
Yeah.
So it's
There
a
you
whole
go.
year's worth of memories that pictures could be that much more improved.
So many more pixels.
You could just buy a DSLR.
So look, there's no
Well,
question.
I mean, different.
There's no
different
question
usage.
that I'm gonna get one day one. I've got to keep the streak alive. There's two.
You're such a good consumer.
There's
Gary.
two issues for me. One is how I'm going to get it on launch day because of this fucking charity
Just
nonsense.
have it shipped to the office.
Can I do that even though
Yeah.
it's not the same billing address?
Yeah, it should be
Sure.
fine.
Yeah.
You'll have
Yeah,
to.
we do it all the time.
You'll
We'll
have to
release
put
the
it in your
info,
billing
which we didn't
address.
talk about yet. Pre-order on the tomorrow. 7.
Is that
Now,
at
does
midnight?
Does it open
We
at?
don't know exactly
Okay.
when. On Sprint, you can pre-order right now. So Sprint is another big announcement. It's on Sprint, Verizon, AT&T.
Man, maybe I'll just switch
It will-
to Sprint.
And then it will go on sale 8 a.m. Friday morning.
And
on the
AT&T
14th.
is claiming that that you can do it right from your phone. That their app will let you buy the upgrade, order the upgraded phone.
Really?
Yeah, that was in the news this
Do
week.
you, so here's the question: where do you Well, hold on. One more thing about Siri before we go on.
Okay.
The interesting thing about Siri is because it's on your phone, it has access to all sorts of interesting contextual information about you. It has your complete list of contacts. It has your calendar. It has where you are physically in the world.
Yeah.
And that gives it that gives it an extra layer of context to make the natural language stuff
And also
more
it
useful.
remembers like the commands are not independent of each other.
Right.
If you had it read a text message, you can just say reply and it'll know
Yeah.
that it's about that text
Yeah.
message,
I mean,
not specifically, you don't have to talk about
Stuff like being able to say, like, is there a good Indian restaurant around here?
Right. Well,
It's great.
Right.
It's pretty great.
or
where can I get good pizza in North Beach?
yeah. I mean, it's the the contextual information, even to like know that the people I text are my wife and Norm and you, Gary, and like 4 other people, and that's it. So it knows that if I'm sending a text message, pretty sure it's going to those people.
Right. If I say text Norm, it's not going to pick up the wrong Norm.
Right. Right. So, like, it's just to be clear, I don't think that Siri is doing real natural. It's not like really understanding English. What it's doing is picking out interesting keywords and doing a good job with that.
I can't wait to say text fuck shit hell because that's definitely a contact
Yes.
on our list.
Fuck shit hell. I think hell's already in the dictionary.
No.
Oh,
I
no,
still get
heal.
I
Yeah.
still get heal.
This, and by the way, this just opens up a whole new world of damn you autocorrect. Right?
Oh, yeah.
We just know that's going to be even more
yeah.
fun in the years ahead.
Yeah. So strategy for buying phone.
Okay.
AT&T, Verizon, Sprint.
Mm-hmm.
Do you buy it from the carrier? Do you go wait in the Apple Store line?
Apple
Do you
Store.
pre-order from Apple.com?
Well, this is doubly complicated. So the 2 key decisions I have to make. One is what network I'm going to go with.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is how I'm actually going to get the phone because of this charity nonsense we're doing next Friday.
Charity awesomeness we're doing next Friday.
Yes, but now it's affecting my life.
But the children, Gary.
And the sick
the
children.
children's. We
I've
raised the money.
I've become an inconvenience.
Gary, the money's already in the bank.
Yeah, we can't back out now.
We can just we can just give the money to the children.
Or we could use it to buy this phone.
No.
Don't say that.
We didn't get the money. The money went straight to Child's Play.
You know what? I
that's
am
right.
going to upgrade to a 4S.
Yeah, now it's free. So, okay, let's do this one at a time. So, in terms of how I'm going to get it, I could go stand in line. The problem with that is I don't really want to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a day that I'm going to have to be up for 24 hours.
No, that's not a good idea.
Subsequently to
It's
that.
a bad
That's
idea.
very bad.
And if you get in line at 6 o'clock, there's no saying, there's no guarantee you'll actually be here by noon.
That's right. We all need to come in here
Fresh.
as well rested as possible.
Right.
So
Might as
we
well
can-
put some beds outside, wake up here, take a shower,
Right.
and
So-
then get started.
So that
Hearty
only
breakfast.
leaves ordering online. Pre-orders open tomorrow.
Can we get like food?
Can we get it
breakfast?
catered, is
start-
what you're saying?
No, can we start with the most hearty brunch ever?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Grumpy's does breakfast.
Okay, let's save this conversation
is- yeah,
for when we
this-
talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
For all the hard physical
Yeah.
labor you'll be doing.
Absolutely.
Well, think how sweaty this room's
your
going to
jaw.
be. It's 84 degrees in here right now. 84.6 degrees in here right now.
Really
Hot.
Yeah,
The
I'm-
tech talk is so
wait.
sizzling hot.
I'm
that
wearing
the
a
Belgian?
tank top.
No, that's not the
No,
Belgian
that's the
thing.
organ.
Okay.
I'm wearing a tank top and cutoffs for Octobercast, just so you know.
Can we get those Dyson Airblades?
I think I might just.
Four Dyson Airblades
No.
around.
I think I might
the
just do
room?
silk pajamas because we're going to end up there anyway.
Yeah.
Just start as you mean to go on.
Yeah.
Costume changes.
Wearing
Wardrobe change.
sateen pajamas.
We are so the latter part of the podcast in the
We gotta
evening is gonna
announce
be
the
a
guest list.
Pajama
All right,
party.
all right.
We'll get to
we'll
that.
get to this.
Okay.
Okay, so back to iPhone 4S.
So we're gonna. So it looks like it's gonna have to be a pre-order. The problem is if I'm here all day,
Just
the
have to send it to
FedEx
the
guy
office.
can't bring it, so we have to bring it to the office. Okay, so then the question becomes AT&T Verizon. As frequent listeners will know, I've been very adamant about wanting to get off AT&T and onto Verizon.
Yeah. You had a call yesterday.
So I called AT&T because they fucked up last time when I got the phone. I paid full price for the phone.
You paid
I
the
paid the unlocked price.
Wait, not the 600.
I paid
paid off
I paid
contract.
the off-contract price.
Oh,
On the understanding that they wouldn't increase my contract for 2 years.
okay.
But they did that anyway. So I got screwed. And I called them and said, I need you to reverse that because as you can see on your file, I paid full price for the phone. I shouldn't be getting a 2-year extension. They went, oh, well, we can't undo that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. Because you can make contracts longer, but you can't make them shorter. That's how technology works. Fuck you. I wasn't very happy about that. So I called them, but they said, oh, we'll put a note on your file. And that means that when you want to get the new phone, we'll be able to look up your file. But that I have to go.
Record.
I have to go to an Apple. I have to go to an AT&T store and look up something called a VPGN file. Fuck all that. I'm not doing that. That's just too much hassle.
Mm-hmm.
So I called them and gave them some shit. I said, look, I'm moving off.
Preach it, Gary.
I just want to make sure that I'm not going to get stuck with the fee when I vacate and go to Verizon. Now, when you tell them, it's like putting a gun to someone's head. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear.
Oh, yeah.
When you tell them you're about to leave, you get migrated up to a supervisor very, very quickly. And like, what can we do for you?
Oh, yeah.
They suddenly become very helpful. And they said, okay, look.
I'm verified on Twitter,
Yeah.
motherfuckers.
They said, I've
Right.
done it now. They said, we've done it. We've rescinded your contract. You are now eligible for upgrade pricing, however you want to order it. And we've even given you a $45 credit on your account.
Ooh.
So I thought, you guys are actually very friendly. But does that mean I can live with all the drop calls
No.
and all the bullshit?
Don't do it, man. Walk away.
Well,
the question
Will,
is,
just tell me what should I do? Should I get the Verizon phone?
I don't want to be responsible for this.
Gary,
but then it's
I
great
I
'cause-
will be responsible. Stick with AT&T
Why?
because the speeds will be faster, 3G speeds.
Yes.
Where you live in the Sunset right now, 3G works.
Yes.
You get reception in your house. Only place where you don't really get it, some places downtown.
So what are we saying here?
And our
Better
basement.
the devil you know? Is that what we're
And
saying?
yes, you are familiar with it. Also, our calls to you will be free.
That's also true. And I do.
How often do you talk to Gary on the phone?
Wouldn't you like
Just
to know?
nice, just nice to have.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. Maybe. Do you know more people on Verizon or on AT&T? I know more people on AT&T.
It also means, by the way, yes, I do, and also it means, by the way, that I do occasionally use the feature where you're using the phone while the call is in the background, which
Yeah.
you cannot do on
No,
Verizon.
you can't do that.
And
on
you don't want to
Verizon
lose all
Sprint.
your rollover minutes.
My rollover minutes.
Thousands
and then
and
the
thousands.
AT&T guy gave me some spiel about how Verizon is better on the East Coast, but AT&T is better on the West Coast. I don't know how true that is.
I don't know either. Here's
I'm
the
going to
thing.
feel like such a hypocrite if I don't go through with this.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I would, in 2 months, we'll know how Sprint's going to handle this. Because I think what's going to happen is we're going to see a lot of people leave AT&T this go round.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot of people who are coming into iPhone and smartphones for the first time not coming into AT&T. They're going to go to Verizon and Sprint.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Verizon's going to be able to handle that load, no problem.
Sprint.
Sprint's a little bit of a question mark
It's
because
the big deal for them.
they're the third size guys. You know, they have a lot of customers. They can probably accommodate it, but who knows?
But they've never had a true flagship phone like this. I mean, Evo and all that.
yeah,
I mean,
no,
I mean,
like
in the old
Evo
days,
was a
yes.
big flagship
Evo was a
phone.
big phone. Was
Okay.
a huge
Fair
Android
enough.
phone.
And in some parts of the country, Sprint works really
but
well.
why consider Sprint?
If you're part of the country.
Here's the thing. In
It
2
works really
months
well.
after the launch, we'll know how Sprint's held up. Norm's contract isn't up until November.
End of
I
November.
might encourage Norm to go to Sprint
No way.
at the end of November
Nope.
if we know that they've gone okay.
That's not going to happen.
I don't know. Norm's making a good case for AT&T, and especially I don't want to wait too much.
Norm's
I don't
got
wanna,
Stockholm syndrome.
I don't
man.
want to wait 2 months for
I
Sprint,
love
and
you,
I don't want to
AT&T.
get a Sprint phone blind on day one either in case it does suck.
Yeah,
So
Well, it sounds like AT&T is not going to pick up a lot of new customers on this, right?
I don't. I
Well,
don't.
and
I mean, we don't know.
and maybe and if they do bleed off a lot of customers, maybe that makes it easier for the
That's what
people that are left behind.
That's what
right?
I'm getting at. Like they're not going to pick up more network traffic.
We'll be
right?
the
Like,
Kirk Camerons of the cell phone world.
We've been left behind.
We've been left behind.
That's very good. Good reference.
Hey, man, that's what I do. Terrible references.
So yeah, maybe after all my bloviating, I'm gonna be the ultimate hypocrite and just stick with AT&T.
That'd be
You
awesome.
know, what are you gonna say? What are you gonna do? Better the devil you know.
You know, the guy said sometimes it can be the SIM card if you swap out the SIM card.
Oh, fuck that.
He also pointed, the 4S does have, they say, a better antenna. Maybe my
that's
my
true.
problems
It
will
must
be
have a
maybe
better
my
antenna.
problems will be alleviated.
The other thing that I found, if you haven't done it in a while, it actually before you put iOS 5 on and start doing all new, it's not a bad idea. Like I went to the Apple Store complaining about dropped calls at one point last year, and they told me to completely wipe my phone and not restore from backup. I was like, "Fuck you! This is gonna take me like 3 hours to fix." I did it. The drop calls. It helped the drop calls.
Huh.
One of the things that they said is that during the backups, it actually backs up old versions of the core apps as well. So if something gets jacked up with one of your core apps, and like me, I had been backing up since the original iPhone and just restoring the same backup to new phones, things were weird. I'm getting ready to do that to Gina's phone because her phone's kind of slow and fucked up, and I'm not sure what's going on with it.
So I think I'm actually leaning towards 4S,
On
AT&T,
All right.
and 32.
32 only.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I looked at my phone.
What are the price
Yeah.
points on these?
It's $199, $299, $399.
So I think I'm going to get the
Yeah.
mid-range.
Yeah.
You said you want 64 because you shoot a lot of pictures and video.
If I've been at capacity for months.
I have 12. I use 12 gigs on this phone right
Oh, you
now.
don't put music on?
It's a 32 gig. Well, yes, but not my entire library, just the playlists that are in rotation.
Got it.
So I switched to RDO for music.
That's a good. You know what? With iOS 5, having a playlist on rotation is that much easier because you can sync over Wi-Fi.
That's
The
correct.
thing I hate the most because I use PC at home is iTunes on Windows, and I hate
It's terrible.
syncing
Yes.
over the cable.
Yes.
So now I might.
Yes, so
32
this
might
will
be enough.
mitigate that a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking 32, probably black, although white is kind of cool.
Go with the white.
I have
White has
17
higher
gigs
resale
free.
value.
What?
I think black for phones, white for tablets. That's my
Yeah.
rule.
the four white version is slightly thicker, right?
The glass is a little thicker.
How are these 4s looking a few months in? Are they starting to turn yellow? What's going on with the
No,
white?
they look good.
So racist.
They're fine.
That's not racist.
Absolutely.
Anytime you say yellow, that's racist.
You're the
according to
one. You're the
Norm.
one saying don't get white.
Yeah, that is racist.
That's racist. No, you are.
No,
saying
he said don't get black.
No,
that's even worse.
Why is that worse?
No, he's saying get
no,
white, and I'm saying yeah,
so
but it might turn
racist.
yellow. So I'm actually
Well,
doubly racist.
I don't know.
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
Gong.
All right, so I'm going to order it. This will be good because we'll have a nice little moment during Oktobercast when the iPhones arrive.
Hopefully.
Oh, the mailman is here with
What
the
if
iPhone
the
4S?
mailman
Whoa.
doesn't get here? What if yours is not on day one and it gets here on it's Saturday delivery?
Hulk out.
Oh, we'll still be here
We'll
on Saturday.
still be here
Hulk
on
smash.
Saturday.
Fuck.
Yes.
That could be the perfect
Oh
way
my
to end
God.
Oktobercast.
Delirious.
But they
Are you
always-
guys going to get
they
somebody
always-
to pick you up?
They always come on
No, I'm
delivery
driving.
day, right?
Huh?
They always come on delivery day.
If you
right?
if you're fast enough on the pre-order button.
yeah, but if it
I mean,
says
if you think back to iPhone 4, the pre-orders bombed out. Remember, the site went down after about 20 or 30 minutes.
yeah, so I'm going to be there mashing buttons with everyone else.
So
trying to
speaking of
get on that first
pre-orders and the reception, I think that's the other thing we should have. Reception, like audience user reception.
Yeah. So the
There's
user
a lot of
people were
backlash.
pissed. I mean, people were legitimately upset.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
Vinny
about what?
and I had words yesterday.
What?
About the 4S and this being the next iPhone.
Okay,
And
let's
we've talked about the
this.
TikTok cycle. Let's talk about whether the expectations were reasonable.
Yeah.
And why people are angry.
Well, here's the thing. Apple's notorious PR secrecy has fucked them on this go round.
Because they let people get carried away with all the rumors.
People
right?
got carried away with rumors. Expectations were higher than they have ever been.
Yes.
Because
Well, it's because
of the 18-month.
It's because they gave those rumors time to breathe and grow and
Right.
become larger than life because they've never waited this long to make a new
Well,
phone.
and the longer
think-
cycle led credence to the fact that something
they
big
might
was
be
going to
working on
happen.
something big.
And
So do you
And,
think
and
Apple-
also, if you remember the context of the rumors and leaked iPhones, right? Last time the iPhone was announced, we had already seen it before.
right,
Right.
3 months before.
Yeah, and this time around, it was all rumors.
Well,
Do you think then in like the months leading up to the iPhone launch that Apple should be doing something to manage expectations?
no.
I don't know. I'm not
I
a
mean, what
PR
can
guy.
what can they do? You're saying the secrecy hurts them.
Well,
but
they
what's
could
the
have come out
solution?
and said in July when the iPhone 5 rumors really kicked up and said, "Hey, there's no iPhone 5 this year."
No.
I mean, they could have. It wouldn't
No.
have hurt anything.
I think what they would have done, should have done, is what they did with the iPad 2, and say 2011 is the year of the iPad 2.
right.
That is explicit. I mean, that
Well, the other thing-
infers that there is no new iPad.
The other thing they can
without
do
explicitly saying it.
is backdoor leaks.
no.
No.
they're
Dude,
not
if
gonna-
you
they're
think
not
they
gonna
don't
play
do
that
that, then you're out of your mind.
So overzealous case manufacturers,
yes.
Right.
lots of sources. I mean, very credible news sites
Well,
put their money down on bigger screen.
Oh, yeah.
Teardrop design.
Here's the thing.
And it wasn't until a week before the announcement that we saw there is no teardrop design arguments
I
because
know
of manufacturing.
I know of a mom and pop accessory reseller who ordered a bunch of the supposed iPhone 5 cases, assuming that was actually
Oh,
going to
that's
happen.
Yeah.
hilarious.
Well, kind of, unless you're those guys. Here's the thing. I am the number and the volume and accuracy and consistency of the rumors are such that I don't think this comes out of nowhere. Either these cases were built for another phone that we haven't seen yet that somebody's going to announce, like a Nexus Prime or something like that, and just happen to be similar shape to the iPhone, whatever. Or wouldn't actually surprise me because the same thing happened with the iPad 2, if you recall. There were a bunch of different designs for the iPad 2 that were potentials. There was hardware. It seemed like there were mock-ups
But most
out
of,
there.
most of the case designs that came out with iPad 2 were in line with the actual redesign.
At the end, yeah.
I mean, I'm talking
It
about
wouldn't surprise me if Apple is making multiple prototypes,
no, sure.
shopping them around to see what people like, see what they think is going, and then deciding which one they think is best given the state of the market and what the competition is doing and all that 3 months out when they start
I
manufacturing.
mean, it's easy to look
these.
back at the rumors in hindsight because now we know what the phone looks like. But we all wanted, and we said it in the podcast, we wanted the bigger screen. And we couldn't wrap our heads around how they would do that.
Well, I don't know if I was excited about the prospect of it maybe being a bigger screen.
I want a bigger, thinner iPhone.
But
I'm
here's-
okay with that.
here's
I'll
the-
say that.
Like 5 minutes before the conference went away, I said, here's my last minute prediction. Whatever Apple announced today, people are going to bitch and moan about it. Because that's true every year. It was a little bit more true this year. And I actually thought some of the venom was out of proportion. I'm seeing people on my Twitter feed going, 4S, fuck you, Apple. I'm like, really? What has Apple done to you're sounding like they just came into your house and started beating you with a fucking
Rubber
wet towel
hose?
or something. Yeah.
People said the same thing over the Netflix rate hike. They take great personal offense at every.
But it's
every
this
perceived
Louis
slight.
C.K. thing, right? The people
Yeah.
become entitled, spoiled little babies. Like,
I'm not saying those are good people.
No, it's like, oh my god, the phone isn't completely revolutionizing the world again this year. Fuck you. It's just quite a bit better. It's not going to give me a blowjob and cure AIDS and make me rich. No.
2 out of the 3. 2 out of the 3 , Gary.
Choose two, yeah.
Sorry, AIDS.
Wow.
Too soon. I wrote something. I fired up CNN and I saw
Yes.
this thing that said Apple's big iPhone disappointment. I was like, really? I mean,
did you see the one that said this
downfall
is
of
the
Apple.
beginning of the
Yeah,
end for
right.
Apple? What the fuck?
So, I mean, it's not like they said, okay, this year's iPhone is the iPhone 3GS. We're just rolling it back. It's a really fucking good product. Apple is going after the 95%, not just the people who own smartphones that don't own an iPhone. They're going after the other 95% of the world that doesn't own a smartphone at all. If you look at iPhone market share,
90% of the people in the U.S.
Right.
don't own iPhones.
Right. That is a much. Okay, yeah. If you wanted to run a company into the ground, the thing you would do is just keep selling products to the same people who keep buying shit every year. The other thing you could do that would be smart is to sell people who don't have that product yet or anything even like it.
And lower
Open
the
that
price.
up.
I mean, they
So
have
what they've
the supply
done,
chain.
yeah.
It's locked down. Costs are going down.
So they've opened it up. There's 3. You can buy the 3GS for nothing now on contract.
Yeah.
I think this is a bad idea. It's dumb.
Yeah,
You
they
shouldn't
should-
do
they-
it.
Well, it's a bad idea for Apple too. I think.
I don't think it's a bad idea for
Apple.
Apple. It's good for them, but it's
And how
dumb
much
if you're a
how much is
customer.
the 8 gig for now?
8 gig 4 is $99 on contract.
Right. And so I think.
Here's the problem though.
Okay, go ahead.
You're saving $100 on an iPhone 4 on a $2,000 contract over the 2 years that you have to do it. So in exchange for saying, hey, I'm going to give you $2,000 AT&T for the next year, AT&T is saying, we're going to give you last year's phone for $100 off.
I think it's better. I think
Yes,
Apple
but
should have
the
made it simpler. Should have been 4 and 4S, and that's it.
I think a
Not
lot
have
of
the free
people
option.
would look at the 4 and 4S and go, you know what, for the extra the new features aren't worth the extra $100. I'll save a little bit of money. And I think that I agree, you probably shouldn't buy the 3GS, but I do think that the free 3GS and the $99 iPhone 4 are probably a bigger story for the iPhone than the high-end 4Ss. That's a bigger deal in terms of like mass adoption for the iPhone platform.
The story that you want to tell for mass adoption on the iPhone, the reason people don't buy smartphones isn't that they're $300 up front or $200 up front. It's that they're attached to a $90 a month phone contract. Like, that is a lot of money.
If you're on a $9 a month phone contract, there's no reason you should get a free phone.
Right.
You should
Right.
get the free model.
Right. I mean, the thing is, you can get if you look at the data plans that are available for iPhone now, the cheap one is $15 on AT&T, right?
I'm really surprised Apple didn't push harder and make the iPhone 4 free, like the 8 gig model.
or reduce the data plan cost to the point that it's
carriers
affordable.
probably wouldn't want to.
They
reduce
have
that.
to if they want to sell these into the other 90% of people that don't have smartphones, they got to reduce the data plan cost and the monthly calling cost. I mean, this is where
Yeah, 'cause
Sprint.
you saw what happened with the Kin, right?
Well, this is where Sprint is going to go crazy, right? Sprint has that $70 a month unlimited everything plan, and that's if that applies to iPhone, it's going to be a life-changing event, because then you're looking at $20 cheaper, and you don't have to worry about going over your data plan, you don't have to worry about going over your texts, all of that stuff.
And AT&T will make it back in those small micro fees, upgrade fees.
Right, $18.
Yep.
$250 plus $18.
All those taxes and convenience charges.
But yeah, I don't
taxes?
think it's a good idea to buy a new phone with on a 2-year contract that's 2 generations old.
Right.
I-
Well, I don't think it's a good idea to buy a new phone that's on contract that's 1 generation old.
I think it's bad to offer that.
Yeah. I think it's
That-
a bad
that-
experience.
That was the least Apple-y part of that.
So yeah, people wanted a bigger screen, which, in retrospect, I kind of feel like is the least imaginative thing you could ask for. Like, it's cool, but it doesn't. I think it's actually outweighed by the actual practical improvements Apple did make. Like, here's a better camera. Here's a
You
faster
haven't-
processor.
You haven't
Those
used
are
a bunch of
mutually
Android
exclusive.
phones.
Not mutually exclusive. Bigger screen is a perfectly reasonable, given
Yeah.
the current market of smartphones, and expecting 4.3, 4.7 inch. I think 5 is too high. 4.3 is probably a really good
Like
sweet spot.
the Windows Phone 7 that Brad's using is a 4.3 inch screen.
Yeah.
It's Samsung Focus. It's a really nice size screen.
Yeah.
It makes the keyboard much more.
So this is a
usable,
little
if
bigger than
nothing
the
else.
iPhone 4
It's
screen.
actually a lower resolution screen though.
It is a lower resolution screen.
it's
Still looks
lower
good though.
resolution.
800 by
and-
400.
and
840 by
good.
480.
Bigger
800 by
resolution.
480.
Yeah,
It's either 800 by 480 or
But it still looks
854 by
fine.
480.
Still looks great.
Yeah, it looks really good. I think it's a reasonable thing to ask for. It's hard to imagine Apple doing it given how iOS apps are developed.
Yeah,
And their
it's a
quads.
hassle.
Well, the thing is, they're not going to change they're not going to add another resolution.
They're not, exactly.
It'll just
Right,
the pixel density
The
will
pixel
go
density
down.
will go down.
Right.
So the next
I don't
jump,
think that matters.
Yeah, no.
So what is the next jump for screen?
Didn't I read recently that there's a 4 something inch smartphone coming out with a 1280 by 720
Yes, there is.
screen?
Yeah.
But
It might be an
720 is
Asian,
not
I'm
a.
sure.
It's a Samsung phone, and we'll talk about the 720p resolution screen in a little bit. But there is no technology right now. There's no panel small enough that high enough that you can do another pixel doubling on a small screen. So what is that? I think that's 1920 by something, right? It's
We're not going to pixel double the
Yeah.
screens again. The next step is for iOS 6 or iOS 7 or whatever the one is that ends up doing this.
1920 by
supporting dynamic size screens like Android does in a Apple-y way. I mean,
I-
that's the next jump.
I do kind of admit that when I used to laugh at the Evos and these big screens, but when you see these big, colorful, very vibrant phone screens, I'm a little bit jealous of the
Yeah,
big screen.
looking at like even the Galaxy S2, which is like a 4.5 inch screen, I think. No, 4.3 inch screen.
4.3 for Galaxy S2.
Yeah, it's nice. That like you don't notice the extra space in Twitter and Mail and stuff like that. You notice the extra space in the web browser and anytime you use the keyboard because just the narrow keys on the iPhone, even though the iPhone keyboard is I think probably the second best one out there right now, it would be better if the keys were bigger.
Although I'm not sold on AMOLED. If you AMOLED versus good IPS screen, I still like the IPS.
The only benefit you have on AMOLED is extra battery and thinner screen.
I will tell you, this
Brighter
thing
colors.
is
brighter, but not necessarily.
I think
sharp.
most oversaturated in some cases.
this thing is damn near impossible to use outside when it's sunny.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
cannot see what's on the screen
Yeah.
in direct sunlight.
yeah. I mean,
Major drawback.
that's the case with everything.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that phones could improve and improve usability dramatically is by doing a smarter job with auto adjusting brightness when you go from outside to inside, because none of them handle it very well. Even the iPhone, which it looks pretty good outside, you have to crank the brightness all the way up manually, and that sucks.
Are we on a
Bad
consensus for the iPhone 4S upgrade? Gary,
Even
day
even
one ATT shipped.
even Leah, and apparently Leah and Gina have been talking about
Oh,
this.
no.
Yeah, it's never a good thing when that
No.
happens.
We should give them a segment on the podcast.
We talked about
On
we're-
Octobercast.
don't jump
think-
ahead. I knew you were going to
Okay.
mention that. You're going to call it Spousecast or something.
Spouse cast.
right. Better half cast.
There you go. That's racist.
Why? I don't even know what you're talking about anymore.
Oh, okay.
Sexist.
Even Leah said to me, you know what, I'm thinking about maybe getting the 4S. I thought you were just going to take my 4 as a hand-me-down, because she's got my 3GS when I got
Right.
the 4. She's like one cycle behind me. She's like, yeah, but Gina warned me, you don't want to get on that cycle feeling like you're one generation behind. I want to have the best camera. Like, she's actually, because she's really into photography, she wants to have that 4S camera. She's really impressed by it and wants to get
You
it.
should just
James
get the 4S.
Bond wants the newest thing.
You should get the 4S for Leah and just keep the 4, dude.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Kindles for everyone.
This is
But I cannot have that.
Kindles for everyone,
I had a previous girlfriend who went out and bought a Palm 3.
Uh-huh.
So I went out and got a 3X.
you're such an asshole.
Yeah, and she hated me for it. She's
I
like,
don't.
why do you have to have
that
better
wasn't the
technology?
only reason she hated you. Just to be fair.
No, there were a lot of reasons. That was one of them, though.
The Q thing that this is one of Gordon Ung's favorite things. The fact that if you are a dude in a relationship and you are the tech support and provider of technology for your significant other,
Yeah.
that makes you fucking Q.
you are not James Bond.
James
you,
Bond.
you think you're James Bond, you are Q.
Yeah, because I'm always like, here, don't. I'm going to give you this. Keep it in the case. Keep the screen protector on.
Pay attention, Bond.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, but I broke it. I broke it the first
This
time
may
out.
look like a phone, but in fact,
Right,
there's a
it's
world of
cyanide
information.
gas
Yes.
pills in here. Yeah, we're James Bond. I mean, we're Q, not James Bond.
So what does that mean? We're not as sexy as we think we are?
We are not the super spy using technology. We are
but
the,
we're funnier,
the technology
because
enabler.
we're John Cleese now.
Yes.
Well, or Desmond Llewellyn was funny too
Yeah, it was an old grumpy way.
in an English.
so yeah,
guy
so
way.
the hand-me-down thing, I think Leah's got a little bit tired of that, and now she wants the.
I'm so sorry.
But when I asked her why that wasn't good enough, because she seems quite. I think the better screen, which again you would have got with the 4 anyway, but she cited the camera specifically.
Yeah,
as the
you're
reason.
boned. She got a real reason. She got an argument there.
Doesn't bone me. She can go out and get the 4S if she wants. I'm not going to feel less of a man that her phone is as good as mine.
Just get the 64 gig one.
Oh.
Figure out which color she's going to get. Get the other color. Tell her that's bigger and get the next one up. She's probably watching. She watches the podcast live.
Yeah, we'll get the. I think we'll probably. If she
tweets
gets the
keep coming.
4S, we'll probably both end up getting the same one. Probably both get 32.
Matching.
The sweet spot, nice in the middle.
It's Gina and I have matching iPhone 4s. It's a little bit of a problem because like we originally had the same case, which was a horrible mistake because then you couldn't tell which one was which just by looking at it.
We had the same case and the same lock screen. I had to change my lock screen just so I know which one's my
I know
phone.
that was bad too. But you broke your case too.
I also
which
broke my
helped.
case. Yes.
Yeah, it's having different colors is not a bad thing.
Yeah, we just got matching Kindles this week, and one of us is going to have to put a sticker on one of them or something.
You want a tested sticker?
Yeah, there you go.
And I've got a bunch of them.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's
4S.
That's our plan for the 4S. There's more news.
Well,
you want to go on? Is there anything else?
No, totally more stuff to talk about.
Oh God.
Already analysts are talking about the 5 or whatever the next iPhone is going to be called. They're pegging LTE as when LTE is ready, meaning when the antennas are better, when battery drain isn't as much. The next jump for Apple will be an LTE phone.
Right.
So do you think the 5? Does that mean the 5 will be LTE? Because LTE
that would
pretty
be. I mean,
mature
you're talking
by
about
then.
killer features. So yeah.
Anand had
when
a good
networks
thing.
are better and
Anand had a good thing where he showed the relative size of the LTE chipsets. Even the chips that are used to drive the LTE chipsets are so big that they wouldn't fit in the current iPhone 4 design.
And you run into a physics problem. You can't really expect a thinner phone because battery life is also improved in the 4S over the 4.
I have to say,
but
battery life in the
presumably-
4 has improved over the life of the 4 as well.
Well, with iOS upgrade.
iOS 5
yes.
definitely seems to have helped battery life since they took the debugging stuff out a couple
And that,
builds
when
ago.
you talk about not needing a phone every year, that is one of the reasons if manufacturers are kind of training people to buy new phones every year. I was happy getting a new phone because I'll get a fresh battery.
Right.
iPhones you can't, obviously.
But presumably,
You can, but
I would guess, and I don't know the ins and outs of Apple's cycle that much, but my educated guess would be that big decisions like LTE, basic design of the phone, things like these are decisions that have already been made within Apple. Like Apple knows
they have
this
a 5
stuff.
year. Well, the thing is, the variables are when are the chipsets going to be done? How is the battery technology advancing? When is the power consumption on the chipset going to go down enough, and the battery power going to go up enough, and the power consumption of the other stuff in the phone?
But are they
that they can get the 14 hours of battery that they want?
But does
on
it?
an LTE
I'm trying to figure
chipset.
out how it works. Like we know that, for example, the LTE chips that are available today wouldn't fit in the phone the way they want it to. So they may say, well, okay, we know that the phone that's going to come out a year from now, we want it to have LTE, but we're banking on the fact that
So they make
3 months from now, when we need to start actually building them, those
build
chips will be there.
10 different prototypes.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the thing.
Right.
There's a shitload of prototypes. 2 or 3 of them end up out in the wild, and that's how we end up with all these iPhone rumors.
Right.
So, any more iPhone stuff?
LTE, I would
I'm
think
holding my tongue.
next phone will have the bigger screen.
It actually worked, as much as an inconvenience it may be, it's worked out quite conveniently for Oktobercast that we'll be able to do iPhone 4S unboxings and
Hopefully.
because
Fingers
it's
crossed.
wireless syncing, we should just be able to. We don't need to
so,
plug it into
so
my.
Gary,
I don't need to plug it into my computer at home.
We
right?
talked about iOS 5 a little bit. That's out on the 12th. So is iCloud officially.
Yes.
So if you're planning on getting iPhone 4S day 1, you should upgrade your phone. First of all, back up the hashes on your 4 just in case.
Yeah.
Upgrade iOS 5 on the 12th. Sync all your shit you want to iCloud.
Yes.
So that when you get iPhone 4S, you can just download over Wi-Fi.
Yes, I will be doing that on the 12th next week in preparation for all of this.
And in case you need to know how to back up your hashes, the application, I'm looking forward to my list right now because I can never remember
What
it's
is
called.
backing up your hashes? I don't know what that is.
So that backs up the things that Apple uses to say, hey, this is a legitimate build of iOS. So basically it lets you go back and restore an older version of iOS on the phone if you want to go back from iOS 5 to iOS 4. Although I don't know if that works since they've upgraded I think they've upgraded the baseband now. It is, I'm still looking. It is called, what is it called? No, not that.
Fact checking.
This
I
is
know, I
fucking
apologize.
scintillating.
Great radio.
Let's talk about something else.
So
Zune HD is dead.
Yes, finally.
I thought this happened a long time
Yeah, I
ago.
thought it was dead.
No, Microsoft never confirmed, and they released.
They just took all mention of the product away,
Yeah.
took it out of the tool,
Yeah.
took it off the website,
Their official
and stopped
statement-
selling it.
Their
But
official
they didn't
statement is
confirm.
now Zune HD, the physical product is dead, and they're focusing all the software efforts, all the hardware efforts on Windows Phone.
Yeah,
but
big-
Zune continues as a service.
Big fat Zune logo on this thing right now.
We talked about the 10 free downloads a week going away, or a month.
That's a
going
bummer
away
because that
last
was
week.
always one of the better parts of the service.
It seemed weird to me, but I know people really liked it.
No, I think it was awesome.
Yeah,
I think
why
they
wouldn't
could have
you
done
like
a better
free
job.
stuff?
They could have done a better job
Something
with
else
it.
for me to be anxious about.
Right, because Will didn't want to get reminded at the end of the month, hey, you
Right. What am I going to use my 10 tracks on?
well, that's the thing.
Oh
It
my
would be a
God.
good
And you're going to have
indicator
like
of how you use the service.
if you have an album that's 13 tracks and you have to then you have to remember, I got to go download the last 3 tracks
That's
later.
not
all
queue.
that
It should
kind
just
of
be a
stuff.
queue. It should be like, here's a list of all the albums.
Well, that would be too easy to take. Yeah. But yeah,
you know, on Zune, and then you can just say add to my. 10
it doesn't
month-
matter because it's
a month
gone.
queue. It's gone.
You can't do it anymore.
But
Disappointing.
the ultimate death of the Zune hardware, I think, was kind of in the cards from the day they announced it.
It's unfortunate because the iPod Touch has been a really huge success.
Yes.
I like the Zune a lot.
A
A lot of people love it.
Zune HD is great.
They love the sound quality, great sound quality. They love the UI, which is you
Had
see
one
it
of the,
now in
had
the
one of
It's
the
small.
first AMOLED screens.
In
Yeah.
fact, actually, if you look at it, the Zune HD it could potentially fill the gap that has been left by the new shitty iPod Nano. Like it's the right size to go running and stuff with. If they put app support and stuff like that on there, I don't know. Maybe my guess is that a no-touch Windows Phone, a no-phone Windows Phone 7 will rise again in the future as that app market as that continues to grow. Because there'll be a market for that, for no data plan Windows Phone.
But when you go into the Zune, the music player app on the Windows Phone 7, does it? Are you in effect?
It's the Zune.
You have a Zune.
It's everything that you had in the
Right.
Zune. It's a fantastic player. I like it better than the music player on the iPod.
Right, and that's what a Zune. That's what the
It
Zune
straight up
HD
says
looks like.
Zune at the top.
Yeah.
It's the Zuniest Zune you can buy today. Xbox TV stuff.
Yeah, so
This is a big deal.
Microsoft made an announcement yesterday that
Well, kind of.
kind of, and Brad, you're probably more suited to talk about this because you're the console guy,
Sure.
the most PC of the console guys.
Actually
Even.
didn't dig very deeply into it because I understood there was not much to dig into.
There's no information.
They've
They
announced
announced,
that-
a bunch of content
Yes.
partners.
So the
Or-
big ones are HBO Go.
Yeah.
So it's not a replace your cable. It is now you can do more with your cable.
Well, it lets you, for people who don't have cable boxes that can do on demand,
Right.
it opens up HBO Go to them on the TV, which I'm very excited about.
And so they announced a ton of content partners, but
Comcast,
even within those
all
content
sorts of
partners,
people,
the
BBC.
actual content is not very specific.
It's not,
they
and
haven't
by
figured
not
out
very
yet?
specific, you mean there are no
Next to
specifics.
no details
Yeah.
about what actual shows you can watch with this.
Right.
But that'll. It was rumored like a month ago, and now. we
And
know
you'll
it's
also
gonna
have to have a cable. I mean,
You
it's not
will.
like you can turn off your cable and then pay for this.
No, it's like HBO
This
Go,
will be
right? It's
supplementing
gonna look
your
for, It's
cable.
going to look for a
Yeah.
for a cable. In
But
fact, HBO Go
it's
is one of
still
the
good news.
services that will be on.
happen.
Xbox.
It will still be good news because it's for when Microsoft wants to make Xbox your primary hub. This is everything the PlayStation should have been doing.
Yes,
It's the
agreed.
promise of the PlayStation,
They had a window.
right? It only does everything. Well, Xbox does more
Everything
closer
plus.
to everything now.
But my understanding is there's no way to have this and only have an Xbox under your TV, right?
No.
You're still going to have a cable box sitting around somewhere.
You don't have to have a cable box.
If you want to
have
watch,
have a
if you
cable
want to watch
subscription.
live TV, you do.
Live.
Okay.
You can pay for HBO and not be able to watch it if you don't have a cable box.
But increasingly, I find myself increasingly living off my on-demand services
Yeah.
and not watching things live or
'Cause
even
live is
DVR. 'cause
shit.
more and more content's available on demand, so that's
Yeah.
what you're going to be getting. Like if you have
Does on-demand stuff have
Xfinity-
ads? Like if you watch,
Yes.
Yes. Oh yeah. On Comcast.
yeah.
I can see the same. Not only are there ad breaks, it's the same ad.
It depends. Like for example, Breaking Bad, I
Mm-hmm.
watch every week, and sometimes we watch it on demand if I don't want to mess around with the DVR. If you're watching that the most recent week's episode, like the one that was broadcast yesterday, and now you're catching it on demand, you'll get all the same kind of ads that you would, like full commercial breaks. If you're watching episodes that are like 2 or 3 back,
Yeah.
what you'll get is just one ad. It's usually kind of like a one specific ad or like an AMC.
So they're selling sponsorships for on-demand catalog
Yes,
content.
it's
and then
the commercial
normal-
breaks are shorter, but they're more irritating. As Norm says, it's the same spot every time.
When you
and
can't,
it gets-
can
it
you
gets
fast forward through them?
You can double speed through them,
Oh
but
my
you
God,
are
that's
limited.
horrible.
Yeah,
This is why I have a TiVo.
yeah.
$15 a month.
But you know, I like the idea of being able to watch TV and still get my game invites and stuff, things like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm watching some boring show and suddenly you want to play Gears of War. Great, I'll go do that
I'm in.
instead.
So
I mean, I turn those off for videos.
Yes.
Because who wants to see their friends popping online constantly?
I would
while
like
it
to
is
be able to
another for Netflix.
micromanage it a little bit more, so I don't need
Yeah.
to see when people come online, but I would like to see invites.
Messages.
Yeah.
They've needed to split that out for a
Yeah,
while.
they do.
It's-
They
it's
need
a-
to add
it's a
some more
shame.
granularity to that.
Steam does a really nice job with that. It's one of the things they do well.
I mean, like PS3's got it completely backwards. They even tell me when people go offline. Why do I care when you've gone offline?
I turned all the notifications off on
Hey,
PS3.
here's someone
Nope.
you can't talk to anymore.
Also, I don't
That's
have
really
any
useful information.
I deleted all of my friends, but I think Norm, because he was the only person I actually know in real life that was on the PS3.
Yeah.
And I don't even use PS3.
Right.
for Blu-ray.
I've never seen Norm on the PS3.
Yeah.
So
RDO,
yeah.
now there's a free version.
Well, hold on. So the Xbox thing, they didn't give a date or anything like that. It seems like it's going to be post this year's fall update.
That's got to be coming pretty soon as well, isn't it? The
we
big Metro
went
update?
and saw a brief about that a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
It's I don't think they have a date for that yet, but I would assume it's in the not too distant
It
future.
sounded like it was November-ish.
Yeah.
That's when they've updated the
Yeah.
dashboard.
It'll be before Thanksgiving, after Halloween, probably.
Yep.
So yeah, that a free version of RDO is exciting. It's
So-
basically now it's comparable with Spotify.
It's ad free also, but it's a limited number of hours, and there's a counter on the.
So it's like
the
Pandora,
website,
basically.
Yes. Although
But-
Pandora
but
has no
it
limit
ads.
now. Pandora has no limit, no 40-hour limit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. The only thing RDO is missing to be perfect, as far as I'm concerned, is the Spotify-like ability to put your own music into the cache
You
on
mean
the
a
phone.
desktop app.
Yeah. Well, no, RDO is a desktop app.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just it's Adobe
So
Flash.
They're matching, like the
It's-
matching stuff.
Yeah,
on Spotify.
No, not the matching stuff. Like the thing that's neat about Spotify is if you have music that's not on the service, but you own it, you can just.
That's what I mean by matching.
Okay.
It'll look in your library and it'll say you have this album.
Do you want to put it on your
Spotify
phone?
Also has it, but it won't transfer that file to the phone. It'll get Spotify's version.
Yeah, exactly.
On the phone. That's matching.
Exactly. Okay.
Last thing.
Samsung Galaxy Nexus.
So next
Well, we
Tuesday.
have one more last thing.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Next thing.
The reason Brad's here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Well,
I think
that's
it's
what-
appropriate that we should have one more thing.
Well, I thought that was more of a testing thing.
Well, we can do that.
I was
Yeah.
hands-on with
Okay.
that.
Last bit of news then. Next Tuesday, Google and Samsung have an event down in San Diego for CTIA. Samsung has their own, I think it's called Unpacked event.
Okay.
Press conference 11:30 a.m. I will be flying down to attend this. It is widely anticipated to be the public debut of Android Ice Cream Sandwich and also the next Nexus phone, which they released a video teaser for earlier in the week. So, and also this morning, Boy Genius Report said they had exclusive details about the actual specs. We can run down the specs.
It seems like it's
really
going to be a
quickly.
Galaxy S2, right? With an
Well,
near field.
here's the thing. The Galaxy S2 was released in Europe a while
March,
ago, and then
April.
also in the US more recently, but not in Verizon. So speculation was, why not Verizon? And it's possible because they were waiting for the Nexus phone, and it would be an exclusive on Verizon. as opposed
I
to
hate
T-Mobile.
that. Why do they make these phones carrier exclusive?
I don't know.
Are we expecting big things from Ice Cream Sandwich?
It's the you remember how Gingerbread was the Google's last opportunity to make good on making the experience really good? Yeah, it's the same thing again.
But also, it's where
I'm
they
getting
unify,
so much hate today.
They unify tablet and phone OS.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's
Okay.
it's
Yes,
it's,
yes,
it's 3 point something, not
Yeah.
2 point something.
Okay.
So that video was really interesting because it showed a really curved phone, and the Nexus S was curved. What Boy Genius Report says is that the phone is going to be called the Samsung Galaxy Nexus.
Wow.
Wow, so they think Galaxy is the brand for Samsung
That's
going
what the
forward?
report is. And here are the specs: 9 millimeters thick. And here's the screen: 4.65 inches, 1280 by 720. We're
Wow.
getting into 720p screens.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Resolution sounds nice, but that almost sounds too big.
Well, the Infuse 4G, which Will has, is
4.5.
4.5.
That thing was
Yeah.
unwieldy.
It's fine once you start
Right.
using it. If it's in your pocket, fine. Like the thing is, if you can fit it in a pair of jeans pockets, I think it's
Curved
acceptable.
glass, I think, is really interesting.
Yeah.
1280 by 720. That's really high res. We're talking about a jump from 854/40 to 720.
Does that put it at higher pixel density than the iPhone 4
I don't think so because of the 4.65.
because of the larger
Yeah,
screen?
but it will be very close. It's going to be, I think, it's still above.
I mean, it
300
sounds like the
DPI.
overall effect of it could be really stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Running TI OMAP Cortex X9 1.2 gigahertz.
It's interesting that they're not running their own ASOC.
That I thought was very interesting as well. 1 gigabyte of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage, 5 megapixel camera on the back, 1.3 in the front, 1080p video, of course, and LTE,
Right. And NFC.
and of course NFC, and 1700.
So LTE is high-speed data. NFC is the
better
near-field communication stuff. So that's the ability to like use Google Wallet at the grocery store, basically. It's interesting. I mean rumors. We'll see.
Yeah.
Next week. It's
next
Tuesday,
week.
right?
Next Tuesday, 11:30. I really hope to get some hands-on time with
You're
one.
taking the good camera.
I'm taking the good camera. They will be streaming the event live on Google, so it's like an official Google.
So
unveiling too.
probably I'll be watching at home,
think
writing up the story while you're down there. taking pictures and stuff.
YouTube.com/Android or something,
Yeah.
or Google.
We'll post the details as we get closer to the day. And then I guess that's it. Let's jump over to what we've been testing. This is a really long podcast already, so we're going to abbreviate the rest of the show, but we'll.
By the way, one final thought on ice cream sandwich.
Yeah.
Continues its streak of every time you say it.
I want an
ice cream sandwich.
Did I tell you I bought? We didn't talk about it. You weren't here last week. I bought ice cream sandwiches after we talked about it the week before
And why did you not bring any?
because I ate them all. They're gone.
It would have been so good if you'd have kept a cooler in here as a secret surprise and waiting for someone to say, I want an ice cream sandwich now, and go, well, look what I have. You would have been like the most amazing person ever. You would have been the maker of dreams.
Oktobercast is just around the corner.
Yes, it's a week away.
Yeah.
Speaking of ice cream, this is
Are we going to what we've been testing?
I want to talk about ice cream for just one more second.
Are they going to make that dude food?
No, but this is Ben & Jerry's related. So we have not have Sweaty Balls ice cream.
We have not.
We have not yet.
It doesn't sound very good.
We should get some for
we
next
should
week.
get some. Not only should we get that, they announced new Ben & Jerry's flavor today.
Ooh. Oh my God.
Yes.
What is it?
I just blew myself from Arrested Development.
Wow. Is it bananas?
It is blueberry ice cream with a rich body chocolate swirl and white chocolate cutoffs.
Are you sure that's real and not just a Reddit thing? Okay, that looks real.
I see the picture.
Well, yeah, but the dude food looked pretty convincing as well.
Yeah. I like the fact that they're getting into increasingly offensive names.
Well, the timing of this works right because they announced the new season of Arrested Development.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm hoping for one day to achieve my own Ben & Jerry's flavor called Fuck Off.
or Will. Sorry, AIDS.
Sorry, AIDS.
What have you guys been testing this week? We talked about iOS 5. I'm not going to say I've been testing that. I'm not going to say anything else about it except that it is awesome. I haven't run it on 3GS yet, which is the lowest supported hardware. I have one at home that I'm going to bring in and put it on and see what the experience is like before next week.
Do you think it'll be like when iOS 4 ran really poorly on the 3?
I think
Do you think Apple's learned their lesson about these systems running two generations back?
Yeah, I think they learned a lesson.
I love the idea that my phone is better than Gary's now.
Wait, how is it? What?
I have iOS 5 on it.
Beta?
No. Gold Master.
Gold Master, motherfucker.
What? Fuck you. How do I get that?
Hi, Gary. How you doing?
You're gonna hook me up with that shit.
You got to be nice.
Yes. I am. What? When am I not nice? Get me that shit. I want it.
Okay.
There's a specific upgrade process to doing it.
Do I need to give you my EID number or whatever?
You have to give me that.
Yeah.
We can do that at the office after we're done with the show.
Okay, let's do that.
And my recommendation also, because you have to back up your phone, you should definitely back up your phone.
Well, here's the thing. There's a new version of iTunes.
Yeah, you have to get the version of iTunes. There's a version for Windows or Mac.
Right.
Get the one for Mac if you have
Get it
one.
with whatever you sync
Yeah.
from.
Install iTunes, put your phone in airplane mode, and then back up.
Why put it in airplane
What?
mode?
Because I got a text message during my backup, and that's what screwed my backup up.
Oh.
Ooh, interesting.
And I almost couldn't recover. And a good thing was I backed up on the Windows PC before.
Walk me through the steps later, and I'll do it.
let's talk about this because before the show's on next, people will have done this. When you are upgrading your iPhone to a new version of iTunes, when you're upgrading iTunes and the iPhone at the same time, not a terrible idea to back up the phone with the version of iTunes that is the most recent.
Yes.
So don't back it up, then upgrade iTunes, then restore the phone.
Right.
Install iTunes, back up the old phone, then install the new phone, and then go from there.
Where do you get this new version of iTunes from?
You get it from the same place you get the new version of iOS.
Oh,
Will
the secret cupboard. Okay,
You got to be a developer.
All right, good.
I'm an iOS developer.
Yeah, how's your latest
Yeah,
app?
when's
How's
your
your
app
latest
coming
app
out?
coming along?
I'm working on it, man.
Yeah.
I got a real.
It's
I got
a wiki, right?
A Gary Whitta soundboard.
Got some really
coming.
amazing fart generating algorithms.
Yeah, yeah. We're fractal fart generation is what we do over here.
Chilled ass air.
Yeah. So that's important. Do it in that order. I did that on a couple phones. No problems. The OS is really solid on iPhone 4s.
Oh, look, I just got notifications on my home screen.
Oh, so good. Must have it.
It's pretty
Must
fantastic on
have
iPad
it.
as well.
Want it.
So yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good. I'll give you my... oh, shit.
Yeah.
I can't give you my ID for my iPad until I get home, but I'll give you the thing off here.
We have sources.
Magical.
Let's see what else. Belkin Conserve stuff. That video is going up, I think, early next week, right? Mm-hmm. It's basically a line of energy conservation devices from Belkin. They're like smart power strips and stuff like that. It's really cool. Not particularly expensive compared to comparable products. I thought it was neat. I went around the house figuring out how much energy all of the shit in my house uses. Turns out the TV uses more than anything else, except for maybe my computer. Norm, you've been You've been on the. Did you test that WDTV thing? Should we talk
No.
about that? Okay, let's not talk about that.
They did announce a new one, but it's just news. It's on the site.
Hario Skirtin, a hand mill coffee grinder. I'm so glad I didn't recommend that to you because it is really hard to use. Grinding coffee by hand is hard
just
work.
the manual element. I just knew
It's
it
like,
wasn't going to be for
it
me.
takes so long.
Yeah.
I love the. I'm still testing the Samsung Galaxy Tab 8.9.
Yeah.
Still loving it. I've done a thorough wipe down of it after the bathroom test.
Ew.
I don't need any more information.
Alcohol
on that.
wipes.
I've
Alcohol wipes.
got hospital grade alcohol pads.
Okay,
I have
thanks,
the,
man.
If you'd like
the
some.
Clorox stuff. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
The tablet.
It's 8.8 inches. 8.9
8.9
inches is
inches.
exactly the size you
Wait,
want.
hold on.
For
So
a tablet.
I'm just going like, you love the tablet.
Yeah.
You took it into the bathroom.
To
And now
read.
you have to wipe it down. Like what? What's
So
the
wait,
missing
well,
part that,
see,
that I don't want to know about
It's
here?
the George Costanza
Fecal
thing.
matter, dude. Fecal matter.
It's like I brush my teeth while using the tablet.
Have you ever read one of those studies about the little bowl of mints at the cash register in the restaurant?
No,
And
what about
how
them?
you should never ever eat those?
Oh, really? Because I eat them all the
They're
time.
No.
You're not-
What?
No, never. The ones that are in cellophane are okay.
What, the
No,
little red and white
yeah.
ones?
I'm talking about the ones that are just
Yeah.
loose. in
Oh,
the
no.
bowl.
I
If it's
they
in a
come in
wrapper,
little
it's fine.
wrappers.
If it's in a
here's
wrapper, it's
here's
fine.
the
Why is
process.
that bad?
You eat lunch
Yeah.
before you go leave the store, get in the car to drive home. You walk into the bathroom and maybe drop a deuce, maybe just have.
Oh, and then you
urination
come out and
break.
like dig around in the bowl.
They're,
Oh,
Right.
yeah,
I
they've,
see.
found traces of urine and feces in those mints.
Yes.
Oh
my
my
God.
goodness.
Urine's okay; it's sterile, but feces not.
Well,
so much.
no, it's only sterile right when it comes out.
Oh,
very
good to know.
quickly. Very quickly, it becomes a wonderful medium for
Growth.
bacteria to cultivate in.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is great factual information you're
Yeah.
bringing to the podcast, Brad.
So all that fecal mist
I've
is on your
I've
mints.
absorbed a lot of medical information through osmosis.
Yeah, it's not. It's shit you don't want to know.
It's not helping my
shit you don't
anxiety
handle.
levels at all.
Taking microbiology was a formative experience for
Yeah.
me. It taught me that washing your hands is very, very important.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good way to turn into like a Howard Hughes type.
Exactly.
Speaking of tablets, Gary, we didn't get your inputs on the Kindle Fire. Is that something that you are pre-ordering?
Well, I was going to talk about Kindle anyway as part of what we're testing because I got it this week.
Yeah, my review went up this morning. It's
I got
fantastic.
two. I got one for me and one for Leah.
The review.
Because at $79, I mean, it really does feel, like a very impulse purchasey. And I've been saying for a while that I wanted a dedicated reader. I mean, I love my iPad, but it is slightly heavy and bright at night when you're reading. So I like the idea of having something that's super thin. I love e-ink. It's amazing that for what seems like fairly primitive technology, e-ink still seems kind of magical to me.
Yeah.
Like every time I pick up the Kindle, I'm like, is that a sticker? No, that's actually the
That's
text.
the screen, yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I nearly got the last generation
Had
one.
you
but-
had a Kindle before?
No, so I've been holding off every generation thing. I feel like the next one is the one where they're really gonna nail it.
Yeah.
Like, not that it was ever a bad product. It's always been a great product. But on this new one, finally getting rid of the keyboard was a big thing for me. And it's so thin and light. I mean, it's just a thing of beauty. It's now one of my new favorite gadgets that I own. So they came in the mail. Love the packaging. Everything from everything is so great about the Kindle. The plain brown packaging is really cool. It's super cheap. I agonized a little bit on what version to get, whether I should get the offers or the touch, and took all your advice and eventually got the basic version with offers.
Here's the thing,
Which I think it was the right. I'm very happy.
Yeah,
with it.
the thing that I realized. Well, first off, it turns out you can upgrade the offers to not offers if you want to pay $30. To
Yeah, that was
Amazon.
a good tip.
But the offers are really unobtrusive.
Yeah, they're fine. And
Having-
sometimes they're good offers.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want the offer.
Okay.
Well, it just
Occasionally.
means that there's no reason to get straight off the bat the $109 version.
Yeah.
Try the offer, save some money, but save $5 on the USB adapter, and then later on, $30.
So the thing I realized is that now at $79, e-ink is not disposable, but it's cheap enough that you kind of don't care.
But you don't I don't have to fret about it on an airplane the way I do it. Like, I can walk around reading it, not worrying about dropping my iPad. I'm dropping it. It's like,
I rode
so
BART in
what?
the other day. I busted out on BART. I would never ever take my iPad out on BART.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
hesitate to take my phone out on BART.
Absolutely,
because I feel like
And
I'm
this-
getting marked for death.
You
when I
feel
do
much
that.
more safe with this. It does have the issue with in low light. I'm gonna be looking into the lighted cover.
Well, so I pre-ordered one of the lighted covers because I'm interested in that. It's stunning to me that the lighted cover is $59.
It's nearly as expensive as
It's
the Kindle.
nearly as expensive as the Kindle.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit offensive, but I mean, whatever. It's the not having to have the overhead light on or the reading light on when I'm reading it is worth $60.
But I love it, and I really do think it will encourage me to read more. Like, I'm going to buy that Steve Jobs biography. I'll get it on Kindle and read it.
Yeah, it's
that
Can
way.
you get that on Kindle?
it's
You
a
want
really-
the physical book.
Well, no.
Are you going to get him to sign it? No. Too
Too
soon.
soon.
Okay.
Too soon.
My bad.
That's my one on my shelf though. I pre-ordered this morning. $17.
Anyway, the point is, it's a really nice device. $79. A couple of things I don't like. It bums me out that they don't include the little USB power brick, the plug to USB power bricks. You have to charge it off of a USB
Right, it's
port.
an extra $10.
Well, it's $5 if you get it through the offer on the Kindle with offers, because they give you $5 off.
Yeah. And I had $10 Amazon credit I never even knew I had from some previous purchase, so I got mine for $69.
I think that they have over trimmed the bezel. Like going back and looking at the bezel size on the Kindle 2 versus the Kindle 3 versus this fourth generation Kindle.
The buttons are a little thin.
It's the buttons are, I'm okay with that. I think that they could use more bezel. The screen doesn't hold fingerprints particularly though, so if your finger overlaps a little bit on the screen, it's not that big a deal.
Oh, I'm really happy. I think it's the best form factor they've ever had for the Kindle.
I think that the touch is going to have real problems because of the size of the bezel. If the bezel on the touch is as close to the size of the bezel on this one as it is, I'm worried about that.
Too easy to tap the page.
Yeah, too easy to turn the page.
Yeah, I decided against the touch because, as you say, the technology is not proven yet, and also it is a little bit heavier and thicker.
Plus, you choose. There's no physical buttons on the touch.
Right.
That's the thing.
that's
Tap, tap, tap.
Yeah. So, Kindle Fire, yes, no.
Very keen to get my hands on it. I was bummed to not be here last week when you guys were talking about it. I think that Amazon is the big mover in technology in the last 2 weeks. I think they trumped Apple in terms of what they showed. Apple, I think had a decent showing. They upgraded a bunch of stuff. But Kindle is the one coming in. Amazon's the one coming in saying, what about this?
$200. I don't think it's fair to call the Fire an iPad competitor, but a $200
if you
Super
remember,
Kindle is interesting.
My
you were right.
My prediction that they would they would definitely outsell iPad by volume over the holidays. Do you remember that was made at $250 and it's now at $200?
And, so analysts were saying, and we're going back to news a little bit, 95,000 pre-orders so far of the Kindle Fire.
Yeah.
But then the leaked internal inventory document said 250,000 pre-orders in 5 days.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be it's going to fly off the shelves.
They're not going to. They'll be hard to find.
I think the only thing that will stop them selling as many as they possibly can is going to be supply constraint.
Yeah.
People want tablets and they don't want to pay a lot for
Which
them.
is why
That's
if you want
exactly
if
it says the man who bought the HP touchpad for $99.
After the fairly protracted process of like patching and overclocking that thing, it's
good.
Pretty nice tablet.
Yeah, it's not bad.
What do you think about the Fire?
I don't know about the size.
Do you have Amazon Prime?
I do.
It makes your Prime account that much better.
I was kind of bummed that it didn't come with the Prime that we thought it might.
No, we actually talked about this.
What they did is better, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know with
the free month.
The free
so what is it they're doing?
30 days of Prime.
Okay.
I think the options when they're having discussions was $250 and they give you a year of Prime, or $200 and they give you 30 days of Prime. I think they made the right choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
My feeling is that with phone screen sizes slowly creeping upwards, I don't know that I want tablets to get smaller.
I think 5 inches is a hard limit, though.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, I think really 4.5 inches is the real hard limit.
If you confine the tablet to like the home space,
Norm's on the exact.
If you make it a couch device, then I would prefer it be a little bigger.
Right, but Norm's all about 7 inches the future.
Yep, 7 inches.
Here's the thing. I think reading single column stuff on 7 inches and 10 inches is roughly the same, right? I think the real benefit of doing the 7-inch tablet is the weight, because the weight on that Samsung Galaxy Galaxy Tab 8.9 is so reduced from the iPad, it becomes something you can use one-handed really comfortably.
That's fair.
It's the same thing for the BlackBerry Playbook. It's that same size. It's a good size.
1 pound.
Having played the Playbook, I remember thinking, this is not so bad.
Yeah, the only problem with the Playbook was everything else.
I think the Fire is a terrific product. I think it's going to be the big product this holiday. I personally will not be buying one just because between the Kindle I have and the iPad,
you're covered.
There's just no need for it.
Yeah.
If
you have an iPad in your house or you don't have a tablet in your house, Kindle Fire is you could do a lot worse than the Kindle Fire. The other thing is if you want a second tablet, like you have one for yourself, you want to get one for the wife or the kids or whatever, makes a lot of sense.
I think Amazon is just crushing it right now with these products.
Absolutely. And then the last thing, the reason you're here, Brad.
Yes.
Well, we always love your feedback,
Thank you.
input, and all that.
I've been waiting my turn like a good little guest.
Yeah, we're saving the best for last because I figure we'll talk about this for a little bit.
That's flattering.
We have to parachute in a dedicated game expert every time we talk about games, because otherwise we just get so much shit.
Yeah, because it's not like the people sitting at the table haven't had a lot of game expertise.
It's not like I edited game magazines for more than a decade,
right? Or that Norm was the PC Gamer intern for ever basically.
Yeah, a long time.
Until I lifted him from obscurity into Maximum PC.
Yeah.
The PC. This has been a big week. couple
Yes.
of weeks for PC games.
Yes.
Diablo beta has been out for a couple of weeks now.
Yep.
Battlefield 3 beta started last week, I guess, maybe
Yep.
the week before.
The Dota 2 beta is still out there incognito.
No real people have access to that. It's all just developers and specials, as far as I know right now.
Specials, fucking specials.
But then Rage
Yes.
came out this week, which is, both Battlefield 3 and Rage have kind of been carrying the torch for AAA PC games for
Yeah.
a while,
Yeah.
right? Fair to say?
Well, theoretically, yes.
Okay. PC gamers have been carrying
Yes,
the torch
yes.
for Battlefield 3 and Rage.
The expectation is that those games would and will do that.
They're the
that's
ones
correct.
that they point to when they need to make examples of how PC gaming is still where it's at.
Right.
So I played through Rage to completion before it came out.
Yeah.
On the Xbox 360 because
Yeah.
that's what they provided us.
How was that experience?
I enjoyed it. It's fun. It is a meat and potatoes action game with some quasi modern trimmings
Okay.
around it.
And
Like,
the 360
people-
was actually the lead skew, wasn't it?
It was.
Right.
It was. I mean, just in terms of the game itself, people that come to it looking for a Fallout or Borderlands are going to be
Yeah.
massively disappointed. But it's just
Well, it's not that-
it's not that kind of game.
It's a shooter.
right.
The thing that it has always done well is the guns feel really
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
It's fun to play. It's fun to shoot people in the face.
Yep. And it totally is.
And it's a little thin on the other stuff
Yeah.
underneath
But
that. That's
stuff,
okay.
The stuff is there. It's nice variety.
I need to spend some more time with it, but based on just a few minutes that I saw, I told you the PAX story before I went over and saw it at PAX. I'm like, I honestly thought it was running on a PC,
Yeah.
and then I was like, wow, that's a
It's
360.
stunning. The effect is
Yeah,
stunning when you see it.
60
The
frames a
360
second,
game
right?
was
Which is amazing.
Glory. I mean, I stood behind you and watched you play it last week and was like, I cannot believe that this is running on the 360.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody else is making games on the 360 should be ashamed.
It's a
Well,
little,
maybe not Cliffy. I mean, Gears of War 3 looks pretty fucking
Gears looks
great.
good, but
does.
it's a different scale.
This. I mean, seeing a game that looks this good and runs this smoothly
Yeah.
is just.
And then it came out on PC.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I played through the whole thing on the Xbox for review before the game was out.
Yeah.
They didn't provide us the PC version because,
Well, it was fucked.
well,
turns out.
more to the point, it was SteamWorks, and
Right.
and Steam games just aren't available before launch. There's just
Right.
There are ways to get access to Steam games before they're officially unlocked, but
Right.
it's really a pain. in the ass.
Like legitimate ways to gain access.
That's
to
what I
Steam
mean.
games
That's what I
before-
mean.
yeah,
But the
Well, they must
publisher-
have builds they give to like PC Gamer and places
right,
like
but
that.
the publisher has to opt you into that, and you
Okay.
have to use like a weird dummy Steam account and all this.
I
And
crazy
they're
see.
stuff.
probably going to have to go to. I mean, I think a lot of times, like PC Gamer goes to an event or to the publisher or
I
something
mean,
like
the,
that.
the bottom
Right,
line is,
right,
if
right.
the publisher is confident in the console version, it's much easier to just send that disc out.
Right.
And
because-
clearly, in this case, they were much more confident.
Well, yeah. So that's the thing. I played through the game on the Xbox, fully envisioning a scenario where the game launches on Steam on Tuesday and is just clearly, definitively the best version.
Yeah.
The opposite came to pass.
Well, so there were a lot of problems. One was like there's a crazy texture pop, not just texture pop in, but also like displacement map pop in. So the models would go from looking like they were low res to high res.
like flat polygons
flat
with
polygons.
mud all over them.
Yeah.
To over the course of less than a second, as you turn and see them, they would like kind of pop into focus.
And this
Right.
was unique to AMD drivers, right? NVIDIA people
No,
didn't have this
it's- I
problem.
mean,
There were
it-
problems on Nvidia as well, but they weren't as pronounced
Well,
as my understanding.
this is it's the case with the engine on every single version of the game, even on the consoles. Like you get this, and Carmack was even talking about this.
He
Back
talked about it at QuakeCon.
QuakeCon, that if you spin your view around really quickly, it's going to be like glaringly obvious, and
Right.
it's kind of ugly when you look for it.
right.
But if you just play the game as you normally would, you don't really pay attention to it.
So the part of the backstory on this is that basically every morning I turn on email and there's an email from ATI and an email from Nvidia that says, "Hey, we got new Battlefield 3 drivers for the last maybe 2 weeks since that beta hit." And then AMD released drivers for Rage that were new Rage drivers, but weren't the Battlefield 3 drivers. So like you had to choose: you're going to play Battlefield 3 beta, or you're going to play Rage.
He's going to have both installed at
The
once.
Rage,
No,
the Rage
both don't work.
drivers broke the enhancements for Battlefield.
And then AMD actually released bad drivers. They released the wrong driver for Rage.
The driver that was actually labeled Rage Performance Driver actually decreased the performance. of
Wow.
Rage.
So it was a litany of errors.
Yeah.
And this is like I've been playing PC games for a very, very long time. Rage has been in development for 6 or 7
Yep.
years at this point.
Yep.
They knew when this game was going to be released for 6 months or a year probably
Yep,
now.
Probably.
How in the holy fucking hell why are we having performance drivers that don't just make the game 3%, 5%, whatever faster, but that make the game work?
Yeah.
It's astonishing
yes,
to me
it was
The
that,
week that it
unplayable.
comes out.
that it was allowed to ship in this state
Yeah.
is an embarrassment to everyone
Well, it's-
concerned.
I mean, I don't even think I don't even. As happens when a high-profile game ships and it doesn't work, there's always a lot of snake oil stuff that happens. Like that thing that Jason Cross posted. Jason Cross from PC World, a friend of ours, is a good guy. Discovered or saw someplace that basically there's no profile. Like if you made a profile folder, it would dump a cache on the hard drive. Bethesda then came out, Nick Brecken came out and said that doesn't actually do anything, that cache isn't used for anything. The problems were seemingly all in the drivers. And I mean, I covered video cards for a long time. There's really, really no excuse for these games not shipping with drivers that work when it's a game that's been around for works for 7 years.
And
From Carmack,
it feels well. That's
Yeah.
the thing. It feels particularly egregious coming from Carmack, who is kind of the tech messiah of PC gaming, right?
Right. I mean, he's responsible for so much of what became like one of the reasons that a lot of the games, the way online multiplayer works, the way renderers work, are all based on or spawned off of work that he did in the Quake engine days, id Tech 3, or I didn't even call it id Tech back then, but the Quake engine days. Yeah.
Although, I mean, I have to imagine that he is off in a room somewhere architecting the next version of the engine at this point. You know,
Already, probably for a while.
Looking at the credits for Rage, they have something like 15 programmers on staff now.
Well,
So-
but those are people who are doing. You need a lot of programmers to make.
I
a
mean,
game
obviously,
like that.
there's a lot of
scripting
game
programmers,
logic and scripting and
shader
AI.
programmers.
Yeah, sure. There are a lot of different hats to wear on that team.
Yeah.
I'm sure, but I mean, laying the blame directly at his feet, I don't know if that's really
The problem when you're the guy at the top of the
top
in the big chair is
That's
that the
fair.
blame falls on your feet.
But I wonder if he was not fully aware of all these issues. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Game's got to ship.
Yeah.
But he seems like kind of a Jobsian micromanager of technology. Like, I'm amazed that he personally would have let this go out without knowing that every driver, every major configuration, like it's all buttoned down,
Not
and
his company
working
anymore.
Right.
guess
Even
so.
even if all the drivers had been in place, I mean, this happens with almost every PC game. But in the hours and days since it came out, like people on the Steam forums and all over the place have found like, okay, set this variable this way, increase this cache size to this, force
Who
these
wants
high
to
detail
have to
tech.
do that?
So like
I don't.
there's this whole like string of command line arguments you need to put into your like Steam
Jeez.
launch properties to make it look. And apparently, if you do all that, it looks and plays great. But how it didn't go out the door that way is
Now there is
shocking.
now a driver that actually fixes it, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
that came out
On
the
both
afternoon.
ATI and NVIDIA.
The ATI, the actual fixed driver came out the afternoon of release. So
Right.
they fixed it in a matter of hours, but the fact that they had to fix it at all is kind of inexcusable.
Right. And
Logan-
the fact that the driver you downloaded last month didn't include the shit that needed to make this game work is ridiculous.
Logan Decker, who's the editor-in-chief of PC Gamer, says something and has been saying it as a result of this Rage debacle quite vocally. I think it's quite controversial that he says this. I applaud him for saying it, because you just don't buy games right when they come out. Just
Yeah.
wait for
Right.
them to get fixed if you don't want any grief.
Well, and I mean, so part of the problem here, remember a long time ago, probably 8 years ago at this point, NVIDIA launched the way it's meant to be played stuff, which is they insist. I'm mean, just to be perfectly clear, NVIDIA insists, and ATI has a similar program, so it's not just ATI or NVIDIA. These are marketing arrangements, not development arrangements. But on way it's meant to be played, high-profile way it's meant to be played games, NVIDIA or ATI, depending on who has the marketing arrangement, it's usually an exclusive deal. So, like Deus Ex: Human Revolution was an ATI game. Rage, I don't know, is Rage the way it's meant to be played?
I didn't see any logos pop up.
He may not. I mean, they may not have taken money from anybody. The way it works is you put the badge at the start of your game, and either NVIDIA or ATI will send you money, which probably is used to buy ads in magazines and on TV and stuff like that.
But does it mean that the game really is any more optimized for that hardware?
The backroom rumors I've always heard are that the on-site developers, the on-site engineers from the graphics card manufacturers have been known to do things that may cause problems for the other vendor in the last minutes before a game ships. It's all unsubstantiated rumors, just to be
Maliciously?
perfectly clear.
We're into tinfoil hat.
We're into
territory
tinfoil
now.
hat territory. Yes, that is exactly right. But stuff like this Rage thing is, I just don't understand how it happens, and it's part of the problem is AAA. There's so much at stake on these 3 or 4 AAA high-profile PC releases a year that there is a big opportunity for ATI and NVIDIA to make the other side look bad, and those rivalries, despite the fact that market is kind of not in a growth phase, are still really incredibly strong, and it's bad. Like what they do, if they're torpedoing each other, it's so fucking bad for that industry, for PC gaming in general, that it's turning people off. Like Gary, who was the editor-in-chief of PC Gamer for 5 5 years.
Yeah, and I get accused. Well, no, more longer than that.
Okay.
I get accused in 93 to 99, 2000.
Okay.
I get accused of being a trader now that I have to continue to be a brand ambassador for years after I can stop being
After
paid
you
to
stop
play
getting a
PC games.
paycheck, yeah.
I still play PC games all the time. As a PC gamer, I don't like what certain aspects of what PC gaming has become, but I get a lot of shit when I complain
But
about
that
it.
doesn't mean you have to put up with that stuff if there's a better alternative. Which in this case,
Yes.
there definitely is. Buy the Xbox version. It works fine and it looks great.
I don't want to play that game with a controller.
Well, that's the other weird thing. Even on the PC,
It's better with a
some
controller?
some of the elements of the gamepad controls, which are really good, are still in there. You can still switch weapons on the numbers and mouse look, and et cetera, et cetera. But if you plug in an Xbox pad, it just works like the Xbox.
Well,
version.
that's to be expected.
But some of the interface for like changing ammo types and stuff like that is still designed around that gamepad.
So
even if you're
the
using the
Oblivion / Fallout problem.
Yeah, like having 4 weapons equipped at a time and that kind of thing.
Well, I'm okay with having 4 weapons equipped. That's a game design thing, not necessarily an interface thing. The weird inventory menus in Oblivion and to a lesser extent Fallout that didn't work really at all on the PC with a mouse and keyboard are frustrating.
That stuff is unfortunate, but at least to Bethesda's credit, they give people the tools to fix that stuff.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's kind of sad that somebody else has to fix that, but at least it's possible.
Well, so the thing as a guy who likes to play PC games, the place I'm at is that the interesting stuff that happens on PC aren't the AAA. I mean, because just to be clear, Carmack said at E3 this year, Rage was developed for the Xbox 360 and then ported to the other, or not ported, but simultaneously released on the other stuff, on the other platforms. I'm not interested in playing console games ported to PC anymore. I mean, it's just that stuff isn't the cool stuff. The cool stuff to me are like the little tiny, weird, developed in Eastern Europe, small games for PC.
Yeah.
They can only come out on PC.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff's cool.
'Cause, I mean, that's where the barrier to entry is lowest.
Yeah, like and so I'm going to talk about Renegade Ops because I was playing that the other day. It came out on Xbox Live Arcade, and I think it came out on PSN too, right?
Same week.
It's a great experience on PC. It's a little tiny weird jackal, like NES jackal kind of game.
Overhead Jeep shooter.
Yeah, it's not going to be a $60 console title. It's great that it came out in the arcades. It's much better on PC. Same thing for Monday Night Combat and a lot of these other Super Meat Boy. A lot of the other kind of innovative, pushing game design forward games are coming out first on PC, and they're good there.
In a lot of cases, only on PC.
Only.
I mean, you get stuff like VVVVV, which will never see the light of day on any console,
right?
Because those platform holders just won't have it.
And I think that's the thing that PC gaming should become about. The MOBAs. You're not going to see MOBAs on consoles.
Yeah, or RTS for that matter.
Right,
or good RTS anyway.
I mean, they've tried. I think we've reached a point where everybody's realized, no, you can't make
Give it
RTS
up.
as good on the
Stop
consoles.
trying.
Yeah, PC gaming is not what it was, and I don't mean that to say that it's somehow diminished from what it used to be. It's just a different scene now. Like the indie scene on PC gaming is better than it's ever been.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Go to Steam and check out all the indie games. It's amazing.
Like week by week, there are like half a dozen cool little $5 to $10 games hitting
fantastic.
Steam.
And crazy shit like that Akron game that Vinny's been trying to figure out how to play. I mean, that is not a good game. I mean, that's not fair. I don't understand that game enough to say whether that is a good game or not.
It's a great thought experiment.
Yeah, but the fact that I watched him play that for probably 2 hours now and don't have any idea how that game works.
Yep.
That's some weird fucked up shit. You're only going to get that on PC.
But
probably a bad example now that I think about it.
Where else though? Where else but the PC are you going to get a chance to play a game like that, which also exists elsewhere as a defense contract?
Right.
Like those guys do work for the Pentagon.
Right. And
that became this game.
Well, and stuff like Stalker and Metro 2033 and Red Orchestra and like this is the place where hardcore games can live.
no question. And also MMOs. You want to play Warcraft or the Old Republic when that comes out? There's no console.
Why would you play
iteration of
anything
that.
more? I mean, let's be honest. Nobody's gonna play anything but Warcraft.
But there's no console version because it just can't work.
Sorry,
but
Brad.
if you look at the big tentpole genres that PC gaming has traditionally kind of been best known for, like the big kind of throaty first-person shooters that Carmack has traditionally, been the standard bearer for. You play on a mouse and keyboard. You play, on a big screen with the best, highest resolution graphics. That is truly the way it's meant to be played. But so when something like Rage comes along and everyone's having great times playing the 360 version and the PC version comes out and is kind of gimped and is giving people a lot of grief, that does cause some people to say, what does this mean? Are we seeing some kind of sea change? Is the PC starting to cede, first-person ground, which is traditionally one of its kind of big home bases? And that's when PC people come out of the woodwork and say, no, Battlefield 3. What was the other one? The other big one we just said they use as the example. Battlefield 3, and what was the other one?
Diablo 3.
Rage was the other one.
Well, Rage is the other one.
But-
And we don't even know what's going to happen with Battlefield 3 yet, right? I mean, presumably somebody told me the other day you need two 580s SLI'd running that to run that at ultra settings. Like, it's going to be another one of these like high-end Crisis type.
Well,
games.
but I mean, that's one of those. Battlefield 3, because it has a multiplayer component, is a game that will live on for a long time, in theory.
Right.
So, like, I can buy with Crisis, which I mean, they had multiplayer aspirations, but it didn't work out. The single player of that is something you play through once or maybe twice, and then you're never going to touch again, except for maybe when you get a new video card.
But it makes me question everything. Brad's assumption, which I would have had the same assumption, is when the PC version of Rage comes out, that's clearly going to be the best version.
Same
it's
thing for
Carmack,
Skyrim.
it's a first-person shooter. Of course, it's going to be the best version. Turned out it was actually a mess. It may, in fact, turn out to be the best version. Once
I mean,
they
by
fix it.
today, it's probably the best version.
It probably is at this point, if you're willing to go add those tweaks and all that stuff.
But that causes me to question everything. Battlefield 3, who knows what might happen now? The assumption
and
that
Battlefield-
the PC version will be the best is now somewhat undermined by other things that are happening.
And the Battlefield beta is jacked up too. I mean, on the PC, you have to go into a website to matchmake and add party options and all sorts of crazy shit like that. It's insane. It does not make sense. So I mean, hopefully they're going to fix that before launch. Seems like it actually is a real beta and not a marketing beta. It's a marketing beta.
I wouldn't say that at all. But
you think it's a real beta?
Yeah.
Like they're going to
I
use
think
the
there
feedback
are-
from
I
this
think-
2 weeks out to
yes,
fix the game,
yes.
even
I
though
think-
it's not.
Can we print this on an egg?
I think there are. Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
It's not even the latest.
I'm not
version.
eating the shell, but
You don't have to eat the
I
shell.
don't think I'll have to eat anything
Okay.
because I think there are problems yet to be fixed on that game.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that at this point, 2 weeks out, I don't think they're going to take feedback from this beta and fix those problems.
It doesn't mean that people are going to actively suggest changes that they're going to implement. Like, they might just be looking for bug testing and stuff.
I think with the Rage thing, it is a bit of a black eye to those involved.
Yeah.
But if it was as fixed as quickly as it was, are we making a bit of a mountain out of a
No,
molehill
because
here?
the thing is, the onus is on the video card manufacturers. I mean, it's not like they can't call John Carmack and find out what they need to do to make their drivers right for these games. The dude is open and available to the video card people, or at least he may not be now, but in the past, I know in the Doom 3 era, there were daily calls with id to figure out what they needed to do to make their video card drivers right for Doom 3's launch. Right. There's no excuse for this, for something that's been in development for so long that the release date is so. It's not like id woke up on Tuesday morning like, you know what?
Yeah, let's just put
Fuck
it out
it. Let's
today.
release it. This seems like a good day. Let's do it. Fuck those guys. They've known for a year, for 6 months at least.
Yeah.
There's no reason it shouldn't have been in the last major driver dump.
What's been the view, the majority view, if there is one, among the Giant Bomb community about all this?
It's intermittent. Some people are still having issues that I didn't run into. We have an ATI card here, and as of the new drivers on release day, it was fine. It was totally playable. But some people are still running into issues with Crossfire, weird crashing bugs. I mean, there are issues outside of the driver stuff. So
Yeah,
it's hard to say.
And just to try to accentuate the positive a little bit again, the 360 version really does look astonishingly good for a 360
Yeah.
game.
That's the
I
thing.
was blown away.
Every time an
Or
event,
360
every time an
game.
event like this comes along, it shakes the confidence of the people who are kind of on the fence. You know, like even people that love the PC but are just like too old and busy to want to have to deal with CFG settings every time a game is messed up.
Well, I think the takeaway for me on this whole thing is that, you know, the PC games I'm going to play because they're experiences you can only get on the PC, not necessarily because it's where my patience for games that look amazing but play shitty are kind of is I've kind of reached the end of that. Like, I'm not interested in playing something because it's gorgeous anymore. I'll stand behind you and watch you play it at your desk. I'm not going to spend $60 on it. Or I'll wait until it's cheaper and buy it then and have my experience then. I'm much more interested in playing games that have novel gameplay mechanics or are just stupid fun. Like playing Horde mode Gears, which we never got to talk about on this podcast, but you guys did a really nice job on the Bombcast last week. Dude, there was nothing like watching Brad snipe that fucking Brumac down for
across the
25
map.
minutes.
Even after I was out for that next hour, it still felt like watching a really exhilarating action
Nail-biting.
movie or something.
Yeah, and I've never felt tension like when you went down on the last Brumac, and I was standing there. I was like, "Shit, I'm going to die from splash damage."
all down to you.
and there is nothing I can fucking do about it. And then you spawn back in, and we ended up winning. I mean, it's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And I ultimately don't give a shit whether that was on the Xbox or on the PC or on the PlayStation 3 or on my fucking Well, I don't have a 3DS on my iPhone.
As long as it's designed to the strengths of the platform,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's not a pain in the ass to get into and make it happen.
Make it awesome.
Yeah.
That's why all the fanboy stuff baffles me. When I complain about PC gaming or make a statement that annoys people on one defense force or another, I'm not a champion for any for PC gaming over console gaming or vice versa. I think everyone should be as platform agnostic as possible, and the great games are wherever they are to be found.
You should be a champion for what's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's what I say.
Speaking of Gears, I played it in 3D.
How'd you like it? You got your 3D glasses.
It's
I told you.
Yeah.
Epic was even out there saying basically like it's in there, but that's probably not
The
best
depth
way
effect is very impressive at first, but the novelty wears off and you're just left with looking at a very dark game.
Well, the 3D.
Well, it's not even that. It's they lower the resolution, the
Yeah,
rendering.
the things it does to
Right.
the resolution, the brightness, and the frame rate are just not.
It
worth
wasn't
it.
until I took the glasses off halfway through the first level that I was like, wow, this game looks really good. I didn't appreciate that until now.
Well, the thing is, 3D on the Xbox is noticeusly worse than 3D on the PS3, just because it doesn't have native support for the resolutions and stuff. I wouldn't. For the foreseeable future, I do not think 3D on the Xbox is worth considering.
Nope.
I was fairly impressed by what they did with Halo Anniversary, but again, I'm going to end up playing most of that in 2D.
That's an older game too, so they didn't have to make resolution sacrifices and stuff. I'm going to play the music, and then we should answer a question. A question.
I'm actually going to recuse myself from the rest of the podcast, if that's okay.
Thank you, Brad Shoemaker.
Thanks, Brad.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brad Shoemaker.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, sure thing, dude.
Thanks a lot.
Anytime.
Cool.
Good times.
Take it easy, man. I'm turning down Brad's microphone. Here is the very first question.
Hello, Tested Crew. This is Sorens from Canton, Ohio. Some hometown trivia. Canton is well known for being the home of the 25th President, William McKinley, and also home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. My question is in regards to the new e-ink Kindles. I'm curious about the refresh rates on page turns. Is the latest Kindle similar to the now Kindle keyboard in that it must refresh every page turn, or does the faster processor allow it to refresh more along the lines of every few page turns? Thanks.
So it's a good question. It refreshes every page turn as near as I can tell.
But it's less of a flash
It's
than
super
it was
fast.
before.
The other thing, we talked about this a little bit when I was testing the Nook Simple Touch, which doesn't actually refresh every page view. It does it every 2 or 3. The flashes are really good because the way I find I use the Kindle and the Nook and all these different e-ink devices is eventually you start hitting the button a little bit before you actually reach the end of the page, and the flash gives you good context for when it's time to switch from the bottom to the top of the page again.
Right.
So the flash, while it seems like it's weird, you immediately filter it out. It takes no time at all to start filtering it out, and it's good for you for reading.
It's another reason why I was glad I was waiting for this generation, is because the flash always kind of bugged me a little bit. I know it doesn't irritate a lot of people. It did irritate me, and it feels like
Do you find yourself filtering it out, or do you still notice it?
It's less obnoxious now, so that I don't really care. It doesn't have to be a seamless page turn every time.
Well, like when you go through the keyboard and you scroll all the way from one side of the box, you don't see the flash.
Well, the thing about it, the thing about the new Kindle especially is the screen's even faster than it was on the third generation.
Yeah.
It's there because it's good. It's good from a user interaction design.
It's no longer, even for those people like me that found it annoying. It's no longer a reason to not get one.
Yeah, and of course, I apologize for not getting to a ton of questions this week. We're really running crazy late today already.
Super hungry.
And I'm pretty hungry. Also, it's 84 degrees in here still, 85.5 degrees in here
It is
still.
warm.
If you want to have a question, podcast@tested.com. Keep them short, under a minute. 45 seconds is even better. Hometown trivia, or would you rather? No WMA, under 10 megabytes. Anything else I say? Podcast@tested.com. That's the email address.
Levelator.
Levelator is good. Just listen to it. Make sure it sounds good.
Just make sure it sounds okay.
Yeah, Levelator does not fix
It's like
bad
just how
audio.
a good chef should never let food leave the kitchen until they've tasted it. Make sure it's okay.
Always be tasting.
Just the same.
Shit. My bad. So that'll do it for us this week. It's been a good show, I think. Thanks to Brad Shoemaker, Gary Whitta, Norman Chan for coming by. I'm Will Smith. We'll be back every Thursday. Well, actually, we're not going to be back next Thursday.
Next week's a special week.
We're taking next Thursday off. We're going to talk about Oktobercast. Well, at the start of Fake Outtakes. So thanks for listening. See you guys next week for 24 hours. I don't know how I'm going to do this. My voice is.
I still think we
2
way
hours.
overshot. I think 12 hours would have been way impressive enough.
Well, I'm going to play the music and then we can talk about it. there? I didn't see you.
I like fruit, and I like being a ninja, and this game is for me because it's called Fruit Ninja.
Oktobercast.
Yes, very exciting.
So last Friday, we put up a landing page for Oktobercast.
Yeah, what's the total? I didn't look at the total this morning.
It's not. The
It's like
widget's not
2,500.
working
Pull
for
it up.
me. Like
Here,
It was about 2,500 the last time I looked at it.
if you give me your laptop, I can go look. It's on the donation page widget is usually more accurate than the one on our page. It was around $2,550 or something last time I looked. Fantastic. The deal is next Friday at noon, October 14th, Pacific time, we are going to start podcasting, and we are not going to stop until none of us can talk or until Saturday at noon Pacific time.
See, I like that you've added that wiggle room there.
Well, I'm.
We reserve the right to not make it the full 24
Well, I mean,
hours.
we could pantomime for the last 2 hours.
Because the thing is, once you get past midnight, where we would have done 12 hours,
Yeah.
aren't we then going to be the most brutal part of the podcast for us? Isn't that going to be when the fewest people are watching and listening anyway?
I think you'll be
No,
surprised because
different
that's when
parts
the
of the world.
Euros start
Yeah.
waking up.
exactly.
People
The
come-
Australians will be going to bed, and the
Yeah.
Europeans will be waking up.
Oh, that's right. Global audience. And,
Yeah.
of course, people in the US coming home from bars and stuff, drunk, want to see what kind of
Yeah,
shape we're in.
we're going to have some of them stop by the show.
Oh, wonderful.
I think Jeff and Alexis and Dave are going to come by after a
Are we
wild
announcing-
night out
are
in
we
San
announcing
Francisco.
The guest list.
I think we should announce the guest list.
We're 1 week away.
And it's not,
Yeah.
and there's still many more to be announced.
I'm going to
but
bump up the post tomorrow.
okay.
So it'll be up all weekend again.
I don't think we've
Hopefully we can get
announced
some more
any
interest.
guests.
We have not announced
So
any
let's talk
guests.
about some of the guests.
Some of the guests have announced, which is cool. We have, of course, many people from the Whiskey family are going to kindly stop by. Jeff's going to come by the morning. He wanted the last slot before we finish, so he's going to be here for the 11 to noon hour on Saturday. We have Brian Lamb, former editor-in-chief of Gizmodo, now editor of The Wirecutter, and one of Gary's mortal nemesis.
Why is he one of my
I
nemesis?
thought you didn't like him because of the iPhone 4 stuff.
I don't, and I don't like Gizmodo, and I still don't go there. But
Okay.
from
He's
what I
no longer
understand,
affiliated with
what I
Gizmodo.
understand, Brian Lamb doesn't like Gizmodo very much either. So
Well, that
maybe
seems
maybe,
true,
Maybe
actually.
we're in agreement.
Okay. Brian's going to come by Saturday morning. We've got Gordon Ung is going to come by from Maximum PC.
Now there's my nemesis.
Oh, Gordon. No, you love
No.
Gordon. You
No,
know.
he's always trying to pick a fight with me, but I'm
He
always
just
the,
likes
I'm,
to give you shit.
I'm always the better man.
Yeah, that's good. It's good for you. Gordon's going to come by. We don't know what he's going to talk about. He's probably going to be angry about something. Or maybe he's going to talk about stuff that he loves. I don't know.
Wonderful.
We have Roger Chang from Revision 3 and the East Meets West podcast. It's one of my favorite podcasts. I listen to East Meets West when it's on. It's really good.
All right.
Lloyd's going to come by, talk about board games on
Lloyd
Friday
Case,
afternoon.
very
Lloyd
good.
Case.
Awesome.
So that's fantastic. Dave and Alexis are going to come talk about probably drunkenness and design stuff around midnight on Friday.
Yeah, they're always good value for
So
money.
yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun. Veronica Belmont is going to come by for a pajama party on Friday evening. Something to think about.
If Veronica Belmont in pajamas can't get people to donate money, I don't know what we're gonna do.
I'm no comment. Patrick Norton is coming by in the late night to bring us some gross food to help carry us through. He said he's going to bring some crazy Indian food or something at like 2:00 in the morning.
I would love some.
So
Indian
we're
food.
excited about that, or maybe donuts.
That sounds good.
Are you?
Oh,
You're on
they-
carbs.
They need
though.
to bring us curry.
Right.
From Urban Curry.
Right, midnight curry.
Yeah, some tikka masala.
That sounds wonderful.
We're going to start off at noon on Friday with a big breakfast. We got to get a big brunch.
Yes.
I think we got to. Here's the thing: we can't eat on the stream. Right.
That's
Because
what
it's
For the
gross.
pre-stream eating.
Pre-stream eating. We should meet at 10:30.
No, well, we can broadcast the eating. And
oh,
then
I don't want
No,
to. I don't want to be in
no,
this.
no,
Okay.
So here's the thing: we're not going to do this in this room because this room would be death after 14 hours. We're going to take over the brick set in the big room, the big studio. We're going to move the tables out there. Probably maybe get a round table and put it out there. Put up 5 or 6 stations so a bunch of people can sit down. And we're just going to start at noon. We're going to run all day. I think we should have a pregame breakfast at Grumpy's or something in the morning at like 10 o'clock.
Not at Grumpy's. Somewhere
someplace
else.
good.
Someplace, yeah, real good.
And then think about what kind of beverages we're going to have.
Hey, wait, should we all bring pajamas?
I'm going to bring pajamas.
Bring.
I kind of just want to do the whole thing in pajamas.
You can.
Hefner style.
I don't want to do
Maybe I-
costume
maybe I can
changes.
get a
It's
smoking
too-
jacket.
I'd rather just be in like comfortable silk pajamas all day.
Okay.
That is your
Hef
prerogative.
it up, man.
But then I have to walk around here on Friday when people
Yep.
are here. I'd feel kind of self-conscious.
And also, you got to talk to the UPS guy, get the iPhone. your
No, you're
pajamas.
right. I'll be regular
just
human
change it
clothes.
at like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
after
good.
Gordon leaves.
I'll bring a change of clothes.
Yeah.
I may bring my Captain Kirk bathrobe.
That's not a bad idea.
I really think we need a Dyson in here.
I tried to get coffee sponsorships, but it's fallen through. So if anybody wants to sponsor us for coffee,
I can
there's
bring
an
my
opportunity.
Nespresso in.
Fuck off. I got that $50 Mr. Coffee, by the way. It's sitting out at my desk.
Oh, well, let's just use that.
So yeah, we have some more guests that are not quite confirmed yet, but are potentials.
Jeff Green.
Oh, Jeff Green. I forgot about Jeff. He's not on the schedule. He never gave me a time.
The wonderful Jeff Green.
Jeff Green's going to come by.
One of the great podcasting voices of the last decade.
He's grumpy. He'll fit right in with us.
And we're going to be doing Mad Libs.
We have Mad Libs. We have
Tech Mad Libs, which is going to be great. I think every guest that comes in should have to do one.
We'll do Would You Rathers with the guests.
Yep.
Put them off immediately so we can get anybody to leave immediately
we'll,
after
of course,
arriving.
hopefully have the iPhone 4S with the Siri, playing with the Siri.
So my plan is to open with like a normal, since we're not going to do a podcast on Thursday, open with a normal podcast for the first hour, maybe 2, and then start with the guests at like 2 o'clock time frame, I think is when the first guest arrives. So yeah, look forward to it. Friday.
And the whole point is to get people to donate money to Child's Play.
That's why we're doing this, yeah. So we've raised $2,500 so far, like money in the Child's Play bank.
And I still need to kick in my $100 that I pledged.
Yeah, I did mine on the first day.
No, we should have done ours.
I didn't see the ticker go up, by the way, when Will said that. I think you may be trying to.
I can show you the
fast
list.
We need. That's why I want to do it on the show to kick it off.
Just put your credit card number on the live stream. That's a good idea.
Let's do that.
Yeah, that's it. It's happening next week. I'm really excited about it. I think.
And this is live for everyone, right?
Free for everyone.
Be a member.
Yeah, we're not going to.
And then, have you figured out what kind of archived options might be available?
We are. I got to talk to Vinny about that today because I don't know what technically we can.
A lot of people are asking about that.
I don't like promising things that I'm not 100% sure we can do. I'm going to do everything that I like. The worst case on this is that I'm going to have to rip the audio out of the Justin TV stream because that is an enormous pain in the ass to do. I hope that we can find a better way.
I wonder if it might be possible to edit down like a.
If somebody wants to do that, they're welcome
hits
to.
or something. Yeah.
I don't.
Because I don't think all 24 hours are going to be internet gold.
Who knows? I'm going to.
That would be quite.
I think for the long dark 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. 6 a.m. window.
You see, that's what I'm really.
I'm worried about that time. I'm going to bring Dominion. So worst case, we can just play some Dominion.
We got Black Blood of the Earth.
Yeah, we got Science Coffee from across the bay in Berkeley.
Are we going to have?
We should get that guy on.
Are we going to have all the setup for being able to go out there and play video games and stuff? Or
we are not going to have the setup to play video games.
So we're going to be locked in here the whole time?
No, we're going to be on the set. You don't listen to me at all, do you?
No.
I just described this like 6 minutes ago.
Oh, I was thinking about meatloaf.
Yeah.
Sandwiches.
He knows what I'm talking about.
We are going to, we're going to be on the set in the other room, so it's not 90 degrees.
The giant bomb set.
The brick set, the testing set.
Yeah. Where we do TNT.
No, the one next to that, not the couch. The thing where Norm and I usually stand.
Place
we're
where
going
the
to put
green
a table
screen
there
is.
and put some chairs there.
Okay.
So we can get some comfy office, like desk chairs, so everybody can be comfortable for the 24 hours.
Yes.
You might want to bring a donut pillow, not a preventative
I do have a total pillow.
You got a total pillow?
I have a total pillow.
You liked it so much on the Big Live show that you.
No, I think I bought it before then.
Twisty one?
Yes.
I dibs on the one from the office.
No, I already got dibs. I've been storing.
I'll be bringing mine.
Yeah, it's gonna be a show for the kids.
For the kids.
If you don't know, if you've been living under a rock for the last 7 years, Child's Play has raised like $7 million. They send toys, books, video games, movies, all sorts of stuff to children's hospitals around the country so the kids have toys to play with.
Brilliant.
It seems like a lot of money for toys, but because a lot of the kids that are in hospitals and like have serious health issues also have immune deficiencies, you can't reuse the toys from kid to kid. Because like if you give a kid that was in there for bad flu, give that toy to a kid that has some immune deficient disease and it can kill them. So they open them, give them to the kid. All the kids get new toys. It's not like there's some gross plague infested stuffed animal or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a really good charity.
It's a good idea.
My sister-in-law works at Children's Hospital and she says that the toys that they get are fantastic and it helps the kids get better.
So how can people donate?
We have a page up on the site. If you go to test and search for Oktobercast, the K is in cast, not in October. Then you will be able to find a way to donate. There's a chip-in widget on that page.
You're going to want to bump that on the day, right?
I'm going to bump it tomorrow. It'll be up all weekend. We'll keep it at the top of the page on the day. And basically, you can give as much or as little as you want. If you want to give $5, that's awesome. Every penny helps.
I'll be very interested to see how much we raise. $2,500 before we even start.
So far, we're at $100 an hour.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's see if we can make that go higher.
I mean, that's like what high-class lawyers earn.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it for us this week. I'm beat. I think we should go get some food.
I'm really hungry.
Wait,
I guess
what?
we talk about this past Saturday, what we did.
Oh, God, I forgot about this.
I did not wait
4 fucking hours in line. So we did not talk
Oh
about
yeah, how
this.
did that
5
go?
hours in line.
Oh, I've told the story so many times. I can tell it again. This is wonderful. Okay, so last week,
Yeah.
we were sitting around the office, and Leah, your girlfriend, tweeted at us.
Yeah, she was
link.
trying to be helpful.
She was helpful.
And we clicked the link, and it was a link to CBS News, local
man.
CBS.
I can pre-order a
website.
Verizon iPhone 4S right now.
Fuck. That sounds good.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow. And
3:01 a.m. Eastern, so midnight.
midnight tonight.
Midnight tonight. I'm
Midnight
staying
tonight,
up.
that's it.
Staying up.
Oh,
Gotta make my carrier decision between now and midnight.
Yep.
Still haven't made it. Fuck.
Come on.
Talk about over lunch. Anyway, so Amazing Race
So the link to CBS News website, Amazing Race, live auditions
for the next season.
for the next season, season 20, I believe.
Maybe the next season. It's unclear.
Yeah, could have been the one that we applied for earlier with our 3-minute video. Could be the one after. They might be searching for more people.
I
In
think the one from our
Danville-
3-minute video is already being shot.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. It's November, or they've picked the people at least. And in Danville, which if you don't know, it's about an hour away from San Francisco, kind of in between San Francisco and Sacramento.
Danville's simultaneously ritzy and trashy.
Oh yeah, I'd never been to Danville.
Why
It's in
Danville?
Well,
They had a mall.
yes, and also apparently one of the current contestants
Worked
on the
in that
Amazing
mall.
Race was from Danville.
Yeah.
I guess
So
your
it might be one of
ability
those-
to find Danville would be your first test if you can be a contestant on the Amazing
Exactly.
Race.
Drew is from Danville.
Okay.
And it's a very like suburban town, very green grass and terracotta, like brown buildings everywhere.
So quite pleasant.
Yeah, it's a very Pleasantville type town. And I told Will I could not make it. I had previous obligations. It was too short notice. It was like in 3 days, October 1st and 2nd.
So I asked Norm if his previous obligations had any kind of outcome that ended up with him winning $500,000.
I said no.
And I said, so what you're saying is you have, on one hand, a 0% chance to win $500,000, and on the other hand, a slim chance to win
But there were
$500,000.
previous obligations with friends. It was the APE Expo, Alternative
Of
Press
course,
Expo
yes.
in San Francisco.
We love APE.
That weekend, I really wanted to go, wanted to make some signings. I had commitments. I needed to be back in the city by like 1 o'clock. Will
Indeed.
said, the rule said the auditions would be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. 4 hours of auditions. I said, okay, maybe we can get there 8 o'clock in the morning and be close to first in line, get
Yep.
it over with by noon, and then
Right.
drive back, be back
Right.
by 1.
No problem.
It would all
What
work
could
out.
possibly go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. And I tell, well, okay, what if we get there and there's like a long line? Then I will turn around.
Danville's like an hour and a half away,
Right.
just for clarity.
An hour away. Haste drive.
From my house, it's an hour and a half away.
I said, then I'll turn around. Or you could, Will, with your 30,000 Twitter followers, send someone that morning to check out the mall, see if there's a line, and let us know before we have to leave.
I
Yeah,
said I'd
crowdsource that shit.
I don't
Exactly.
I don't use the people who choose to follow me who are kind enough to listen to my ramblings that way.
Will said if I turned around and we got there at 8 o'clock
What I
in the
said is
morning,
if I drive all the way out there and then you turn around and go immediately, I'm going to throw a hissy.
Will's going to throw a hissy. The last thing I want is for Will to
Nobody
throw a
wants
hissy.
Will throwing a
definitely
I
hissy.
don't
want
even know what
that.
that means.
Yeah.
Still.
You don't want Will throwing a hissy on the drive all the way back.
Yeah, well, we drive separate cars.
Norm wouldn't
Oh.
ride with me.
I don't want. No, God no.
He
I have other obligations to make.
All right, so you get out there and
So
what
okay,
happens?
so
Fucking
6 a.m.
enormous
If I
line.
if I had to get there at 8, I had to wake up at 6, leave at 7. At 6:30 a.m., I wake up and I said, "Fuck this! I'm not getting up."
To be clear, I was already in the shower at this point.
Come on, we've all been there though.
Thanks, Norm.
So
So I get out of the
sent,
shower.
I sent a text to
and
Will.
Gina says, "Hey, you have a text from Norm." I said, "Oh God, if he's bailing,
It was
I'm
a
gonna be so
bailout
fucking
text?
pissed."
and the text was, "Hey, Will, I really don't need to be back in the city until 2:30. We can get there at 9:30.
Right.
Oh, I
Sleep
see.
an extra
Okay.
hour." To which Will replied, "The lol, okay,
Yes,
Lol,
I-
okay.
I did lol. Okay, there's a period. Lol.
okay."
Okay.
I said, "Yeah, sweet, extra hour."
I
sleep.
thought Norm was out having a party last night and was a little too hungover to
Yep,
get in the
yep.
car.
Exactly. What
Easy
happened.
to imagine.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I wake up. We get
See,
there.
I went to bed early, so I would be prepared for the
And you know,
Amazing Race
I
the
told
next
you,
day.
you could not go to bed early because you were tweeting at like midnight that night. Like, I
Robo
can't
tweet.
sleep. I can't sleep. I'm like, you sleep,
Robo tweet.
old man.
Okay.
Okay, so we get there 9:45, and I
I don't
pull to
appreciate
the-
this old man bullshit, by the way.
I mean, let's be honest though. It is it is as much to do with the fact that you are an old man, and Norm actually has an exciting, vibrant social life. Go out in the evenings.
He's about 2 years away from that ending. He's one good girlfriend
so
away
he's,
from that
so he's
ending.
got to get as much. He's
Right.
got to
Yeah,
suck all the
yeah.
marrow out of that
right.
that bone while he
Right.
still can.
One good girlfriend away.
Sorry, AIDS. So pull into the parking lot, and I still Will get in the line, and he's texting me, "Where are you? There is a fucking long line here." There is a
How long was the
long
line when you got there?
I went to the front of the line with my iPhone and
I
shot
saw
a
the video.
as
It
I
was
was
long.
walking back. It was
It
2
was long.
minutes and 30 seconds.
It was long.
From the start of the line
Yeah.
to the end. It was not a dense standing line. It was a spread out, like laying down.
If you've seen
line.
our previous Tesla videos, my philosophy on line waiting is as long as there are more people behind you than in front of you, it doesn't matter if you get in. More people will be fucked behind you than people who got in, so you'll be okay. You just don't want to be in the latter.
You don't want to be
half
the
of
last
line.
person in the line.
You don't want to know. You want to be in the top 50%.
Anyway, so
we were not in the top 50%. We were at the end of the line at
Wow.
9:45. So
Wow.
we said we could turn
started
around
at
now.
11.
Started at
Yeah,
11.
you kind of got there a little bit late for something starting at 11.
Well, for my previous reality show auditions, there was no
Beauty
line.
and the Geek.
well, yeah, but come
No,
on, this is a
I-
much bigger show.
Yeah, miscalculation.
Norm
on our
wasn't
part.
auditioning for Beauty.
No one's made that joke before. Actually, the joke everyone is, "Oh, you're auditioning for Beauty, right?" That's the joke.
I don't think
So we
that's a very
said,
funny joke.
"I'm gonna turn around," and Will said, "I'm gonna throw a hissy," and the compromise was that
This is awesome.
And the thing is, we were surrounded by like soccer moms. Like
Yeah.
the women in front of us described themselves as kickboxing MILFs.
yeah.
Okay.
So
And the people behind us were soccer moms.
Oh,
And I was like, and the woman behind me just started sniggering when I said, throw a hissy.
yeah. So
Oh, you actually use those?
Oh
exact
yeah,
words?
no,
fuck
all
yeah.
those words, yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so we said the compromise is at 11, or we'll do the math. We'll count how many people in front of us and try to see, where would be. If
So
could
I
actually
said
make it
Norm
back.
went out and did a count of all the
Just
people in
count.
line in front of us.
Just so I'm clear, had Norm called your bluff, what does throwing a hissy actually
I would have just got
look
in the
like?
car and driven home. I wouldn't have done anything.
Okay.
To be fair, jumping ahead, Will did get Pinkberry after. So
Oh,
yeah,
that was
the
the same.
Everybody wins.
Yeah, he
The
got Pinkberry.
best.
There is Pinkberry in Danville. It's not on Google Maps. It's new.
Shh.
I gotta find that out.
We did the
One in
math.
Santa Clara.
The
too.
producer came out and said they had 3 cameras set up. Each team would get 60 seconds to make their case on camera, and then that's it. There were about 600 people in front of us.
So you're thinking,
We did the math, and
Right. 300 teams.
Right.
by doing the math, we said I'd probably get out by 2 o'clock.
We figured 2 minutes per cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Three teams per cycle. Figured probably 1:30 at
Mm-hmm.
the outside.
right?
Yep. Get out by 1 o'clock, no problem.
What we didn't account for is the fact that probably a third of the teams had a person that wasn't in the line.
Yeah.
When we did
Only
the count.
one person.
Oh god.
Yeah.
It was the most interesting line waiting experience ever because unlike waiting in line for a concert or a movie or like an event, you're not going to make friends with the people in line. These
Right.
are your competitors.
Yeah, they could be your
There,
rivals.
Well,
there's
not only that-
no line cutting whatsoever.
Oh right, yeah.
Not
Yeah.
only that, but
No
at the-
camaraderie in the line.
No.
at the end of the line, it's not like everybody wins. Like you wait in line for the Xbox 360. Everybody gets an Xbox 360. At the
Right,
end.
right.
In
right.
this one, there's a chance nobody gets anything.
Yeah. And we'd
Real
heard
chance.
Wow.
from the security guard guy.
Psychologically, it's all fucked up.
Exactly. People had been there 4 p.m. the night before.
Wow.
Waiting in line.
Those
the first
are
people.
hardcore.
And
They
walking
don't
the
like
line,
you late,
scouting
you
line.
late shower uppers.
There were some characters. There were the not our words, but they were the slutty roller derby girls.
Yeah.
The
Fishnets.
people wearing like matching outfits. There was a lot of like Raiders, Niners combos.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. That was real common.
I saw.
but these are gimmicks that they've come up
exactly.
with. Okay.
Which you should totally do not do the shits. I would say 80% of the people in the line should not be on television, us included.
Yeah.
Just from a physical attraction standpoint.
Hey, thanks, man.
Just throwing it out there. The producer, what they should have done is gone through the line and split it into the people who really had a chance.
Right. The American Idol.
Oh, they could have done
auditions.
sadistic Amazing Race.
Yeah.
You're too fat to be on the Amazing Race.
Right. Exactly.
No.
Gary Whitta's Amazing Race.
Yes,
It
my
was-
version would be great.
It was so grim.
Yeah.
Really, really, really depressing. The type of people who are in the line.
Well, but that's mean.
You should have
Here's the
called
thing.
your 2-word thing could have been Amazing Racists.
We tried that in the first one, and we thought that was probably a little bit too edgy a humor for Amazing Race.
Probably for a network show.
So as we got closer, because it was a long wait, it was a really interesting mall though. Like Will said, is the first mall you've been
I've never been to a mall that had a plastic surgery place before.
in the mall.
Like you get some
Yeah.
froyo, you can get some creepy dolls, or you can get calf implants.
You can get it all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I thought about getting some calf
You
implants.
should have got some in the line so you would have
Yeah.
looked like a better contestant.
I don't think they do it. I don't think that's the way it works.
It got closer and closer to 2 o'clock, and we knew we were not going to
Yeah.
be there.
The line's
And
not
And
moving.
yeah.
eventually I got to a point where I felt bad because I was like, Norm is missing something that could actually be fun for him. So I gave you the out.
But I said,
And I didn't want to give you the guilt out. I wasn't trying to give you a Larry David out.
You
No, dude.
lying asshole.
I really wasn't. I couldn't.
You gave me the out after tweeting, Norm's going to bail, peer pressure him to stay.
Yeah, and then I realized that was kind of mean. So
And
yeah.
I went to hey, well, we could leave and just say we did it. But
Yeah,
no,
Norm did. I was like, I'm not going to lie to people.
there was a lot of rationalization going on. But eventually we did it.
We got there. It was interesting.
We totally whiffed on the
Yeah,
video.
it was bad.
We were so tired after line waiting.
Well, and we were so worried about making it in time so that Norm didn't get fucked out of his thing that we didn't actually think about what we were going to say at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And-
So it was a terrible experience.
So you didn't do a good audition.
No.
Well, and the thing we've learned at Tested is that usually like our third take is the good one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So if you go in, you have get one
shot?
take, then you
It was really weird. So you put in front of the camera,
Right.
and
no honor.
wanting to say, "Hi, I'm Will from Tested. I'm Norm from Tested."
right.
Like every had resist saying that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And you're kind of crabby at each other, like you're probably not feeling like
Yeah.
a team. You know,
I felt
'cause
like a
you've been-
team. I felt like it was the first challenge in the Amazing Race.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, you two are going to have to put up with a lot
Yeah.
worse than that. If you can't survive this,
Yeah,
you
if
shouldn't even be doing it.
Right. I mean, I wanted to get some like bull testicles that we could eat in the line to show our commitment.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
it was
so
great.
you're not optimistic based on
No.
the audition that you gave?
who knows?
Yeah, you
But
never
it was
know.
it was an interesting.
I felt pretty attractive that day. I felt a little slim. Norm said he hoped that I lost weight on the race, and I told him that he was kind of a jackass, kind of a dick.
I said, "What do you look to get out of this race?" He wants to lose weight. I want to get taller.
Right. And I said Norm's kind of a dick, and then everybody laughed. So I
There
felt
you
like
go. You're making
we
them
had a
laugh.
moment.
That's good. You're
Yeah.
making them laugh. That's a
Right.
good sign.
But yeah, you got Pinkberry.
I got Pinkberry.
Well, I
That
mean,
was-
the Pinkberry,
that's-
if
that's-
nothing
that's-
else.
I also discovered that there's 26-ounce Red Bulls or some enormous Red Bull size.
Really?
Like a
I thought
tall
20
boy.
was the biggest.
Maybe it's 24. It was huge.
20 is the biggest I've seen.
I went one size smaller. I was afraid.
I gotta
of
go
it.
to Pinkberry. Oh my god! If only we could get Pinkberry here on Friday, it'd be so good.
Yeah, that's no way. Unless somebody's flying in.
Yeah, someone could fly in, pick up the Pinkberry at Terminal 2, and then bring it straight.
That was
to
one
us.
of my best moments. I don't think
I
I
wonder
shared
if
that on the podcast.
if you buy like tons of Pinkberry and then surround the Pinkberry so like they melt from the outside.
Yo, dog, I got Pinkberry in my Pinkberry.
The center Pinkberry it's shielded by the other Pinkberry that's gonna melt. I don't
Yeah,
know, that's
that
probably
would
not
work.
the way it works.
All right, I'm very hungry.
Here's the thing. Did I got to tell the Pinkberry story after the return from
you never
PAX.
told that story?
I don't think
Okay.
I told it on the show, did I?
It was the final triumph in a very
Oh my
successful
god, it was
PAX.
such a good weekend, and I was like,
And I had to talk you into it. You didn't want to do it.
I thought it was gonna end in a tragedy. So we're in Terminal 2 in the airport, which is the only place that there's a Pinkberry in the Bay Area, or in the Bay Area part where we live.
Right.
And I had never had Pinkberry before. Gary says, "Oh my god, you've got to try this. It's amazing." And I said,
It's the best froyo.
yeah, and this was after like my wife had hurt her back the week before, so she didn't get to go to PAX. She was really excited about going, and I was like, "Oh man, it's gonna really bum her out if I eat yogurt in the airport." And then they'll like be like, "Oh my god, I finally had Pinkberry. You are right. It is so incredible."
Yeah, here's all the great stuff that you
Yeah.
missed.
And so you're like, "No, just get some and take it home." I was like, "It's 40 minutes away. There's no way I can make this happen." But I made the run. I made it happen. She got the Pinkberry. Everybody was.
It was still in good condition.
It was actually just about perfect because it melted just a little bit on the outside.
Yeah.
But the inside was still firm.
And the girl at Pinkberry even offered to like pack it in some ice for you, right?
But I thought that would just make a big mess in the car.
It's like rushing home with an organ
human
transplant or
kidney.
something. Yeah.
You don't want to trip at the last moment and spill the Pinkberry.
No! And then Chloe's like, "Oh my god, I love Pinkberry too."
Yeah. Eats it up.
Oh, and then you have a fun evening
Right.
cleaning that mess up.
Right. There's
Which
nothing.
becomes like a squirt.
Ain't
Oh,
no
the little-
diarrhea like dog and yogurt diarrhea.
Coconut Pinkberry
Oh no.
with the little crepe pieces on it. Oh, so good.
My peanut butter with the crepes and the brownie bites, top of the mountain, man.
At the other froyo place we go to in the South Bay, they offer as a topping Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which is fantastic.
Oh, I want froyo.
Now I want froyo.
Thanks for listening, guys. It is 85.5, which means it's time to sign off. We'll be back next Friday with Oktobercast.
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 Das ist Oktobercast.
Until then, see you guys next time. Bye. Yeah, we really need a sign out. And to you guys on the live stream,
There's
we will see you
Nazi
all
Gary
later
coming
too.
back.
Bye.
Yeah, just look.